Meet Shen Yuan, our MC, who is living life on easy mode, parading around in his sweet ride with a smile worth more than the GDP of a small country. One day, he parks his red Ferrari on campus, making more noise than an anime protagonist showing up in the season finale. The guy barely steps out of the car before he's an instant celebrity, with everyone whipping out their phones to snap a pic and post it online. Just then, the passenger door opens to reveal a total knockout who had been there the whole time, just waiting for her moment to shine. From a distance, a few students watch with that special kind of envy, commenting on how the new guy is already strolling around with one of the campus goddesses. The guys keep grumbling that old saying, if you're rich and good looking, it's basically a cheat code for getting the best girls. Completely ignoring the stares and whispers, the couple walks off arm in arm, like they're on their own personal runway. Meanwhile, in another corner of the campus, two girls are gossiping about how popular Shen Yuan is, practically the quit boy of the college. He, noticing all of it, glances back with a confident smirk, fully aware that he's the center of attention wherever he goes. But since nothing good ever lasts, his Tony Stark-level playboy life went right down the drain in his third year of college. Turns out, a major business downturn caused his family's 3 travel agencies to go bankrupt, leaving a debt that would make Elon Musk tear up. Now broke, even his friends treat him with contempt, saying he's nothing but a shadow of the rich kid he used to be. All his fair-weather friends vanished like smoke, and with nowhere else to go, he had to move back in the college dorms. Faced with this whole mess, he starts to wonder if he'll ever get a quiet, decent life back. This was his new routine of misery and loneliness, until one specific event came along to completely flip the script. His girlfriend Jo Wanting hits him with the classic, "We need to talk," and straight up ends things, telling him to delete her number. Hearing those cold words, our hero's expression just freezes, like he took a critical hit with zero chance to defend. In shock, the guy asks her if she has a heart to just throw away a 3-year relationship like that. With zero sympathy, the girl replies that their relationship was never a fairy tale, but more of an arrangement based on other things. To top it off, she tells him to never use their pet name again and walks toward another luxury car. She even adds that it's best if they never see each other again, as she gets ready to hop into the new whip. Faced with a scene like this, our MC surprisingly keeps his cool and even cracks a slight smirk. Just as the girl is about to close the door, he holds it and asks her to wait just 1 second. With a swift move, he corners her against the car and asks for the designer bags he bought for her back. Absolutely livid, the girl just loses it, screaming that she put up with him for 3 years, and now he wanted a few measly little bags back. Shen Yuan, cool as a cucumber, says it doesn't have to be the money, but that they should at least relive an old dream, as a farewell. With a look of pure disgust, his ex-girlfriend tells him to go take a hike somewhere hot and unpleasant. From inside the car, the new boyfriend calls her by their pet name and shamelessly offers our hero a ride. Our MC finds it pretty ironic that the other guy gets to use the pet name, but he can't, and politely refuses the ride. The guy with the glasses insists, saying he's worried the breakup might mess with our guy's head too much. In his head, the kid realizes he needs to come up with a good comeback or he'll end up looking like a total chump. Maintaining the composure of a GD master, he thanks him for the concern and says he lives right nearby, so no need to bother. Then, he turns to the new couple and asks the guy to take really good care of Wanting. The driver assures him she'll be in great hands, while the girl next to him looks like she's seen a ghost. She's so uncomfortable. With a winning smile, Shen Yuan declares that real men should always give their women the best. With that, he starts spilling the tea, listing all of his ex's quirks and weird tastes, like a complete user's manual, leaving the new couple in total panic mode. The new boyfriend is shocked and annoyed, calling our MC a loudmouth loser. With nothing left to say, the driver floors it and gets out of there faster than the Flash. Watching the car disappear into the distance, the guy wonders if his ex's choice was really the smartest one. He concludes that it's not his problem anymore and wishes her a perfect life, when suddenly a golden light appears in front of him. Right in front of him, a golden video game-style screen just flashes with the words, "Initiating perfect life system." Right after, his stats pop up on the screen, and he wonders if he's having some kind of stress-induced hallucination. Next up, the system drops its first quest, spend some cash on a girl to get a 300% cashback reward. Basically, a real-life infinite money cheat code. The guy, not believing his eyes, thinks it must be his brain playing tricks on him, or a really well-made hallucination. Suddenly, a woman calls out to him. It's the counselor Li Xiu trying to comfort the poor guy after the dumping he just went through. She continues her speech, dropping that classic line every guy loves to her. "Don't worry, the next one will be better." Just then, he notices a number floating above her head, indicating an affinity level of 65. Seeing that, it finally clicks, and the young man understands that the system wasn't in his head. It was the real deal. The counselor keeps trying to cheer him up with a gentle smile and a few more words of encouragement. Shen Yuan then smiles back at her, realizing he just unlocked the biggest power-up of his life and that the game was about to change. Seizing the moment, the woman decides to bring up a more serious topic and asks if he's thought about that scholarship she mentioned. He, already thinking about his wild plans with this new life cheat code, casually turns it down, saying the cash wouldn't solve all his problems and that another student definitely needed it more. Li Xiao then, being the sweetheart she is, offers to help him with any future troubles, even matters of the heart. After that quick chat, the counselor says goodbye and starts to walk away, leaving our hero with the gears in his head turning at full speed. That's when it hits him. He realizes that Professor La fits the mission criteria perfectly and decides it's time to test out this so-called system. So she doesn't get away. As if it were a scene from a K-drama, the guy gently takes her by the arm. With his best good boy smile, he thanks her again for all her concern and says he's going to buy her a tea to show his appreciation. It doesn't take long for the young man to return with the drink in hand, handing it to the counselor, who is visibly surprised by the gesture. With a slight blush, the woman thanks him for the kind and totally unexpected act from her student. He discreetly pulls out his phone and confirms that he spent 6 yuan and got 18 back. It's official, the system is real and it works. Our hero starts to wonder if he can keep investing in her as long as her affinity is above 60. His mind is already racing. He sees this as a golden opportunity to pay off his family's debt and, who knows, maybe become even richer than before. It's comeback season, folks. Filled with determination, the young man realizes he can't just go back to who he was. He can surpass his old self and become a version 2.0, stronger and with infinite money. The problem is his starting capital is low, so priority number 1 is to farm more cash and find the right girls to invest in. Sitting there on the steps, he takes stock and figures he's managed to scrape together almost 50,000 yuan from selling some stuff and taking out a few loans. In his mind, he knows he has to be strategic. After all, giving the professor an expensive gift out of nowhere would raise more suspicion than an anime villain with a tragic backstory. Cut to 1 hour later, we see a trash can with a gift box and wrapping paper thrown away. The art of disguise in action. Holding a purse that costs nearly 40,000 yuan, his plan is genius. Tell her it's a cheap knockoff, high-quality generic, just so she'll accept it. When he gets to her apartment door, he knocks and wonders if she lives alone or with someone else. The woman answers wearing an apron and holding a spatula, completely surprised by the unexpected visit during her MasterChef moment. The guy immediately apologizes for interrupting her dinner, and the lady, still confused, asks what he needs. He then explains that the bag is just a small thank you gift for all the support she's given him. The professor, being a super by the book person, refuses on the spot, thinking it's too expensive and saying she was just doing her job, nothing special. Our hero sticks to his little white lie, saying the bag is just a cheap imitation and was only a symbol of his gratitude. Not wanting to be rude and hurt her students' feelings, the woman ends up accepting the bag and says she'll return the favor later. After taking the gift, the professor says goodbye and closes her apartment door. Mission accomplished. Or is it? Out of nowhere, she remembers she left the food on the stove and panics, yelling that dinner is a goner. In a moment of desperation, she opens the door again and invites the guy in for dinner, since he hadn't eaten yet. He, being no fool, accepts immediately, knowing this is the perfect chance to raise her affinity level and unlock more profits. Later, our guy sneaks a peek at his phone and sees the money hit his account with a profit of nearly 80,000 yuan. Stunks. He celebrates internally because he's never made 80,000 yuan this easily before, and he feels like King Midas for pulling it off all by himself. Back in the apartment, the professor calls him to eat, while he's still mesmerized by his phone screen. In the middle of their chat, she casually reveals that she doesn't have a boyfriend and turns to tie her apron, which had come loose. Noticing the woman's struggle, our protagonist offers to be the gentleman of the evening and help her tie the bow. He comes up behind her to help, making her a little nervous with all that closeness. The tension in the room just got thick! With his hands on her waist, the guy reassures her, saying he'll fix the bow real quick, no ulterior motives. Or are there? At that exact moment, like in any good rom-com, the door bursts open and a woman in uniform appears, asking what in the world is going on. The pair jumps, scared out of their wits like in a horror movie, and he starts stammering that it's not what it looks like, while the professor tries to hide her nervousness. Li Xiao then, to break the ice, introduces the intruder as her younger sister, the infamous Lemeng. Super awkwardly, our hero greets her sister, who shoots him a death glare that basically says, "I've got my eye on you, buddy." Feeling the mood get heavier than a Naruto filler episode, the young man makes up some excuse and says he needs to get back to campus. The professor is confused, since just a second ago he was all excited to sit down for dinner. As soon as he's out the door, the younger sister immediately tells the older one that the guy seems like bad news and that she should watch out. The two start a cute little argument about the cheeky student who is apparently trying to win over the professor. Walking back, he starts thinking about who his next investor will be, since the professor clearly isn't a gold digger like his ex. Suddenly, while he was lost in thought, someone bumps hard into his back. Turning around, he comes face to face with his friend Lao Huang and asks what the heck happened to make him look like such a mess. His friend's hands won't stop shaking, a mix of nervousness and desperation for some mysterious reason. Huang Haibao then yells, completely distraught, that the goddess of his life went to the movies with another guy. Shen Yuan remembers his friend is obsessed with a girl he's never even spoken to and asks, with all the patience in the world, if all this drama is just because of that. His friend, thinking he's being mocked, asks if he's messing with him, but our hero just looks up at the sky, deep in thought like a philosopher. Suddenly, Hey Bao is filled with hope, thinking that if it was just a movie, there's still a light at the end of the tunnel. Our protagonist, on the other hand, can only think that his friend's crush has made him toss all his dignity in the trash. But then he looks at the girl and BNGO, her affinity meter reads 72, a number even higher than the professor's. Jackpot. At that very moment, the girl's friend starts dishing the gossip, mentioning that his rich ex-boyfriend is now back on the market. Her friend continues to spill the tea about the guy's breakup, while the young woman just stands there, quietly listening to it all. In a flashback, that same friend was telling her not to even get close to him, let alone buy drinks for the spoiled rich kid. She doesn't stop there, adding that even though he's broke, he's still arrogant, and any girl with half a brain would have kicked him to the curb by now. With all that trash talk, the girl's affinity level starts dropping faster than an internet connection on a rainy day, and our hero knows he has to act now or it's game over. Without wasting a second, he turns to his friend and asks the million-dollar question, "Dude, would you mind if, by any chance, she and I ended up together?" Heibao, in his innocence, says he has zero chance, but that he doesn't care as long as she doesn't end up with the other guy. Thrilled with the answer, our guy decides to try his luck, leaving his friend with his jaw on the floor, not understanding a single thing. Our protagonist then approaches the girls with the confidence of someone who just leveled up, catching the attention of Miwi, who's surprised to see him there. Her friend, however, steps in front of him like a final boss and rudely asks what he wants with her. Ignoring the friend-turned obstacle as if she were a questless NPC, he focuses on the young woman and invites her to dinner at a fancy sushi restaurant the next day. The jealous friend is shocked by the invitation, since the place is crazy expensive, and questions if he even has the money to afford such a luxury. To complete the combo, he says that after dinner he wants her help picking out a birthday present for his sister. With a casual wave, the guy says goodbye and walks away, leaving everyone behind to process what just happened. The girl is a bit hesitant, but her friend, who was just bad-mouthing him, is now encouraging her, saying the food there is out of this world. The friend finishes her job as the evil matchmaker, saying he's handsome and that if he gets rich again, he'll be a much better catch than the other guy. With her friend insisting it wouldn't hurt to accept, the young woman ends up agreeing to the date. The next day, the pair arrives at the luxury restaurant, ready for their much-anticipated dinner alone. A waitress approaches and serves a variety of sushi dishes on the table, wishing them a great meal. The girl, a little embarrassed, says he didn't have to spend so much, knowing about his family's difficult situation. He simply replies that the food is amazing and worth every penny, leaving her completely speechless. Our protagonist gets a little tense with her reaction and tries to keep his cool so he doesn't mess up the operation. She then asks why he invited her, and the guy drops the classic line he'd always wanted to, but never found the right time. Bad move. The girl's affinity starts to drop again, showing that his generic answer didn't fly at all. Seeing the heart meter plummeting, the young man knows he needs a plan B, and fast. With a flash of genius, he recalls the time she used to buy him drinks and they would talk late into the night. The girl is genuinely surprised that he remembers such a small detail, and her affinity level slowly starts to climb back up. He assures her he would never forget that, and the heart meter rises even more, much to our hero's relief. Seeing that her affinity is back in the 70s, the guy takes a deep breath, trying to maintain the pose of someone who knows exactly what he's doing. 40 minutes later, he goes to pay the bill, which came out to almost 3,000 yuan, even with a discount. A small fortune. The young woman is super impressed and even compares him to the other guy, who had been a total cheapskate with her. On his phone, 2 system notifications pop up, confirming the reimbursement for the money he spent. The system informs him that the mission was a success and that he received the multiplied cashback, as promised. With her affinity rising to 76, he thinks it's incredible to have made 10,000 yuan from a single dinner. It's easier than grinding in an online game. He starts to feel something more for her. Maybe it's the power that comes with money, or maybe she's just genuinely interesting. Hand in hand, the two leave the restaurant and head straight to the mall to buy his sister's gift. But upon arriving at the mall, our protagonist comes face to face with his ex-girlfriend and her new flame. What a twist of fate! The couple is livid to see him with another girl, just one day after getting dumped. The man is furious, thinking he has to buy expensive bags to win a girl over, while this broke guy is already parading around with someone new. To avoid a scene, our hero suggests they check out some other stores first and save the drama for later. The new boyfriend, wanting to show off, invites them in, saying looking doesn't cost anything. Famous last words. Our hero replies that it was just a coincidence and that he was only there to buy a gift for his sister. The guy with glasses full of sarcasm provokes him, saying he should be looking in a toy store, not a luxury boutique. Seeing the verbal sparring, the ex-girlfriend approaches the new girl for a direct confrontation in true woman-to-woman fashion. She then drops the warning, "Be careful, don't be fooled by this liar." The young man doesn't let it slide, steps in front of her, and asks what she means by that, and after all, who did he fool? The man then says he shouldn't talk to her like that, and that he doesn't need to pretend to be rich anymore. Our hero thinks with disgust that those two were really made for each other, a couple worthy of being soap opera villains. Just then, a new system mission pops up on the screen saying that a perfect life should not be looked down upon. It's showtime! The couple's negative affinity is displayed 30 for him and 35 for her. Perfect for what he has in mind. With a task from the system, the guy decides there's no reason to hold back anymore. It's time to lay his cards on the table. Holding his date's hand, he walks into the luxury store as if he owns the place. Two saleswomen are gossiping, and one of them refuses to help a broke ex-rich kid so as not to waste her time. The older saleswoman, however, forces her to go help the customer anyway. After all, a customer is a customer. Meanwhile, the ex-girlfriend picks out a ridiculously expensive bag and tells her new partner to open his wallet. The attendant assigned to our hero complains that her colleague always gets the good customers, while she's stuck with the problematic ones. The other saleswoman compliments the woman's taste and offers a few more accessories that together cost 100,000 yuan. We see two super cute teddy bears with Angel Halos inside a fancy pink box. While the drama unfolds, the other girl picks out 2 bags for our guy's supposed sister. The attendant calculates the total and informs them that everything comes to over 50,000 yuan. The man turns pale at the price, thinking that a 20,000 yuan bag was already more than enough. The ex-girlfriend pressures him, telling him to pay up and show his power in front of our hero. Seeing the scene, our protagonist decides to buy both bags and the accessories the girl picked out all at once. The jealous couple's jaws drop, unable to believe what they just heard. The matrix is glitched. The girl with him is also in shock at the amount of money he's about to spend. The saleswoman, surprised, asks if he's sure, since the gossip was that he was broke. She calculates the total to be 131,000, and he realizes he has that exact amount in his account. It's fate, my friends! With a confident smile on his face, the guy hands his card to the saleswoman. The attendant nearly cries with joy, as the commission from that sale exceeded all her expectations. The ex-girlfriend, furious, yells, asking where he got all that money and if he took out a loan. The guy teases her, saying he doesn't look broke, and that he should take the opportunity to buy another bag for his ex. The man with glasses gets super awkward, since even the car he drives was bought with a hefty loan. The ex-girlfriend tries to pressure him again, but he makes up an excuse and starts to back away. Pretending to get an urgent call, he dashes out of the store, leaving the girl standing there, fuming. The woman storms off, huffing with anger, yelling for our hero to watch his back and showing all her contempt. Our protagonist smiles victoriously as the negative emotion points have hit their target and the mission is successfully completed. With the situation resolved, the guy hands one of the bags to the girl, who refuses, saying it's too expensive. He insists she take it, as an apology for all the nasty comments she had to listen to. Without giving her a chance to refuse, he hands all the bags to the young woman, who is stunned by the gift. He then reveals the truth: the bags were bought for her from the start, so he could get the system's reimbursement. The girl is afraid she'll look like a gold digger if she accepts so many expensive gifts at once. She tries to refuse one more time, but the guy holds her hands gently, stopping her from giving them back. He says this is just the beginning, and that she has to accept, otherwise he'll feel bad about the whole thing. The system confirms the mission's completion and the reimbursement of 6 times the amount spent. His bank account is laughing. Now, with the girl as his new money source, he knows he has to take very good care of her so as not to lose her affinity. The young man suggests they head back to campus and thinks it's best to let things flow naturally between them. The girl blushes at his kindness, showing that she's starting to fall for him for real. Back at the dorm, he runs into the same bullies who used to look down on him, but now they treat him like a king. They congratulate him on his triumphant return and immediately ask for a celebration dinner, suggesting a huge party for the whole class. Our guy simply ignores his fake friends and walks into his room without saying a word. His roommate is furious because his rival is telling everyone that he went out with the goddess of his life. Our hero comforts him, saying with an air of mystery that his rival's glory days are numbered. His friend is skeptical. After all, the girl went out with the other guy, and in his mind, something more could have happened. The protagonist argues, didn't she agree to go out with him? Well, that proves she was with the other guy. Or does it? Without giving any more details, he just smiles confidently, leaving his friend even more confused about the whole situation. With plenty of cash in his account, the guy decides that the next day he will visit his family to finally help them out. Arriving home, he comes face to face with his uncle, Shen Yad, who greets him with a smile faker than a $3 bill. His poor dad is there asking for more time to pay off the debt, but the uncle seems to be in a hurry to get his money. Our hero, in full in-aim spy mode, listens to the whole argument from behind the door with a very unhappy expression. The relative insists he needs all the money in the next few days, making up some excuse about his own expenses. His mother, who's no pushover, gets angry and throws it in his face that she's helped him financially in the past without all this drama. The father tries to play diplomat, but the mother remains outraged by her brother-in-law's complete lack of consideration. The uncle even has the audacity to say he's only being calm because they're family, and that with strangers it would be a different story. The woman is furious at the veiled threat and accuses him of being ungrateful after all the help he's received from them. Trying to prevent World War III in the living room, the father interrupts her and suggests selling the family's gold jewelry to pay the debt. And as if the universe were listening, the system activates a new mission: pay off the family's debts and get a double reimbursement. It's the family quest everyone wanted? Our guy is thrilled with the mission since he was already planning to help his family anyway. Now with a bonus, his mother, heartbroken, hands a jewelry box to her husband, lamenting having to part with it. Seeing that, the young man feels a pang of guilt, remembering he sold 2 of his mother's rings to buy a bag for his ex. Without a second thought, he walks in the room like a movie hero and says he's got the money to help pay off the debts. His parents obviously don't believe him and tell him not to joke around at a time like this. He insists it's true, and to prove it, makes a transfer to his father's account on the spot. The couple is shocked to see 200,000 yuan appear in the account out of nowhere and ask where all that money came from. To avoid explaining that he's become the protagonist of a manhwa with a money cheat, he comes up with the most modern excuse possible. He made some bold investments in cryptocurrency. His parents are filled with pride and super grateful, saying their son saved them from a huge problem. With the cash in hand, his mother pays her brother-in-law what she owes and sends a clear message: get out of here, and we don't want any more contact. The uncle is completely embarrassed by the turn of events and even tries to argue, but he's cut off mid-sentence. With a look that would make any villain tremble, our hero's mother yells for him to get out of her house immediately. With nothing left to do, the man runs out of there, more scared of his sister-in-law than a horror movie. He wonders how they got the money so fast, and if they might have won the lottery or something. Walking down the street, the uncle regrets being such a jerk and wonders how he's going to fix the mess he made. Meanwhile, the system confirms the mission's completion and deposits the hefty reward into our protagonist's account. He realizes, however, that he still has a long way to go to pay off all of his family's debts. Our young man decides the best move now is to use this capital to generate even more money. The classic, make your money work for you. With that in mind, he offers another 200,000 yuan to his father, saying he still has some saved up. His mother suggests he keep the money, but his father, completely ashamed, asks to borrow just 50,000. The scene is familiar. The protagonist's father acts exactly like he used to when he asked his parents for money. Our hero finds it hilarious, thinking about how crazy genetics are, seeing his father act just like him. He remembers when he was younger and asked his dad for money with the same embarrassed look. The tables have turned. Back at college, he runs into Professor Li Xiao, who is waiting for him on the stairs. The woman says she doesn't have classes that afternoon and flashes a smile so enchanting it could be a special ability. She then invites him to dinner as a way to return the favor from last time. Out of nowhere, like a secret boss popping up on the map, the professor's younger sister materializes with a soul-freezing glare. The guy tenses up just from her presence, as he already considers her his personal nemesis, the final barrier before the boss. He feels completely intimidated by the professor's sister and decides it's best not to mess with this beast. The 2 sisters just stand there staring at him, one with a sweet smile and the other with an expression that says, "Breathe near my sister and you're done for." Sensing a trap, the guy uses the Joestar family's secret technique. He makes up an excuse and runs for it, leaving the 2 sisters standing on the stairs. The younger sister warns that he has bad intentions, but the poor professor thinks she's just overreacting. Feeling the heat of the day, the protagonist starts to remember the good old days when he drove his sweet ride with the AC blasting. He remembers how nice it was to have his ex by his side on those drives and, for a moment, misses that time. Then he remembers he has a special fund in the system for buying a car and decides it's time to play that card. Without wasting any time, he sends a message to Manhua, inviting her to check out some cars with him, and she immediately accepts. The girl's friend starts teasing her right away, saying they've barely started dating and they're already car shopping together. All embarrassed, the girl says they're not a couple yet, but her friend keeps up the teasing. Her friend says she hit the jackpot with a rich, handsome guy and that now it's just her turn. Suddenly, in the middle of the conversation, the young woman feels a sharp pain as she injures herself on a piece of clothing. An hour later, the couple arrives at a luxury dealership to pick out our guy's new toy. A salesman approaches and is suddenly surprised to see the girl, whom he knows from high school. The girl then recognizes the salesman. It's an old classmate who used to be all over her in school. There's always one, right? Our protagonist asks who the guy is, and the young woman introduces him simply as a classmate. The guy introduces himself formally, and the salesman greets him with a somewhat forced handshake. He then says they want to see the M9 model, one of the most expensive, making the salesman super suspicious. The salesman takes him to see the car, thinking the young man is just another student trying to impress his girlfriend without a dime to his name. He stands there admiring the girl's beauty, remembering she was his unattainable goddess in high school. The salesman starts bragging about his success, thinking he's the better choice for her now. Full of himself, he asks her out, but the girl politely declines, saying she already has other plans. Our protagonist, sensing the vibe, asks to take a test drive, cutting off the salesman's lame pickup lines. Annoyed at being interrupted during his smooth operator moment, the guy denies the request, making up the flimsiest excuse about the test car. The young man, who's no fool, says he saw the test car right at the entrance and asks him to get another salesperson, since he doesn't seem very interested in helping. Without waiting for a response, he turns and calls the receptionist, politely asking for another salesperson to assist him. Suddenly, a super professional woman with glasses appears and offers to help them. The new saleswoman Chennai introduces herself and asks how she can be of service to the couple. Our hero gets a little flustered by the saleswoman's beauty, but tries to play it cool so he doesn't look bad in front of his date. Other salespeople start whispering that the customer is just a student trying to show off for his girlfriend. The first salesman, still fuming, says he's seen plenty like him and that they're nothing but show-offs. During the test drive, the saleswoman explains all the car's features to the guy with an enviable calmness. He thinks she's very professional and attractive, but remembers that luxury car saleswomen can be, well, gold diggers. The guy remembers several news stories about saleswomen who do anything to close a big deal. She then asks about his budget, and he replies straight up, "I want to take this car home today." The saleswoman's jaw drops at his quick decision, and she starts to wonder why the other salesman dismissed a customer like him. After a quick check, she says she can bring a brand new model from another branch in a week. The woman wonders if he's an angel customer, fallen from the sky, or if he has some other intention behind his hurry. Back at the office, a curious colleague asks about the student customer's intentions. She informs him with a victorious smile that the guy bought the car, leaving her colleague shocked at how fast the sale went. The other salespeople are doubtful, saying he'll make up an excuse when it's time to pay, as always. The saleswoman then drops the bomb. Not only is he buying it, but he's paying in cash. The crowd was so shocked you could hear a pin drop. The salesman who lost the sale is furious, lamenting that he let a commission slip away that would have paid his rent for months. After everything is settled, the saleswoman says goodbye and even offers a ride for later, but our guy turns it down. He says they'll grab a cab, leaving the saleswoman a bit disappointed by the rejection. The saleswoman regrets perhaps having annoyed the customer's girlfriend and says her final goodbyes. The couple goes out to eat, but the girl seems a bit uncomfortable, with a little black cloud hanging over her head. The guy, noticing the mood, asks if she's upset or jealous, but she denies it, turning her face away. He, who's an expert at reading signs, says her expression gives her away and assures her his interaction with the saleswoman was 100% professional. The girl, still jealous, says she saw him chatting all cheerfully with the other woman. He apologizes, saying it's a habit to be friendly, but the girl asks him not to do it again next time. The young woman starts scheming, thinking she needs to find a way to tee down the guy and make sure he doesn't get away. Operation Hook the MC is officially underway. Our protagonist promises it won't happen again, but thinks to himself that he's not as naive as he looks. She remembers he already gave her 2 expensive bags but worries about looking like a gold digger if she asks for anything else. He, reading her mind, says it's normal for girls to have several bags and there's no problem with wanting more. The guy thinks that actually the more she buys, the more he earns with the triple reimbursement. It's a win-win. Sitting in a cave, he asks if she wants a hot or cold drink. The girl gets all flustered, thinking he's trying to find out if it's that time of the month. The young man, noticing her confusion, is amused by her reaction and decides to even lean into the misunderstanding on purpose. 3 hours later, they leave the mall loaded with several bags from a very expensive shopping spree. The girl can't help but wonder how he managed to spend almost 140,000 yuan on her in just 2 days. The system, punctual as always, confirms the double reimbursement, and our hero now has over $1 million in his account to spend. The game is just getting started. With that smirk of someone who already knows the final score, our guy suggests that the college dorm might not be the most interesting place to spend the night. The girl, without a second thought, accepts the invitation for a night that promised to be, let's just say, very special. Cut a half an hour later, and now in a 5-star hotel, our protagonist is taking a shower to recharge his batteries. Meanwhile, lying on the bed, the young woman is already in crisis management mode, trying to come up with a wild excuse to explain her absence to her friend. Just then, our guy steps out of the shower, looking like a K-drama heartthrob, and asks if she's ready, leaving the girl practically speechless. In her thoughts, the girl is already apologizing to her friend, thinking he spoiled her with so many gifts it was impossible to say no. With that, she sends a text to her friend, using the classic excuse that she had to go to a relative's house last minute. The couple then cuddles on the bed, and he, ever the romantic, says he loves her scent even though she hasn't showered yet. After, well, she thinks the experience wasn't nearly the big scary deal her friend had made it out to be. Our young man, however, feels a bit tired, realizing his protagonist's stamina took a hit after 2 months of no exercise. But the girl, who seems to have chugged an energy drink, invites him for round 2, surprising our hero with all her vigor. He asks for a moment to catch his breath, but the girl insists, saying she wants to continue the match right now. With a seductive look that could disarm anyone, she convinces him to keep going, showing that the night was too good to end. The next morning, back in the dorm, he decides it's time to use the system's money to clear his name and pay off his debts. First, he pays off his credit card debt, and then remembers he still owes a friend 100,000. His roommate, curious, asks about the night before and invites him to a class dinner. Our guy then sees in the class group chat that his rival bought a new car and is showing it off to everyone in full "look at me" mode. Shortly after, he gets a message from a friend inviting him to the dinner, telling him to come relax a bit. And as if the system were reading his mind, a new mission appears on the screen: 1 million yuan in working capital to invest in a business. Thinking about how to use the cash, he has a genius idea to invest in his friend's bar, which is undergoing renovations. Without delay, he replies to his friend's message, asking for the restaurant's location to join the crew. Arriving there at a fancy restaurant, a guy with a woman by his side is already complaining about how late one of the guests is. Another guy agrees, dropping the cliché line that important people are never late. The host of the evening, Li Yohang, tells everyone to chill, saying Shen Yuan is reliable and will be there soon. The first guy grumbles that since his friend is footing the bill, he shouldn't complain about anything. The woman next to him, on the other hand, complains that he won't make their relationship official, but is always getting handsy with her. The man in the suit defends himself, saying his girlfriend is stuck in traffic and will be there shortly. The other guy thinks with a hint of envy about his cousin's luck in landing such an amazing girlfriend. He even imagines her in a sexy office outfit, thinking no man on earth could resist her. Finally, our protagonist arrives and immediately apologizes for being late, blaming the chaotic traffic. The host friend jokes about the delay, saying he should report the driver for incompetence. The man in the floral shirt teases him, saying he's lucky to have a private driver to blame. Suddenly, the man in the suit's girlfriend arrives, also apologizing for being late. The guy in the suit introduces her as his girlfriend, who works as a car saleswoman. The woman then freezes, as she instantly recognizes our protagonist. It was the mysterious client who bought a car in cash the day before. Very professionally, she decides to pretend she doesn't know him and formally introduces herself to everyone at the table. 40 minutes later, the host announces the real reason for the dinner. He wants to renovate his bar and is looking for investors. He explains that he needs a 700,000 yuan investment and asks what everyone thinks of the idea. The man in the floral shirt is already skeptical, thinking his friend is probably broke. The other friends quickly back out, saying they came for a free meal, not to open their wallets. In the guests' minds, the rule is clear: anyone who brings up money at a time like this is a complete idiot. The host realizes the awkward position he's in, seeing that his friends just use him and bail at the first sign of trouble. Frustrated, he breaks the uncomfortable silence, asking why everyone went quiet after stuffing their faces. The guy in the floral shirt shamelessly suggests they help with a small amount, like a handout. The man in the suit criticizes the host's past investments, calling all of them financial disasters. Another guest uses the excuse that they still depend on their parents and don't have spare cash to invest. The host finally understands that his brothers are completely useless and are all talk, but when it's time for action, they disappear. Fed up, he says that borrowing is a different story, and if no one's interested, they can just forget about it. The man in the floral shirt agrees instantly, telling them to just eat, drink, and have fun. Our protagonist, seeing all the fakeness, gets annoyed and decides he's had enough of this circus. At that moment, he stands up and drops a bombshell on the table, saying he'll invest the 700,000 himself, leaving everyone looking like they've seen a ghost. The host is in shock, unable to believe what he just heard from his friend. The man in the floral shirt starts laughing, telling our hero to stop joking around. Another guy tells him to go wash his face, thinking he's had too much to drink and doesn't know what he's saying. The man in the suit advises him to act within his means, basically calling him broke and a liar. The guy in the floral shirt, to humiliate him completely, offers to pay for his cab ride home. The saleswoman, who knows the truth, wonders why everyone is doubting him, since the guy bought a super expensive car without even blinking. She even thinks about helping him but is afraid of getting into trouble by defending a stranger in that snake pit. Our protagonist then, without saying a word, just shows his phone screen with the 700,000 yuan transfer already completed. The host is speechless when he sees the proof on the phone, completely shocked by his friend's action. To leave no doubt, the transfer confirmation glows on the phone screen, shutting everyone up. The host, still in shock, shows the phone to the man in the floral shirt, who asks what happened. Upon seeing the transfer, the guy yells in surprise, not believing the amount he's seeing. The saleswoman realizes the tables have completely turned, but she still doesn't understand the reason for all the commotion. The man in the floral shirt, dying of embarrassment, makes up a lame excuse and decides to get out of there as fast as possible. His cousin tries to stop him, but he tells him to leave too, making up another nonsensical excuse. The guy is confused since his parents didn't call, but he obeys his cousin and leaves as well. The host just laments his cousin's lack of awareness and the fact that our hero completely stole the show. Another guest, curious, asks what's going on, asks to see the message on the phone. After seeing the transfer, he also makes up an excuse and runs off, as if his chair were on fire. One by one, like rats abandoning a sinking ship, the other friends say their goodbyes and leave, leaving the host almost alone. Seeing the embarrassing scene, the couple also decides to leave, leaving the room practically empty. Before leaving, the saleswoman reveals that our hero bought a car from her in cash the day before. The man is shocked by the revelation, and the woman confirms it, saying she even has the contract on her phone to prove it. Blind with rage, he criticizes her for not telling him sooner, and she, in turn, gets irritated by his petty attitude. Completely in the right, the saleswoman ends the relationship right then and there, saying he's a shallow person and she never wants to see him again, not even if he were made of gold. The host regrets organizing the gathering, realizing in the worst way possible that his friends are not trustworthy at all. Our protagonist, focused on what matters, asks him to tell him more about the bar, wanting to get involved in the business planning. For the next 30 minutes, the two of them discuss ideas for the decor and operations of the future bar. An hour later, our hero gets a message informing him that his new car has arrived. The saleswoman also gets a message from him and wonders what he wants to discuss with her in person. He, on the other hand, decides it's time to expand his money tree and make the most of the system's opportunities. The next day, the saleswoman is waiting at a restaurant, a little anxious for the meeting with her VIP client. She wonders if she arrived too early, as he hasn't shown up for their scheduled meeting yet. Suddenly, she sees her boss, the general manager of the dealership, entering the same restaurant. The man dismisses his companions, saying he has other important matters to attend to there. The coworkers who were with him start gossiping, wondering if the saleswoman is finally going to give in to the boss's advances. One of them even comments maliciously that it seems like she set up the meeting just to be seen by the manager. The man in the suit, the recently dumped ex-boyfriend, overhears the conversation and gets suspicious. The manager approaches the saleswoman's table and shamelessly invites her to join him, since she's alone. Without even waiting for a response, he sits down at the table and pressures her, saying there's no problem with them eating together. The woman scolds him on the spot, telling him to keep his distance, since he's a married man with a family. The guy laughs and says he can easily get a divorce if that's the only problem. The ex-boyfriend watches the whole scene from afar, feeling like a complete loser next to the manager's power. He wonders if he lost his girlfriend to a fat pig and is completely blinded by rage. Without thinking, the guy approaches the table and accuses the two of having an affair behind his back. The manager, confused, asks who he is, and the man in the suit responds with a gentle flick right in the middle of the guy's face. Blind with jealousy, he accuses him of being a total jerk, and the two start throwing hands right there, in the middle of the fancy restaurant. The manager, who wasn't about to take that disrespect, fights back, and the exchange of pleasantries between the two kicks into high gear, turning the place into a deleted scene from Fight Club. It's at this exact moment of pure chaos that our protagonist arrives, walking into the brawl and looking like he accidentally picked the wrong anime episode and landed in a random fight scene. At that moment, he realizes her ex-boyfriend is just some random chump and that if it weren't for the manager, he'd be the one getting beat up. Unfazed by the ongoing brawl, our hero invites her to ditch the scene and let the two brutes sort it out themselves. Once in the car, she opens up and reveals that her relationship with that guy lasted only 2 weeks and ended because he was a total loser. She still seems worried about her boss, but our protagonist, already thinking 10 moves ahead, advises her to just find another job. She laments that it's not that easy to find another gig and that she'd lose all her loyal clients in the process. Just then, as they pass a flower shop, the saleswoman reveals that her big dream is to open her own cafe one day. She vents, saying that sales is an exhausting job and that she'd love to have a more relaxed business that reflects her personality. Our protagonist, who never misses an opportunity, surprises her on the spot by offering to invest in her dream of opening a cafe. The woman thinks it's just a joke, but he catches her off guard with a very serious job proposal. With an expression worthy of a CEO, he offers 300,000 yuan on the spot for her to open the cafe, of course, work for him. The saleswoman is completely frozen by the proposal, not even knowing what to say to such an unexpected invitation. Almost instantly, her affinity rises to 64, showing that the proposal was a critical hit to her heart. He realizes that a new money tree has just sprouted, thrilled to have earned her trust so quickly. Still in disbelief, the woman asks if he's serious, completely shocked by the offer. He confirms it and sweetens the deal with a generous salary, a new car, and bonuses if the cafe turns a profit. It's the full package. Doing the math in her head, she calculates that her annual income would easily surpass 300,000 yuan. And simply irresistible offer. The first thing that crosses the saleswoman's mind is what he's planning to keep her as, well, his unofficial girlfriend. She thinks the terms are too tempting, but she's not at all interested in being the other woman in anyone's life. He, sensing her concern, immediately clarifies that the plan is to open a chain of cafes and that their relationship will be strictly professional. Super relieved, the woman asks for some time to think, but she's already seriously considering accepting the dream job offer. Just then, he gets a message from Manhua inviting him out for a cold drink. Our guy is surprised by the girl's boundless energy, but accepts the invitation with a small condition. With that, he says goodbye to the saleswoman, asking her to think carefully about the proposal and let him know her decision later. Later, he arrives at the arranged hotel room, where the young woman is already waiting eagerly for him. Without wasting a second, the girl hugs him, saying she missed him, and he, of course, returns the affection. Suddenly, she stops, sniffs the air, and detects the scent of another woman on him, giving him that suspicious detective look. He's surprised and tries to explain, saying it must be the perfume of the car saleswoman. With a jealousy that would make a soap opera villain envious, she pins him against the wall, asking if he's been seeing other women. He hugs her to calm the beast and denies everything, explaining that he was at the dealership and must have picked up her scent by accident. The girl warns him to stay away from the saleswoman and, most importantly, to let her know before he goes out with any other woman. Our hero just thinks that he needs several money trees if he wants to take full advantage of the system, so a little jealousy is part of the game. The young woman then says she's going to take a shower, but he stops her, saying with a smile that the shower can wait. Coming up behind her, he hugs her and whispers that if she's not going to shower, she'll have to do something else. Shortly after, her clothes conveniently fall to the floor, indicating that the night was just beginning for the lovebirds. He repeats that he loves her scent just like this without a shower, leaving her both embarrassed and excited. The girl replies that she likes his scent too, and the two give in to that moment of passion. He kisses her on the neck, saying she's lit an uncontrollable fire in his heart. In response, she moans his name, confessing that she really likes him, much more than she ever imagined. Cut to 2 hours later, the young woman looks like she just downed a giant energy drink and still wants more, but our guy is exhausted and sweating buckets. He realizes her energy is on a whole other level compared to his ex, and he feels like he's run a marathon without training. Looking at the system screen, he sees that her affinity has risen to 90 after these nightly exercises. As a reward, the system gives him a lottery ticket, a spending voucher, and most importantly, a new skill. The guy gets all excited seeing the skill's name, Ruthless Power, already imagining that now he'll be able to rule the playground. He apologizes to the girl in his thoughts, warning her that he's in control now and the game will be played his way. Our protagonist then activates the new skill and feels a wave of power, like Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time, coursing through his body. The feeling is incredible, and he realizes the system is smart, giving rewards based on exactly what he needs most at the moment. The guy thinks that if it was like this with her, reaching level 90 with the professor is going to be a long and tough road. Eagerly, he decides it's time to test the power the system gave him and see what the new skill is capable of. The young woman, oblivious to everything, asks why he didn't take a shower, and he replies that he changed his mind. With a confident smile, he approaches her, ready to test his new power, firsthand. While our hero was busy leveling up his new skills, the saleswoman was venting to a friend about the job offer that fell from the sky. Her friend, of course, immediately raises a red flag, thinking the overly generous offer was a trap like a Nigerian prince scam. She then explains that it wasn't some random stranger, and that the guy simply bought a car in cash, without even haggling. Hearing this, the friend's curiosity does a 180, and now she wants to know his age, and of course, if the rich guy was at least cute. Our saleswoman, a bit embarrassed, admits that he was quite a looker, which only made her friend's eyes sparkle even more. Her friend, who clearly doesn't miss an opportunity, lays it on the line, saying age is just a number when the bank account has multiple zeros. But there was one small detail: the saleswoman remembers the guy already has a girlfriend, but to her friend that was just an obstacle to be overcome. She's shocked by her friend's suggestion to just steal him, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. The friend, who's no fool, offers to take him if she doesn't want him, but the saleswoman shuts that down immediately. To end the conversation, she makes up an excuse that her boyfriend has arrived, hangs up, and puts her phone away. Looking out the window, our saleswoman stands there lost in thought, reflecting on the proposal that could change her life forever. 40 minutes after that intense training session, the girl asks why he seems so different, well, more vigorous this time. All embarrassed, she hides under the covers, saying that already partied twice in such a short time. He, full of himself with his new power, asks if she liked it and invites her for another round, showing that his energy bar was full. To spice things up, the guy invites her to take the lead, reminding her that, as a former dancer, she must have some good moves. Completely blushing, the girl says she doesn't know how, but he encourages her, saying there's always a first time to learn. He kisses her, saying not knowing is no excuse and that practice makes perfect. Playfully, she calls him naughty, as she fully gives in to that moment of pure passion. The next morning, our hero wakes up feeling brand new, ready to seize the day since he had no classes. With time to spare, he decides to check the lottery ticket the system had gifted him. With his heart in his throat, he compares the numbers on the ticket with the winning results on his phone, with the same anticipation as an anime fan waiting for a tournament outcome. And wouldn't you know it, he won. Our protagonist almost has a heart attack when he discovers he won 6 million yuan in the lottery. That's money to burn. Without a second thought, he rushes to his parents' house to share the news and finally end their debt struggles. His mother greets him at the door and immediately tells him to keep it down, so he doesn't wake up the whole neighborhood with his shouting. His father appears shortly after with a worried look, thinking his son had gotten into some more trouble. With a grin from ear to ear, the protagonist announces that they're rich because he just won 6 million in the lottery. His poor parents think the stress has gone to their son's head and try to calm him down, thinking he's delirious. To prove he wasn't crazy, he shows them the ticket and the results on his phone, telling them to check for themselves. His father grabs the phone, checks the numbers, and lets out a scream of surprise so loud the whole neighborhood probably heard it. His mother is also in shock with the news, unable to believe their incredible luck. Overjoyed, the mother celebrates, saying his name will be remembered with honor in the family and that they need to go out and celebrate. Seizing the moment, our guy announces his plan to use part of the money to start his own business and gain experience before graduating. His father supports the idea immediately but, like a good cautious dad, suggests he save a portion of the money as a backup in case things get tough. He agrees and says he'll take just $1 million to start, leaving the other $5 million for his parents to manage. His parents are filled with pride, happy with the initiative and responsibility their son was showing. Meanwhile, at the dealership, the manager, with his face all bruised from the fight, decides to take his anger out on the saleswoman. She immediately defends herself, saying she broke up with her ex a long time ago and has absolutely nothing to do with their fight. The boss, a true scumbag, blames her for the mess, already thinking about how to use the situation to his advantage. The woman doesn't back down, saying the fight isn't her problem and that he was the one who insisted on staying at her table. As punishment, the manager suspends her from customer service, taking away her chance to earn commissions. She questions the absurd decision, reminding him she had asked for permission to leave early, but he completely ignores her. With a mocking laugh, the man says he's the general manager, and he's the one who calls the shots there. To make matters worse, he threatens her, saying that without commissions, she won't even have enough money to pay her rent. Fed up with all the harassment, the saleswoman explodes and quits on the spot, telling him his mediocre job is meaningless. The manager tries to play nice, advising her to think it over, but she stands firm in her decision. In her thoughts, the woman reflects that, despite looking young, our hero is calm, decisive, and completely different from the other men she's known. With this certainty, she decides she doesn't need to think anymore and quits right there, ready to start a new chapter. Half an hour later, she sends a message to our guy, saying she's thought it over and accepts the job offer. Meanwhile, in the dorm, our hero goes to visit Professor Lee, who is in the middle of a mess, organizing several boxes. The professor apologizes for the trouble, explaining that she's moving and needs a little help with her things. Our hero, playing the gentleman, says it's no trouble at all, since his morning was free, and asks what the mission is. She then points to the final bosses of the Manhwa desk and a filing cabinet that look like they weigh more than Gemini Saga's armor. Just then, the professor tries to reach some books on the top shelf, standing on her tiptoes like a ballerina. Even with all her stretching, the shelf seems to be in another dimension, laughing at her attempt. That's when, in the most cliché K-drama style that we all love, our hero comes up from behind and grabs the books for her, leaving her completely surprised by the closeness. The professor gets all flustered by the sudden proximity, stammering his name as if she'd seen a handsome ghost. She feels that mix of embarrassment and butterflies in her stomach, remembering their other encounter. Her head starts spinning, wondering if he has feelings for her, because that close encounter was anything but professional. A bit lost, she asks if he got the books, and he confirms with a victorious smile on his face. The guy smiles, satisfied to have saved the day, leaving the professor even more flustered by the situation. And as if the scriptwriter wanted to kill the mood, two students arrive right on time, ready to act as furniture movers. They quickly notice that the professor's face is redder than a chili pepper and wonder what kind of spell was cast there. Without asking questions, the guys start moving the filing cabinet to the next room, while our little couple watches the scene. The professor breathes a sigh of relief that they didn't arrive a minute earlier, thinking about how embarrassing that would have been. She still feels the warmth of the situation but tries to play it cool and go back to serious professor mode. Our hero, always keeping an eye on the score, notices her affinity has risen to 71 and wonders what the heck he did to earn those points. He thinks maybe he should pay more frequent visits to see if this XP bar keeps going up. Meanwhile, at a cafe near the campus, two girls are excitedly gossiping about a certain classmate. One of them praises the guy for buying a car in cash before even graduating, thinking it's awesome. Meanwhile, our protagonist's rival is bragging to anyone who will listen, thinking he's the king of the world now, and that girls will be lining up for him. The girls, however, comment that for some students, fancy cars are no big deal, since they come from families rolling in money. The rival gets all awkward, showing he's not used to all this female attention at all. Suddenly, a stunning woman with the presence of a 5-star gacha character walks into the cafe, stopping time and everyone's conversation. Outside, a self-driving car parks itself, and the girls wonder who owns that machine. One of them, who knows her stuff, recognizes the car as the M9, a luxury model that looks like it came straight out of a sci-fi movie. And to everyone's surprise, our hero gets out of the car like it's the most normal thing in the world, leaving everyone's jaw on the floor. The girls recognize his car and wonder how the broke ex-rich kid is parading around in a vehicle like that. The beautiful woman then waves to him, and the rival almost has a fit when he sees that the beauty was waiting for him. Envy hits the rival hard as he realizes the hottest woman in the place was there, just chilling, waiting for our protagonist. She informs him that the cafe owner is on her way, and asks what he thought of the car's performance. Taking a sip of her drink, he replies with a satisfied smile that the car is not bad at all. The rival's friend comments that the way our hero and the beautiful woman are acting is very suspicious. Just then, the cafe owner arrives, apologizes for being late, and formally introduces herself. Our hero greets her and says they're the same age, inviting her to sit down and get straight to the point. The woman explains that she needs to sell the cafe due to some family issues and asks for 300,000 yuan for the spot. He, with his investor's charm, throws out a counteroffer of 250,000, thinking about the budget the system released. She, needing the money ASAP, accepts the offer, saying she saw the determination in his eyes. With a handshake, he confirms the transfer will be made as soon as the contract is signed. Deal closed. Just like that! Right after, the former owner introduces our guy as the new boss to one of the employees. The employee, all shy, greets him and welcomes the cafe's new boss. He then explains that the beautiful woman by his side is the one who will be managing everything, since he can't always be around. The girls at the other table start their conspiracy theory, saying he only bought the cafe because of the hottie he was with. The rival feels like total trash, completely defeated and humiliated, with his confidence hitting rock bottom. The new cafe manager observes the whole scene, feeling like a fish out of water in that situation. Suddenly, the former owner's phone rings, breaking the mood and interrupting their conversation. She excuses herself to take the call, leaving the two of them alone for a moment. The new manager instantly recognizes the voice on the phone. It was the wife of the sleazy manager from the dealership. Our hero notices the coincidence and is disgusted by the manager's audacity. His new manager then reveals that she has proof of her boss's harassment and was planning to expose the creep. He, however, advises her against it, thinking about the consequences it would bring to the man's family. Like a true hero, our guy offers to handle the situation without her having to get involved, promising to take care of everything. The woman thanks him, super relieved not to have to deal with that huge problem alone. He then informs her about the payment and the initial capital for the cafe, leaving her even more surprised by his generosity. The system, which never sleeps, rewards him with more investment funds and some mysterious prizes. The former owner says her goodbyes, thanking him for the deal and saying she hopes to see him again soon. As he shakes her hand, he feels a soft touch and thinks about the charm of an experienced wife. For a brief second, our guy has a little fantasy, imagining a special, uncensored episode with the lady. He says goodbye, saying they'll definitely see each other again, and watches her leave with a smile on his face. Half an hour later, our hero and his new manager are at a fancy restaurant to celebrate their new partnership. Looking at her, he thinks the woman is simply irresistible and that any man would feel the same way. He then invites her to sit next to him, making her a little embarrassed by the invitation. He then asks her to come closer, thinking it's time to collect some interest on all that investment. She starts to wonder if he really wants to make money with the cafe or if his intentions are something else entirely. His hand then finds hers in a very suggestive way, and she thinks that, in the end, the only thing she can offer in return is, well, herself. The woman tries to stop him, saying the waiter is coming, but he reassures her with a look. He pulls her closer into a hug from behind that leaves her breathless and with no chance to resist his boldness. 10 minutes later, the waiter arrives with the dishes, acting as the official mood killer of the night. Our guy moves away and invites her to eat, leaving her all flustered and with her heart racing. He offers her the house specialty, and she accepts, still trying to process what had just happened. In her thoughts, she thinks he's handsome, but a total player, for acting that way. The woman feels a little embarrassed but can't deny that she was attracted to his bold style. 40 minutes later, he pays the 2,652 won bill without even blinking. The guy mentally calculates he just made over 5,000 yuan just from the system's triple reimbursement. Stunks. She, want to be professional, says she wants to go back to the cafe to get familiar with everything and start working. He, with other plans in mind, invites her to go home, saying the work can wait until the next day. She ends up accepting the invitation, and he takes her home with that smirk of someone who already knows what's going to happen. At her apartment door, he drops the classic line, "Don't you want to invite me up for a glass of water?" She hesitates, saying it wouldn't look right, but he insists, using all his charm. With a direct question, he asks if there's another man in the apartment, making her blush. The woman denies it, and he convinces her to let him come up, saying there's nothing wrong with it. She tries to refuse more firmly, but he presses her against the wall, ready for the next step. The guy corners her, leaving her with no escape and completely at his mercy. Without further ado, he kisses her, saying he wants a different kind of water, and the night finally heats up. The woman moans in pleasure, giving in to the moment and throwing all her hesitations out the window. While things are heating up upstairs, downstairs her ex-boyfriend arrives with a bouquet of flowers in full "I want my ex back" mode. He leaves the flowers at the door, thinking that romantic gesture will win her heart back. But when he hears some, let's say very lively sounds, he realizes she's moved on and gets more pissed than the Hulk. Blind with rage, he screams the manager's name, thinking she cheated on him with her boss, and starts pounding on the door. Our hero recognizes the pest voice and wonders why the guy insists on being the annoying extra in her life. To drown out the noise, he kisses her, saying it's just some loud neighbor next door. Not giving a damn about the banging on the door, he picks her up and carries her to the bedroom. The ex-boyfriend finally gives up and leaves, leaving a bitter message for the happy couple. An hour later, the woman complains about being tired but admits the experience was very good. He pulls her back into bed, saying that if she just lies down, she won't get tired so quickly. With his new infinite energy skill, he feels ready to go all night without needing a stamina potion. The next morning, our guy wakes up to the delicious smell of grilled cheese and fried eggs. He finds her in the kitchen making breakfast in a super cute apron. The woman cooks with a smile on her face, showing a more domestic and caring side he hadn't seen before. He realizes she's much more thoughtful than the first impression he got at the hotel. And as if the scriptwriter was just waiting for the cute moment to end, the system activates a new mission by a property for the new cafe manager. The game never stops. Our hero dreams of the ultimate goal of every isekai protagonist, a life of pure luxury, complete with a pool party full of waifus. But reality calls him back, with his new manager waking him up and telling him breakfast will be ready in 2 minutes. With that mischievous little smile, he asks if it's just breakfast, hinting that maybe he wants an early dessert. Coming up behind her in a hug, our guy says she can make her own breakfast because he's already chosen what he's going to eat. Then he just drops the bomb, inviting her to buy a house like he's asking her to buy bread at the bakery, leaving the woman in a state of shock. She's left wondering what the catch is, since he devoured her all night and now he comes up with this. The lady hesitates, saying it's too much money and that money doesn't grow on trees, but he shuts her up with a kiss. Little does she know that for him, with the system activated, it's almost as if money does grow on trees. He hugs her and says he wants to buy a house for her because he doesn't want his partner to be treated poorly. Our hero even teases her, saying they made so much noise that the neighbors probably know their names by now. With a kiss, the young man admits he's also to blame, but her happy screams were quite loud. The woman then remembers she had plans to meet 2 friends for coffee and suggests they can look at houses later. He argues that choosing a house and dealing with the paperwork takes time, and she ends up agreeing to postpone her plans. Without delay, she sends a message to her friends, canceling their get-together and suggesting they meet up at night. On the other side of town, one of the friends tells the other that the cafe manager bailed on them because of something unexpected. The other friend, who is a personal trainer, wonders what the reason for such a last-minute cancellation could be. The first friend is already doubting the whole cafe story, thinking the manager was either fooled or is just fantasizing too much. But the trainer is super curious to meet this supposedly rich and handsome young man her friend snagged. Her friend agrees to ask for more details and grabs her phone to send another message. The reply comes and she almost faints when she finds out the unexpected thing was that the guy was taking her friend to buy a house. The 2 friends peel out, completely shocked by the news that he was just going to buy her a house. The trainer does the math in her head and figures the guy was willing to spend almost 1,000,000 yuan on her friend. With that, she decides she has to meet him, thinking she has way more assets to attract a rich man than her friend does. The personal trainer then convinces the other to gulp. Their friend check out the house with very clear ulterior motives. Her friend agrees immediately and sends a message to the manager, offering herself as a real estate expert. 40 minutes later, they arrive at the sales center, jaws dropped at the luxury and extravagance of the place. Her friend waves to the manager, all excited to see her after so long. Without wasting any time, the trainer asks to be introduced to the great catch her friend is with. The manager then introduces her friends, a personal trainer and a car saleswoman. Next, she introduces our hero to her friends, who check him out from head to toe with an interested gaze. The trainer immediately goes on the offensive, inviting him to train at her gym and complimenting his physique. He, being very clever, declines the invitation, saying he wouldn't be able to concentrate on his workout with her around. The personal trainer notices he wasn't offended by her flirting and concludes that maybe they aren't an official couple. With an X-ray vision, she notices her friend's slightly scraped knees and deduces that the previous night was intense. The other friend also tries her luck and invites him to check out the Ferrari dealership, but he turns her down too. Our hero notices the interest from both of them and wonders if the manager is sure these are really her friends. In his thoughts, he calculates that the more women with high affinity, the more money trees he'll have to harvest from. The group then enters the sales center, drawing the stares of a jealous couple who was also there. The man grumbles, wondering who the guy is trying to impress, walking around with 3 women. A saleswoman approaches and offers her help, showing them the available apartments in the catalog. He gets straight to the point, saying his budget is 3 million and he wants the best recommendations. The saleswoman invites him to the negotiation room for a more detailed and professional presentation. The trainer is floored by the amount, wondering what kind of tycoon he was. In her mind, a rich man like him is a trophy she needs to win at all costs. The saleswoman then recommends a huge apartment, 165 square meters, for almost 3 million. The cafe manager thinks it's overkill, but our hero reassures her, telling her not to worry about the price. He says a big house is more comfortable, leaving her speechless with such generosity. Her friends just watch, thinking he's the kind of loyal and generous sponsor that only exists in fan fiction. With his negotiation skills, he asks for more discounts, saying he knows very well there's always room to lower the price. In a masterstroke, our guy trades the discounts for 2 parking spots, showing he's not just rich, but smart too. The trainer becomes even more determined to win him over, completely impressed by his cleverness. He notices her intentions and wonders what that woman's plan is. Discreetly, the trainer adjusts her dress strap, trying to use her powers to seduce him. He watches her out of the corner of his eye, thinking she's truly impressive and imagining what a private training session would be like. But focused on the mission, the guy turns his attention back to closing the deal on the house. Half an hour later, the saleswoman informs him that the final price with the parking spots is 2,098,000. His friends are stunned to see that he not only bought the house but put it in the cafe manager's name. The system confirms the mission's completion and the reimbursement, making his bank balance jump to over 15 million. To top it all off, he receives the mysterious reward, a luxury villa in one of the country's top 10 cities. It's a legendary loot drop. The saleswoman congratulates him and takes the opportunity to ask for his contact information for future purchases, flirting shamelessly. He, being no fool, agrees to exchange contacts and shows her the QR code on his phone to scan. The trainer is furious, thinking the saleswoman is trying to steal the prize that should be hers. She approaches and says she's also thinking about buying a small apartment there. The personal trainer offers again to help with his training, and he accepts without any issue. After everything is settled, he says goodbye to the manager, saying he has other commitments and that they can go have fun. The trainer is disappointed he's not staying for lunch, but the hunt isn't over yet. The manager's friend suggests they grab a bite and then have some coffee to enjoy the rest of the day. The trainer agrees, already scheming a plan to get closer to him in the future. Half an hour later, back at the college cafeteria, our hero finds Professor Lee eating lunch alone. At other tables, some students are whispering about the professor's beauty and loneliness. She's on the phone discussing a university project and seems quite worried. The professor hangs up, clearly frustrated with the lack of progress on the project. He approaches and asks what's bothering her, and she vents about the university's startup incubator. She explains that the school wants to support student entrepreneurs, but the biggest problem is the lack of funding. The professor says the school provides the space and guidance, but needs partnerships with companies for the cash. He asks what the school can offer in return, and she replies, disheartened, only talent. She laments that the university doesn't have many advantages to attract major investors. The professor feels frustrated with the situation, thinking about the pressure the company directors are putting on her. He even considers investing but worries about the low success rate that university projects usually have. She notices his interest and asks if he's thinking about participating in the project. She says it's a good idea but warns him that the project hasn't even been officially launched and it could be a tough road. As if it were listening to the conversation, the system activates a new mission: gain prestige and influence by investing in university projects. Our guy sees the perfect opportunity, since the system basically covers the costs and the risk is zero. With an investor's mindset, he asks who evaluates the projects, whether it's the school or the investor, wanting to ensure he has control. The professor explains that, in theory, the school evaluates them, but there's always room to negotiate the terms. Without beating around the bush, he offers to invest, with the sole condition that he can evaluate the projects himself. To prove he wasn't joking, he shows her his bank balance on his phone, leaving her completely shocked. The professor is speechless when she sees the 9 digits in his account, over 15 million yuan. He uses his usual excuse, saying he made some bold investments in cryptocurrency, and she's super impressed. To her, the situation is surreal. One of her students became a multimillionaire overnight. Joking around, he invites her to drop everything and run away with him, promising a life of luxury and world travels. For a moment, the professor allows herself to dream of a life like that, running on the beach and enjoying the sun by his side. Back in reality, she questions him about the investment, reminding him that university startups rarely turn a profit. He replies nobly that his main goal is to contribute to the university's development. The professor remembers his invitation to run away together and wonders if, deep down, he was being serious. She gets all embarrassed by her own thoughts, remembering he's still her student. He says goodbye, telling her he'll talk to the secretary about the investment and invites her to think about his proposal. Later, he gets a message from the cafe manager with a photo of her that, let's just say, wasn't meant for HR. Across the courtyard, a classmate watches him from afar, wondering why she still thinks about the hike's rich kid. Her friends are talking about our hero's roommate, who has asked her out several times. One of the friends, acting as the voice of reason, advises her to think carefully, as going out with that guy would only hurt her reputation. The other, sensing danger, tells them to keep it down because the guy is walking toward them like a scene from a horror movie. The classmate points out that he's probably heading to some part-time job, trying to justify the situation. The more curious friend suggests finding out where he works, but the other thinks the idea is totally inappropriate and invasive. Not caring at all about her friend's opinion, one of the girls boldly approaches him, asking where he's working and if they can go support him. He, sensing the mockery in the air, decides to play along and invites him to the cafe where he works. Arriving at the cafe, the 2 new managers are waiting anxiously, ready to start a new chapter in their lives. The friends are jaw-dropped by the women's beauty, thinking they must have escaped from a shoujo manga. The trainer, who's no fool, questions him about his so-called commitment, and he replies that the ladies just came for coffee. And then he drops the bomb. He introduces them as his new employees, leaving his classmates' brains completely fried. With the utmost naturalness, our guy asks the employee to take the 3 girls' orders, saying it's on the house. The employee, super friendly, invites them to sit down, and they settle at one of the cafe tables. The classmates almost have a heart attack when they hear the employee call him boss. The light bulb finally went on. Completely embarrassed by the misunderstanding, they decide it's time to beat a hasty retreat and escape the awkward situation. One of them, feeling humiliated for being tricked, curses him under her breath as she leaves. He, feigning innocence, asks why they left, and the trainer says maybe they were intimidated by so many important people. The personal trainer warns him to behave, but he doesn't pay her any mind, showing he doesn't care about others' opinions. The cafe manager serves him a drink, and he, in full charmer mode, compliments it, saying it's sweet, just like her. The trainer laughs at the cheesy pickup line but admits that, coming from a rich, handsome man, it sounds completely different. She's captivated by his charm, realizing the guy knows exactly how to play the game of seduction. Changing the subject, the trainer asks for his height and weight to calculate his BMI, evaluate his physique. She's surprised to learn he's lost weight recently, and he teases her with a reply full of innuendo. He says it was due to overexertion, leaving the cafe manager blushing like a tomato because she knew exactly what he was talking about. The trainer smiles, getting the hint immediately and enjoying the whole situation. She advises him to work out more to gain muscle mass and improve his conditioning, offering to help, of course. He teases her back, saying he'll think about it while she's trying to meet her sales quota for the day. The trainer says goodbye, mentioning she has a class and that they'll see each other soon. Before leaving, she winks at him, and our hero thinks to himself that he'll tame that beast sooner or later. Without missing a beat, he invites the manager for some special training on the second floor, and she's completely confused. The guy pulls her in for a kiss, saying her skills need some extra practice to be perfect. He kisses her with all the passion in the world, completely ignoring the presence of the other employee in the cafe. The woman moans in pleasure, surrendering to the kiss and forgetting all her worries. The employee downstairs hears the suspicious sounds coming from upstairs and wonders what kind of meeting is going on. The cafe manager moans her boss's name, completely lost in the intense moment. The employee, realizing things have heated up, decides to close the shop early, thinking it's best not to interrupt the training. At that exact moment, the trainer comes back to get the purse she forgot and finds the shop closed, getting super annoyed. The employee tries to explain the situation, but the trainer ignores her and starts banging on the door impatiently. That's when she hears the moans and realizes what's happening, shocked by the couple's boldness. 10 minutes later, she's still there waiting, wondering where he gets all that energy. The trainer licks her lips, thinking our hero is truly a rare and powerful specimen. Giving up on waiting, she says goodbye and leaves with a mischievous smile on her face. The cafe manager, upon realizing everything, thinks the trainer heard the whole scene and feels completely embarrassed. He kisses her again, saying that real training needs an audience to be more effective. In another part of the city, Secretary Lou asks if that student really wants to invest in the startup incubator. Professor Lee confirms it, but the secretary, full of suspicion, doubts he has the money for it. She then reveals that she personally checked his bank account and that the guy has over 10 million yuan. The secretary's jaw drops at the amount and he asks if the money doesn't belong to his parents. The professor confirms that the money is all his and that he has full control over the funds. The secretary then asks the guy to come to his office to hear the proposal directly from him. In his thoughts, he plans to put the student in his proper place, so he doesn't feel too important. Our hero gets a call from Professor Lee right in the middle of his training with the manager. He answers the call, asking what she wants while still holding the manager in his arms. The guy immediately realizes the school is trying to control him and decides it's time to take the reins. Without any ceremony, he hangs up on the secretary, saying he's busy and they can schedule another time. The professor is shocked by his attitude, thinking the student has some serious nerve. The secretary, on the other hand, is furious for being disrespected so blatantly by a mere student. He feels completely humiliated, as even the student leaders treat him with the utmost respect. The professor, trying to put out the fire, suggests inviting him to dinner, since he's the potential investor. She agrees to send him a message, ready to try a friendlier, less authoritarian approach. He receives the message and decides to make them wait on purpose, to gain more bargaining power over the investment. The cafe manager, being super understanding, lets him go, saying he can handle his business and they can have dinner later. He watches her, thinking about how well she takes care of him and what an amazing woman she is. Suddenly, his phone rings again. It's Manhua inviting him for a walk. He teases her, saying he thought the invitation would be for a cold drink, but she declines. She explains that it's that time of the month and she can't drink, but offers to go anyway if he insists. Concerned for her health, he says he'll pick her up from the dorm to take care of her. The young woman hugs him, super grateful that he's concerned and not pressuring her to go out. She kisses him on the cheek, saying he's the sweetest and most caring boyfriend in the world. Seizing the moment, the girl questions him about their relationship, wanting an official title. He kisses her and says it's obvious they're a couple, leaving her on cloud 9. Giddy with joy, the young woman hugs him and asks if he truly loves her, and our hero, a master of seduction, confirms with a kiss that says "Heis" in every language. She then asks the final question if she's his only girlfriend. Our hero agrees instantly, but we, the audience, know there's a huge asterisk on that answer. And that asterisk is huge because mine, the others aren't girlfriends, they're darlings and babes. It's the classic love contract loophole. To celebrate her new official girlfriend status, he promises a reward for her being so understanding and invites her to every rich person's favorite sport shopping. But he's not talking about buying a little shirt. Oh no. The guy simply offers her a car or a house, leaving the girl with her jaw on the floor, not knowing how to process such an offer. But before the shopping marathon, he takes her back to the dorm, playing the attentive boyfriend and telling her to rest well. On the way, the traffic light turns green, as if the universe itself were saying, "The path is clear for your next adventures, my dear protagonist." And speaking of adventures, his phone buzzes with a message from the trainer, inviting him for a workout at the gym. Our young man, who never misses a chance to flirt, teases her back, saying the video she sent would only be inappropriate for men with dirty minds. The trainer smiles, realizing he played along and isn't treating her like a mere stranger. In her mind, the door to conquest has been officially opened. Meanwhile, at the gym, the trainer runs into a colleague who immediately asks the reason for her ear-to-ear grin so early in the day. The personal trainer, all mysterious, says it's because of a very special friend who has appeared in her life. She then drops the gossip of the century. She tells her that a friend got a sugar daddy who just gave her a 3 million yuan apartment as a gift. Her colleague is shocked by the amount, thinking the guy must be a multimillionaire, at the very least. Instantly, she pictures some old rich geezer from a soap opera, but the trainer assures her he's 1,000 times better than her cheapskate ex-fling. And to leave her colleague completely floored, she reveals that the man is young, handsome, and tall. Basically a real-life manhwa protagonist. Her colleague, impressed, concludes that her friend must be a goddess of beauty to snag such a great catch. At that moment, we see an image of the trainer and the cafe manager, making it crystal clear who they're talking about. With the utmost confidence, the trainer says they both have the same level of beauty, just with different, strong points. And as if it were fate, our hero sends a message to the trainer, inviting her to go with him to handle the house paperwork. Without even blinking, the personal trainer cancels her class with her colleague, shamelessly saying her friend's sugar daddy asked her out. The colleague is shocked, processing the information and realizing that the trainer is basically trying to steal her best friend's boyfriend. But in her thoughts, she admits that if she found a man like that, she wouldn't think twice about trying her luck either. Friendship can take a hike, right? Right on cue, a male coworker approaches and asks her out, but she completely ignores him. The trainer gives him a look of pure contempt that says, "You're not on my level, pal." 10 minutes later, the two colleagues see our hero arriving in his luxury car to pick up the trainer. The colleague immediately bursts the guy's bubble, warning him not to get his hopes up, because that was the guy who bought a 3 million yuan house for his girlfriend. The guy is shocked by the amount, doing the math and wondering how many lifetimes he'd have to work to save up that much cash. Acting like a perfect gentleman, our hero opens the car door for the trainer, inviting her to get in. It's at that moment that it finally clicks for the colleague, and she's shocked to recognize that the mysterious sugar daddy is actually the broke ex-rich kid from college. The world really does work in mysterious ways. Across the street, his ex-girlfriend is in a state of shock, as if she'd just seen the ghost of her rich future driving away in a luxury car. The trainer, who wastes no time, gets close to him, flirting openly and completely ignoring the ghostly presence of the ex. Desperation hits the ex-girlfriend hard as she realizes too late that her broke ex-boyfriend is now a multimillionaire. The regret must be hitting harder than his car door. The poor coworker tries to console her, but she ignores him, completely lost in what-if thoughts. To make matters worse, she gets a message from some random guy inviting her over to his place. Absolutely livid, the ex-girlfriend takes out all her frustration on the poor guy, cussing him out and blocking his number. The man on the other end of the line is confused and annoyed, not understanding why he got rejected so randomly. The ex wonders if she still has a chance with the guy, bitterly regretting her decision to trade a diamond for a piece of glass. She even imagines herself in a harem with the other women, wondering if there's room for one more in his collection. Meanwhile, in the car, the trainer compliments the vehicle and suggests an off-road camping trip, showing she's an adventurous woman. He's up for the idea, saying they can try it some other time, with that mischievous smile of someone who already has other plans in mind. She calls him bold, and he replies flatly that he doesn't like to play by the rules. To spice up the conversation, he invites her to play ball, and she, being no fool, gets the hint immediately and calls him a tease. Our guy insists, saying he's dying to play ball with her, and the trainer can't help but laugh at the pickup line. She calls him a tease again, but it's clear she's enjoying his boldness and charm. 30 minutes later, the saleswoman from the sales center sees them arriving and laments not being lucky enough to be in the trainer's shoes. The pair arrives at the luxury villa, a place so stunning it looks like it's straight out of a postcard, with gardens and fountains everywhere. The trainer is completely mesmerized by the beauty of the place, looking like a kid in a candy store. In her dreams, she already sees herself living there and decides she must conquer this man at all costs. The saleswoman explains that the villa is over 600 square meters and can be decorated exactly as they wish. The system, ever generous, congratulates our hero and offers 20 million for the home renovation, double the property's value. The money never stops. He, as a good servant of the system, accepts the generosity and gets ready to spend all that cash. Our guy asks the saleswoman if she knows any good renovation companies in the city. The trainer, who never misses a chance to show off, asks to record a video to post on her social media. He agrees on the condition that she doesn't show his face and teases her about her followers. She reveals proudly that she has over 50,000 followers, mostly local fans. The young man, curious, asks if she has a lot of fans and tries to peek inside her car. In a playful tone, he says she has the premium version for her fans, while others see the regular version. Riding the wave, our guy invites her to participate in a review video for his bar, and she accepts immediately, super excited. The trainer asks if they're going back to the gym, but he already has other plans in mind. He reminds her of their ball game, but she, playing hard to get, accuses him of being just like all the other men. Ignoring her comment, our hero floors the accelerator, enjoying the speed and thrill of the moment. The trainer is startled by the sudden acceleration, but he reassures her with a confident smile. He teases her, saying that if she cares so much about her friend, she might as well take her place. The trainer replies that he wishes, showing she's not going to give in so easily. In her thoughts, she knows that giving in too quickly would make her seem easy and that she needs to play it cool to keep him interested. Her plan is clear: tease him and make him work hard to win her over. Arriving at the gym, she says goodbye, telling him to stop by any time, and leaves. He says goodbye back, telling her they should play ball sometime, and watches her go with a smile. Through the glass door, the trainer watches him with a mysterious smile, already planning her next move. She barely walks into the gym before the manager scolds her for missing work and violating her contract. She defends herself, explaining she had a personal emergency and even reimbursed the client double. The manager says that even with the reimbursement, the client filed a formal complaint. The trainer realizes he's trying to manipulate her to get something, but she doesn't fall for the trap. She thanks him for the warning and tries to leave, but he insists, inviting her to lunch. The personal trainer rejects the invitation flat out, saying she brought her own lunch, and leaves without another word. In her daydream, she dreams of being carried in our hero's arms, imagining a life of pure luxury. The trainer thinks she's destined for a better life and that no one will stand in her way. In another room at the college, two secretaries are discussing our hero's admission to the startup incubator. They decide they need more information before making a rash decision about such a large investment. Secretary Kong suggests a preliminary meeting with Professor Lee to discuss the matter further. The other secretary is surprised, as their presence at a meeting would be a huge event at the university. Meanwhile, in the dorm, a desperate classmate asks our hero for advice on how to win over a girl. Our protagonist takes a look at the messages and realizes his friend is being more persistent than a telemarketer. The classmate brags, all happy, that she now replies to all his messages. Our hero, with zero patience to play Cupid, suggests he ask another dorm mate for help. The friend refuses, saying our protagonist is the master of the subject in their dorm. The classmate keeps insisting, and our hero, just to get rid of him, agrees to help. The friend celebrates, believing his conquest is now guaranteed with the sensei's help. Suddenly, the door opens and, like a movie scene, the secretaries and Professor Lee appear. The professor asks if our hero is in the dorm, and the classmate confirms it immediately. The friend invites them in, and the other classmate gets nervous, wondering if he broke some law. To make matters worse, the rival starts spreading rumors that our hero is involved in illegal activities to have so much money. The rival says his money isn't clean, that the college leaders are holding him until the police arrive. His roommate scolds him, but the rival, full of envy, tells him to just wait and see what happens. The professor introduces him to the secretaries, and the classmate gets even more tense about the situation. To everyone's surprise, Secretary Kong invites him to dinner, and our hero accepts without blinking. He seizes the opportunity and suggests they talk about the startup incubator during dinner. The classmates watch the scene, still thinking he's under investigation. His friend, on the other hand, is super impressed by how important the guy seems to be. The rival is shocked, realizing our hero is playing on a completely different level than him. At the restaurant, Secretary Kong gets straight to the point and asks him to talk about his plans and demands. Our hero makes it clear that to invest, his conditions must be met, and the secretary agrees. His main demand is complete autonomy over the investments, with no interference from the school. The other secretary is outraged by his audacity, but Secretary Kong calms him down and asks our hero to continue. He argues that without funding, the success rate doesn't matter, and that their goals are the same. With the confidence of an emperor, our guy takes a sip of wine, showing he's in total control of the situation. In his mind, he plans to use the startup incubator to build his own team of elite professionals. The young man realizes the system's missions require many women, and the college is the perfect place to recruit. The secretary says he needs to consult the education leaders, and our hero calmly agrees to wait. The dinner ends, and the professor offers to take our hero home, since he had a little to drink. On the way, she compliments the space in his new car, impressed by the vehicle's comfort. He comments that he got tired of sedans and wanted to try an SUV this time. The professor gets a call from her sister, who cancels the help she was going to give with the move. Our guy overhears the conversation and asks if she's moving, and she confirms that her old lease ended. Like a good student, he offers to help her move, but she declines, thinking it's not appropriate. He insists, saying he's her student and helping her is no big deal. The professor gets a little embarrassed, noticing for the first time how handsome and attractive he is. She remembers the bag he gave her, and it finally clicks it must be genuine, and he's probably interested in her. The woman questions him about the bag, and he confirms he remembers the gift. Without beating around the bush, he reveals the bag was an original, a gift for the professor he likes. She turns bright red at his confession, and he tries to play it off, saying it was a respectful gift. The professor feels conflicted, as she's older and, above all, he's her student. He reassures her, telling her to focus on driving and that he's not giving up on her. Arriving at her building, she asks if he's going home to sleep, and he says he's going back to the dorm. The professor suggests he leave the car there and pick it up the next day, handing him the keys. In a moment of pure boldness, he gives her a surprise kiss, leaving her completely stunned. In her thoughts, she's amazed at how bold he's becoming, kissing her directly. The woman calls him a bad student and runs inside, all flustered and with her heart pounding. The moment the mood cools down, he gets a call from the cafe employee, asking him to open the door for the former owner. Out of nowhere, the former cafe owner shows up and apologizes for bothering him, explaining she forgot her son's toys. He, being a gentleman, invites her in, saying it's no problem at all and she can look around calmly. The woman enters the cafe and feels a pang of nostalgia, like revisiting a scene from a happy moment in her life. She starts looking for her son's toys, which seem to be scattered all over the cafe. Our hero watches her curious and asks her son's age, trying to break the ice. In the middle of the search, he finds a bottle of wine and wonders if the former owner used to drink there alone. She says she's got everything and gets ready to leave, but he notices she's a bit hesitant. The former owner admits she's feeling nostalgic, remembering all the days she spent in that cafe. Noticing the sadness in her eyes, he invites her to come back whenever she wants for a visit, no strings attached. She, with an air of mystery, says she might not be able to come back, and he, being no fool, invites her for a drink. The woman hesitates, but he insists, saying there's nothing inappropriate about having a drink to relax. He pours the wine and gets straight to the point, asking why she's so down, already guessing the problem was her family. Our guy then reveals that he knows about her husband and the harassment his employees suffered. The woman is completely shocked to find out he knows about the affair, already imagining the worst-case scenario. He immediately reassures her, saying her husband calmly harassed the employee. The former owner then vents and reveals she was already planning a divorce and had even collected evidence against the scumbag. She regrets marrying him but confesses she's hesitant to make a decision because of their son. Acting like a true counselor, he advises her to make the right decision, thinking about her son's long-term well-being. The woman agrees, realizing he's much more mature and charming than she had imagined. He, to top it all off, compliments her, saying that being with a handsome man can make any woman feel better. Suddenly, like a soap opera plot twist, she kisses him, leaving our protagonist completely surprised by her action. He stands there, wondering what the heck that kiss meant, while she simply leaves, leaving him confused. In her thoughts, the former owner blames the kiss on the wine and feels satisfied with what she did. Still processing what happened, he calls the cafe manager, telling her he's sleeping over at her place tonight. 20 minutes later, she welcomes him home, surprised to see how much he's had to drink. He makes up the excuse that it was a dinner with school leaders and he couldn't refuse a drink. She, super attentive, helps him sit down and offers to make him some tea to feel better. The guy hugs her from behind, asking for a warm hug before anything else. She, already suspicious, questions his intentions, but he assures her it's just a hug. The woman feels tricked, remembering all the other excuses he's used to get what he wanted. She questions his character, but he ignores her, continuing with the tight hugs. He, playing the victim, asks if she doesn't trust him anymore, and the woman gives in, saying they can sleep together. Our hero thinks she's still very conservative, but that there are other ways to enjoy the night. With an Oscar-worthy performance, he pretends to feel cold and sneezes, drawing her attention to the air conditioner. She offers to adjust the temperature, but he, with a plan in mind, says it's not necessary. He pulls her close, saying there's no need to adjust anything if they share the same blanket. Our guy hugs her under the blanket, leaving her breathless with the sudden closeness. With a smile, he says he's not cold anymore, and she moans in pleasure, completely surrendering to the moment. The next morning, he finds a cute note from her, saying she's already left for the cafe. He barely wakes up before getting a message from the trainer, inviting him to the gym for a workout. He puts his phone away, thinking the manager's best friend is teasing him quite directly. The trainer asks why he's scared and he blinks, annoyed by her blatant seduction. He thinks the woman is shamelessly hitting on him, but tries to maintain his protagonist's composure. Suddenly, he gets a call from Professor Lee, interrupting his video call with the trainer. He hangs up on the personal trainer, saying he has important matters to attend to. The professor informs him that his investment proposal has been approved and the documents will be released soon. Our guy, always thinking ahead, asks to include height, weight, and a personal photo in the application forms. The professor finds the request a bit odd, but agrees to add the new requirements. He hangs up the phone, ready to continue with his plans and enjoy the day that has just begun. The professor invites him to help her move, and he readily accepts, like a good student. Half an hour later, he gets another call from the trainer, who is already impatient with his delay. He explains that he's busy with meetings for the villa's design, but she doesn't seem to believe him much. The trainer offers to be a burden and invites him to join her, since he's so busy. He, realizing he won't get rid of her easily, agrees to take her, thinking her presence might even help with the discussions. The personal trainer celebrates her small victory, saying she'll wait for him at the gym so they can go together. While our hero waits outside, a random guy approaches and asks if he's waiting for a girl. The man starts bragging about his luxury car, saying it takes much more than that to win over a goddess. With an air of superiority, he advises him to keep trying, using his own car as an example of success. Right at that moment, the trainer arrives, stunning as always, and the man who is giving advice recognizes her instantly. Without missing a beat, the guy asks her out, but she completely ignores him, showing she only has eyes for our hero. The trainer shuts him down mercilessly, saying she already has plans with a friend, and that he's clearly in a different league. The man desperate offers to tag along, but our protagonist cuts him off, saying he doesn't dine with people who drive G-Wagons. What a burn. He opens the door for the trainer like a gentleman, and she gets in the car, leaving the other man behind with a dumb look on his face. The personal trainer even says goodbye with a victorious smile, and the other guy is left there, shocked and furious at the public humiliation. He wonders how the guy managed to win her over with an M9, while he with his G-Wagon failed miserably. In the car, the trainer explains that the man is a premium client at the dealership, but she never paid any attention to his advances. She pouts and our hero notices she's quieter than usual. He asks what she wants him to say, and the girl replies that he seems different than usual, more serious. Our guy, always a tease, says that men only get truly excited when they're exercising. She immediately calls him a pervert, but he defends himself, saying he was referring to playing basketball. She calls him a pervert again, and he insists he was talking about basketball. We'll just pretend to believe him, right? The trainer then reminds him of the incident at the cafe, and he realizes she's not going to forget that scene anytime soon. To change the subject, he asks why she has so much free time lately. The woman says she felt bad for making him wait earlier and offers to make it up to him somehow. He teases her, saying she can buy him a few meals to call it even. In the afternoon, they meet with the head designer to finally discuss the villa's renovation. The designer presents 3 different styles, all based on the budget and preferences he had mentioned. The trainer is impressed with the options and, curious, asks what his budget for the renovation is. He reveals, nonchalantly, that his budget is 20 million, leaving her completely shocked by the amount. The trainer is speechless, doing the math and realizing his net worth must easily exceed 100 million yuan. With this information, she sits even more provocatively, thinking she needs to step up her game to catch this big fish. 15 minutes later, he chooses the new Chinese style and asks the designer to make the necessary revisions to the project. The designer, wanting to please the VIP client, invites him to dinner with the company's general manager, but he hesitates, thinking it's a bit premature. She immediately realizes he's not just some ordinary rich kid, and that she needs to treat him with the utmost respect. The designer then calls the manager and informs him that our hero has accepted the dinner invitation. The manager is thrilled, seeing a golden opportunity to close the deal and not lose such a valuable client. To ensure the operation's success, he asks the company's star player, the best employee, to join them for dinner. Back in the car, the trainer complains about the heat, trying every trick in the book to get his attention. He says he's not feeling hot and asks what the plan is, trying to stay focused and not fall for her provocations. She then offers to be his shadow for a day, following him everywhere. He teases her back, saying his shadows usually follow him for a whole day and night. The trainer, unfazed, accepts the challenge, saying she doesn't mind at all staying with him all day. Just then, she gets a call from a friend asking where she is and, of course, with whom. Her friend invites her out, but the trainer proudly says she's in our hero's car. The friend is shocked to learn they're together, wondering when the heck that happened. The trainer explains she's just helping him with the renovation plans for his villa. Her friend's jaw drops when she learns he's going to spend over 30 million combining the house and the renovation. She feels completely left behind, thinking all her friends are succeeding in life. The woman laments her luck, hilariously wondering if it's because of the size of her chest. And to end the episode with a massive cliffhanger, at the restaurant, the trainer's ex-fling runs into none other than the manager of the design company. The universe just loves a good coincidence. The manager says he has an important dinner, but promises to come back and raise a glass with him later. The ex-fling, who wastes no time, immediately starts checking out the cute girl with the manager, feeling that instant pull. Just then, our hero arrives with the trainer, and the manager greets him with a warm, "Welcome, my esteemed client." Without beating around the bush, the manager greets him and asks him straight up if the beautiful trainer is his girlfriend. Our guy denies it, saying they're just good friends, which leaves the trainer feeling a little ticked off. The manager, ever the gentleman, greets her, and she forces a smile, still processing the "just friends" comment. The trainer is fuming that he denied their relationship, but like a true actress, she tries to play it cool and hide her frustration. The manager then introduces his design assistant, a pretty and shy young woman who looks like she walked straight out of a anime. He greets her, genuinely impressed by her beauty and innocence, so different from the other girls he knows. The manager, being an old pro at the business game, sees that the assistant made a great impression and knows the path to the client's wallet just got a whole lot smoother. The head designer, following the plan, asks the assistant to have a toast with our hero, and the girl immediately obeys. All shy and flustered, the young woman raises her glass to toast with the guy, who watches her with a curious gaze. The trainer, sensing a hint of jealousy in the air, invites him to have a drink with her, but he turns her down. Acting like the concerned boyfriend he denied being, he tells her she has to drive later and shouldn't drink. The trainer absolutely melts at his attentiveness, loving the feeling that they're a real couple. The design assistant, still shy, toasts with him again, nearly dropping her glass because she's so nervous. Being a gentleman, he suggests she drink tea instead, showing his consideration and making her feel a bit more at ease. The manager encourages her to mingle with him, saying that as young people, they must have a lot in common. And to make their friendship a little easier, he suggests she add our guy on WeChat. The trainer immediately sees through the manager's ploy. He's clearly using the assistant as bait to close the deal. The ex-fling, who's no fool, toasts with the manager and comments that his client must be a pretty big deal. His eyes, however, are glued to the design assistant, completely captivated by the girl's beauty and innocence. The manager then introduces his nephew, the ex-fling, to our hero, completely unaware of the drama between them. The nephew thinks that befriending a rich guy like him could be useful for showing off at parties. He approaches to greet him, but our hero recognizes him instantly and gives him the cold shoulder. With an air of superiority, our guy invites him for a toast, showing exactly who's in control of the situation. The nephew is furious that he has to toast with the man who, in his mind, stole his girl. The manager, sensing the heavy tension, asks if they know each other, and the guy's sort of response says it all. To add more fuel to the fire, the manager reveals that our hero bought a villa and is about to drop 20 million on renovations. The nephew is in total shock, wondering how the formerly broke guy got so filthy rich so quickly. He feels completely dwarfed, small and insignificant, in the face of his rival's overwhelming success. With no other choice, the nephew decides to swallow his pride and join his uncle in trying to suck up to the new tycoon in town. 3 hours of dinner and flattery later, the manager invites our hero to extend the night at a bar or karaoke lounge. The trainer hesitates, making up an excuse about having a habit of going to bed and waking up early, like a Disney princess. He notices her nervousness and, being thoughtful, advises her not to go, thinking about her health. But the trainer is actually worried about leaving him alone with the design assistant. In her mind, she's already picturing the manager getting our hero tipsy and pushing him into the assistant's arms. The trainer fantasizes about the two of them together and fears losing the golden opportunity she has with him. She imagines the guy, drunk and out of control, taking advantage of the poor, innocent assistant. The trainer despairs at her own fantasy, picturing the assistant screaming for him to stop. She gets even more desperate, thinking that this absolutely under no circumstances can happen. On impulse, the trainer stands up and says she has to go, determined to prevent the worst-case scenario. Cut to the karaoke bar, where the group is having a blast, singing and drinking late into the night. The design assistant, already a bit tipsy, gets ready to toast with our hero one more time. He, however, turns down the drink, saying he's had enough, and advises her not to push herself. The young woman thanks him, super relieved that he isn't pressuring her to drink more like other guys do. She feels powerless since she needs this internship and can't just quit and walk away. The trainer, who ended up staying, questions him, asking why he cares whether she goes or not. She realizes her seduction tactics don't work on him and that, in the end, she got played at her own game. The design assistant, trying to be helpful, offers to help him pick a song, and he accepts. The trainer, full of jealousy, teases him, saying he's staring at the other girl with lasers in his eyes. He replies with complete sincerity that his gaze towards her is purely one of desire, with no feelings involved. Our guy compliments her, saying that in the end, the result is always the same, no matter what caught his eye in the first place. And just to make it crystal clear, he whispers in her ear that the end result is always ending up in bed. The trainer gets flustered but admits that at least he's honest, unlike other men. She tries to pull away but he holds her, continuing his bold teasing. The karaoke manager announces that the assistant has chosen another song for our hero to sing, totally killing the mood. At the end of the night, the manager says his goodbyes, happy to have made a younger and very promising friend. Our hero compliments the design company, saying he'll seriously consider them for the renovation. The manager leaves with the head designer, and our protagonist is left wondering about the assistant. The head designer says goodbye, assuring him that she'll get the tipsy assistant home safely. He offers to call a car for the trainer, but she, with other plans in mind, refuses the offer. Our guy says he'll just get a hotel room then, and she questions him, surprised by how direct he is. He teases her, asking if by any chance she's going to let him crash at her place, leaving her flustered. The trainer realizes that if she doesn't act now, another woman will swoop in and win him over. She approaches him with a determined look, and the affinity meter, like something out of an anime, shoots up to 75, showing her interest is the real deal. He's surprised by the sudden jump in affinity, not understanding what he did to deserve so many points at once. Acting like nothing happened, our guy offers again to call a car for her, but the trainer refuses to leave. She gets annoyed by how slow he is, thinking, "What part I want to stay with you, does he not get?" Finally getting the hint, he invites her to switch hotels with him, and she accepts immediately, ready for the night ahead. On the way, the trainer gets nervous, hoping he'll be at least a little gentler than he was with her friend. From a distance, a man watches them, envying our hero's luxurious life, and especially the beautiful woman by his side. Arriving at the most exclusive hotel in the city, he simply asks for an executive suite for a whole month, as casually as if he were ordering a coffee. The trainer is shocked by the request, unable to believe he's just going to live in a luxury hotel for a month. He pays the bill without even blinking, thinking that with the system's triple cash back he won't lose a dime. The woman, being very observant, catches the hidden meaning in the room number and gets excited by his boldness. Once in the suite, she admires the city's night view, amazed by the luxury and beauty of the place. For a moment, the trainer feels a little guilty about her friend, but hopes this night will be a good start to her new life. He comes up behind her and whispers that in his eyes, she's the only one, and now they can finally start to play. The woman jumps when she realizes he didn't close the curtains, afraid someone might see them. He reassures her, saying they're on the 52nd floor and that no one, except maybe Superman, could possibly see them. Without any more hesitation, the two give in to their passion, with the stunning city view as their backdrop. The next morning, our hero wakes up feeling refreshed after an intense and very satisfying night. He watches her sleep, thinking about how sensitive she is and that deep down, he was concerned for her well-being. The trainer wakes up and, seeing him already up, questions him, saying he looks ready for another round. He jokingly says he held back for her sake, but she calls him a brute and asks to sleep a little longer. As a reward for the great night, our guy offers her a car worth up to 3 million yuan. Just like that. She's in a state of shock over the offer, unable to believe she can just pick any car she wants. The trainer hugs and kisses him, declaring her love and eternal gratitude for the unbelievable gift. He thinks to himself about how the coffee shop manager would feel if she knew he spent so much on her best friend. Without a second thought, she picks a Porsche worth over 2 million, and he agrees without the slightest hesitation. The trader then reveals very casually that the coffee shop manager prefers Maseratis, and he gets a thoughtful look on his face. She, noticing his expression, asks if he's thinking about buying a car for the manager too. He confirms, saying he's considering the idea, which makes the personal trainer a tiny bit jealous. The trader feels like the luckiest woman in the world, but is content with what she got, not wanting to push his generosity. Later, the trainer's friend asks her about the night before, and she makes up some random excuse to avoid telling the truth. The coffee shop manager, in turn, accuses her of being way too flirty and hitting on him right in front of everyone. The other friend just bemoans her own luck, thinking her two friends are doing way too well in life. Our hero then tells her to pick out the car and send him the account details so he can make the transfer. The trader agrees, her face flushed with happiness and her affinity rising to 86. Mission accomplished. Looking at the numbers, he realizes her affinity is getting dangerously close to 90, which means the final reward is near. Out of the blue, the coffee shop manager invites him over to try some new recipe she learned, using food as bait. He says he's busy, but, to make up for it, reveals that he plans to buy her a car, leaving her completely surprised. She, always the sensible one, refuses the gift, saying she already has a car and that he doesn't need to spend more money on her. But he insists with that charming way of his, saying he loves buying things for his woman and that, thankfully, money is no object. Our guy even adds that her car can't cost less than 2 million, shocking her with his level of extravagance. Changing the subject drastically, he decides to be honest and asks if she would mind if, by any chance, something happened between him and the trainer. The coffee shop manager, with her heart in her throat, admits that she would mind, but that she'd rather not know the truth if it's going to hurt her. He, a master at soothing hearts, reassures her, saying she's one of a kind and that no one in the world can replace her. The guy guarantees he only said that to her in a desperate attempt to put out the fire of jealousy he himself started. She says she believes him and that the only thing she wants is for him to visit her at the coffee shop every now and then. He feels like the luckiest guy in the world to have her, as she's the only one who always tries to save him money. The young man promises to make it up to her for everything, and she, playing along, teases him about his questionable character. The coffee shop manager laughs at his teasing and hangs up, saying she needs to get back to work. Hanging up the phone, he wonders what the secret is to guys who can handle multiple women without getting caught. Meanwhile, Professor Lee is carrying heavy boxes, breaking a sweat as she prepares for her move. And like a knight in shining armor, our hero arrives to help, and she greets him with a relieved smile. Without even asking, the guy grabs the boxes, telling her to leave the heavy lifting to him. What he didn't count on was one small detail: the box was full of her very personal items, leaving him completely embarrassed. The young man is shocked and mortified when he sees the super personal contents of the box he just picked up. And to make matters worse, the box tumbles open, and the professor's unmentionables spill all over the stairs, just like a scene from a rom-com. For a split second, he has a very vivid fantasy of her wearing that lingerie, striking poses that definitely wouldn't be approved by the school board. The professor, noticing his gaze, teases him, asking which color he prefers, making him blush even harder. She picks up her clothes, telling him to focus on moving the other things and to stop getting any funny ideas. The woman gathers her personal items, her face red with embarrassment from this super awkward situation. Right on cue, her sister arrives and announces that they'll need 2 trips to move all that stuff. The younger sister glares at him with her usual suspicious look, but our hero, used to it by now, isn't fazed. The professor asks him to drive to the new house, and he readily agrees, happy to help. On the way, she apologizes for her sister's attitude, but he says he doesn't mind and even finds her a bit warmer now. The professor then reveals the reason for all the coldness. Her sister once had a boyfriend, but was cheated on in the cruelest way possible. She explains that her sister caught him with another woman right at a hotel entrance just before they went inside. After that nasty betrayal, the sister simply gave up on men, becoming cold and distrustful of everyone. Our hero is shocked by the story, calling her ex-boyfriend a true piece of human garbage. Professor, seizing the opportunity, teases him, asking if he isn't a certified player himself. He immediately defends himself, saying he's the purest man in the world, and asks for her opinion on men. The guy, with no fear of danger, asks her directly what she thinks of him, leaving her completely flustered. The professor gets embarrassed and her heart starts racing, not knowing how to answer such a direct question. She asks what he said, and he, realizing he went too far, plays it off, saying he was just kidding. He reassures her, insisting it was just a joke to get her flustered. The woman thinks to herself that if he had been serious, she would have had no idea what to do. Once at the new house, the professor invites him for a meal as a thank you, but he declines. She then gets closer to him and, with a seductive look, asks how she can really thank him. And without waiting for an answer, he kisses her passionately, and she kisses him back, completely surrendering to the moment. The professor even tries to resist, but he holds her firmly, continuing the intense kiss. Suddenly, as if the universe loves to interrupt, her sister arrives and knocks on the door, oblivious to what's happening inside. The professor pulls away, completely startled, and he reassures her, saying he'll get the door. She says she can't even move, and he, being very helpful, offers to help her pull herself together. The sister comes in and asks why her face is so red, and the professor comes up with the lamest excuse in the world. She says she needs to rest a bit, and her sister watches her with a look that says, "I know what you did last summer." Changing the subject, the woman informs him about the student council assistant and the office the school gave him. He says his goodbyes, saying he'll go talk to the assistant and doesn't want to bother them anymore. The moment he leaves, the sister asks what she really thinks of him, super curious about her older sister's feelings. The professor tries to dodge the question, but her sister insists, saying his intentions are more obvious than the ending of a Disney movie. The sister accuses her of having spring fever and warns her about the lack of trust she has in him. The younger one asks if she's not opposed to any of this, and the professor is left speechless, completely embarrassed. The sister advises her to keep her eyes wide open and see if he's really worth it before giving herself to him. The professor just stands there, thinking about him, with her heart racing and her face flushed with embarrassment. An hour later in the school cafeteria, our hero watches her from afar, deep in thought. A girl calls out to him, and he turns around, surprised to see his new assistant there, waiting for him. He asks if she's been waiting long, and the girl, with a sweet smile, says she just got there. Our guy compliments her voice, saying it sounds different from the radio, and she explains the reason for the difference. Seizing the opportunity, he asks for her help with things beyond the committee's work, and she agrees right away. He gets closer to her, ready to continue their conversation and, who knows, deepen their relationship. Suddenly, a classmate shows up with some tea, acting as the official romance blocker. The girl asks who he is, and the guy introduces himself, shooting our hero a look of pure jealousy. He catches the classmate's venomous glare and is amused by the little rivalry that just sparked up. The young woman turns down the drink, saying she's avoiding sugar, but the guy, being persistent, won't take no for an answer. She gets annoyed by his insistence, but the dude doesn't give up, trying to win her over. Other students watch the scene, already whispering about the potential love triangle that just formed. And to complete the quartet, our hero's official girlfriend arrives and wonders why everyone is staring at them. Without a second thought, she runs towards him, determined to mark her territory and see how far the other girl would go. The girlfriend hugs him tightly, and the other girl backs away, a little embarrassed by the arrival of her rival. He explains that he was just discussing committee matters with his classmate, and she pretends to believe him. The girlfriend teases him, asking if he plans to fail all his classes with how dedicated he is to the committee. The other girl realizes she's the third wheel in the conversation and decides to leave, letting the couple be. He says goodbye to her, and his girlfriend watches her walk away with a smile of pure victory. The other students comment on the scene, comparing the situation to an episode of a soap opera. The girlfriend, still jealous, asks what they were talking about. He explains it was about the entrepreneurship center, and she realizes how possessive she's being. The girlfriend says her goodbyes, saying she has class and that they haven't seen each other in 2 days. Before leaving, she gets close to him and says that today she wants something iced, and leaves with a suggestive look. Watching her go, he thinks to himself that she's an insatiable cutie. The moment she leaves, he gets a call from the trainer, who informs him of the final price of the car she chose. Without beating around the bush, the trainer offers to come to the hotel, bringing 2 different outfits for him to choose from. He plays dumb, but she insists, saying he'll know what it's about when he gets there. Our guy is torn, wondering who he should spend the night with: the manager, his girlfriend, or the trainer. He feels overwhelmed with so many options and, when in doubt, decides the best thing would be to go with all 3 at once. Meanwhile, at Professor Lee's house, the sister asks if they're going to cook dinner at home. The professor agrees and, on an impulse, suggests inviting our hero for dinner as a way to thank him. She gets all flustered by her own suggestion, but her sister encourages her to invite him. The sister says it's just a way to thank him for his help with the move, no big deal. The professor thinks about his bad boy vibe and, for a moment, feels an urge to take a bite out of him. The sister teases her, saying she's just testing him to see what his true intentions are. The professor finally agrees to call him, and her sister watches her with a mischievous smile, like someone who knows everything. She sends him a text, inviting him to dinner as a thank you, adding another option to his evening menu. He feels completely overwhelmed with so many invitations and decides he needs to turn some down to keep his sanity. Arriving at the professor's house, she greets him and says that dinner will be a little while. He comes inside and feels right at home, looking at the decor and the super cozy atmosphere. The guy is impressed with how quickly the professor managed to make the place feel like a home. He asks about her sister, and the professor, with a smile, says she's taking a shower. The professor, nervous about their proximity, asks him not to get any closer, but our hero says he just wants to help. She tells him to go to the living room, but he, being stubborn, insists on staying in the kitchen to keep her company. He gets a little closer, and the professor, now in a panic, says they're already close enough. The guy, with a smirk, says there's still half a meter between them and questions her about her true intentions. Without waiting for an answer, he hugs her and she desperately says her sister is home, trying to stop him from making a move. He kisses her, saying her sister is going to take forever in the shower and that they have plenty of time. The professor tries to resist, but he continues, leaving her completely breathless with his boldness. And as if the universe has a timer for chaos, her sister gets out of the shower right at that moment, interrupting their intimate moment. He, keeping his cool, reassures her, telling her not to panic, and gently pushes her away. She warns him not to act like that again, and he comforts her, saying he knows exactly how she feels. During dinner, he compliments the food, and the sister, in full-on FBI interrogation mode, starts asking questions. The younger one asks how many girlfriends he's had, and our hero answers that he's only had 2. In his thoughts, he adds, 2 that were public, the others no one will ever find out about. The sister worries about his experience, afraid he might take advantage of the professor's innocence. Our guy thinks that if she knew about all the others, she would have a heart attack right there at the dinner table. The sister continues her interrogation, asking about his family and if he has any siblings. 10 minutes later, he realizes the sister is actually trying to get to know him better, not just judge him. He smiles, thinking his little sister-in-law is starting to like him, which is a great sign. And to test the limits, he touches her foot under the table, and the professor is shocked by his audacity. She gets annoyed with his move, thinking he completely underestimated her courage. The professor, worried about her sister, makes up an excuse to go wash some fruit in the kitchen. The sister notices that the older one is quieter than usual and questions her suspicious. He says his goodbyes, saying he has things to do and needs to prepare for the next battlefield. As soon as he leaves, the sister advises her to test him more to find out what his true intentions are. The professor admits that he's more mature than he seems, but also very, very bold for a taste. Meanwhile, at the manager's apartment, she questions him about his rush to leave the coffee shop early. He teases her, saying the night will be more than enough compensation for the lost time. She then puts on her work uniform, wondering why on earth men are so into this stuff. He, with a mischievous smile, says that one day she'll understand and gets closer to her. The guy kisses her passionately, and she kisses him back, completely surrendering to the moment. Her affinity rises to 90, and he realizes this kind of exercise is super effective for leveling up. The system rewards him for completing the mission, and our hero is eager to find out what the legendary prize will be. He gets an increase in length, a credit for car purchases, and a skill pack. It's the complete package. Without wasting any time, the guy activates the new skill, ready for a long and intense night with the manager. She's startled by the sudden change in him, not understanding what's going on. He teases her, saying this is the answer to her question about men's fetishes. The woman feels different, as if she's been emptied out from the inside, and questions him about it. He asks how he's different, and she replies that he's different in a very, very good way. The guy promises more surprises in the future, and she moans with pleasure, eager for what's yet to come. He thinks that her current state is the greatest compliment a man can receive from a woman. Curious, he explores the skill pack, confused to see options for cooking and hairdressing. Without a second thought, our hero chooses the combat skill, thinking it might come in handy in an emergency. He then imagines using the appliance repair skill to get closer to the professor. In his fantasy, the professor thanks him for the repair, and he feels satisfied with his choice. She offers to wipe the sweat from his brow, and he surrenders to that moment of pure intimacy. He realizes that, in the end, the appliance repair skill is the best strategic choice. The guy is left wondering who will be the next to reach level 90 favorability. Suddenly, the coffee shop manager gets a call from her mom, who sounds worried about the family situation. She reassures her, telling her to let her know if anything happens, but hangs up the phone with a worried expression. He comforts her, and she reveals that her father had a stroke because of his drinking. The woman blames herself, thinking that if she had gone on the arranged blind date, her father wouldn't have drunk so much. He consoles her, saying he'll go with her when it's time to visit her father in the hospital. She feels conflicted, as their relationship isn't official, and it would be strange to bring him to meet her family. The guy, always helpful, offers to help with the medical expenses, and she thanks him, touched. The next morning, he finds a note from her, saying she had to rush to her hometown. He gets a message from his assistant and wonders what she wants so early. The young woman sends photos of tables and chairs for the office, and he, trusting her good taste, lets her decide. He's impressed by her proactive attitude, thinking he hired a great employee. The assistant is interrupted by that persistent classmate who wants to help her clean up no matter what. She scolds him, saying she doesn't need help and that he's not even on the student council. The classmate whines, complaining that he can't compete with a richer, better-looking guy. The assistant realizes that, with so much money, our hero must be worth hundreds of millions. She decides she needs to show her full potential to be able to stand by his side. Meanwhile, in the manager's hometown, she discovers her father isn't in the hospital and that she's been tricked. Her mother explains that she lied to get her to come for a blind date she had arranged. A nosy aunt introduces her to a man, saying he's a great catch for her. The aunt praises the guy, saying he has his own company and has already bought a car and a house. The man brags about his car, a 5 Series, trying to impress her with his financial status. The coffee shop manager even compliments the car, but her expression clearly says, "Nice, but I've seen better." The suitor gives her a gold ring as a welcome gift, and the aunt praises his generosity. The aunt and her mother start celebrating, thinking he'll be a perfect and wealthy son-in-law. The coffee shop manager, fed up with the whole charade, pulls her mother aside for a private chat, visibly irritated. Her mother scolds her, saying she's not being a good hostess to the guest of honor. The woman gets tired of the comparisons and says she doesn't want to talk to her mother about it anymore. With no other option, she sends a message to our hero, explaining the trap she's in and asking for help. The manager is surprised to learn he's on his way to her house, wondering what he plans to do. She tells her mother a friend is coming, and her mother, suspicious, asks if it's a man or a woman. Her father, oblivious to everything, toasts with the suitor, praising him and saying they make a perfect couple. 15 minutes later, our hero arrives with a mountain of gifts, surprising everyone with his grand entrance. And to leave no doubt, he introduces himself as her boyfriend, leaving the entire family in shock. The suitor and the aunt are frozen, not knowing how to react to the unexpected arrival of the rival. Her mother asks why she never told her about her boyfriend, completely surprised by the news. Our guy, to mark his territory, shows them a jewelry box, saying he brought a few little gifts for her parents. He even adds that they'll be family in the future, impressing her parents even more. The girl's parents are speechless, wondering how much all those luxury gifts cost. And he answers as if it were nothing. "Oh, it was just around 300,000, shocking everyone in the room. The family is stunned by the amount, thinking that a normal person would never say something like that so casually. The suitor, feeling deceived, asks the aunt why she didn't tell him the girl already had a boyfriend. The man feels completely humiliated, thinking his gifts now look like a bad joke. In a desperate attempt, he suggests the boyfriend might be fake and offers to run a check on his background. The aunt, on the other hand, can only stare at the jewelry box, impressed by the wealth of her potential new son-in-law. Curious, she asks his age, and our hero replies that he's 21, leaving her even more shocked. The aunt doubts the story, thinking a 27-year-old woman would never date a kid. Her parents exchange suspicious glances but prefer to say nothing and just watch the scene unfold. He very calmly explains that he has a few side hustles in finance and other industries. The aunt, wanting to expose him, challenges him, asking if he even has a house to marry her niece in. The suitor thinks that now he's gone too far and will finally be exposed as a huge liar. The aunt accuses him of faking it, saying that honesty is the key to any relationship. Her parents get worried, thinking the guy is just showing off to impress them. And just when it looks like he's cornered, the coffee shop manager steps in, showing everyone the deed to the house he bought for her. Checkmate. The aunt, as suspicious as a soap opera villain, doubts the authenticity of the deed, thinking he whipped up a fake document just to show off. Without even flinching, our hero simply transfers 1 million on her account to decorate the house, leaving her speechless. The coffee shop manager is shocked by the transfer, saying the decorations won't cost anywhere near that much. The whole family is slack-jawed, counting the zeros on the phone screen and confirming the absurd amount of 1 million. The aunt grabs the phone to get a closer look and sees with her own eyes that the transfer is 100% legit. And for the final humiliation, he says that's just some pocket change and she can use the rest however she wants. The suitor, feeling like the smallest man on earth, admits defeat, utterly humiliated and lamenting his lost chance. But, being smart, he decides to stay in touch, thinking that having a rich friend could be useful in the future. Our hero also reveals that her house costs 3 million and his villa, a measly 10 million. The aunt finally realizes that he knows how to please people and that, in the end, he's a great match for her niece. Completely embarrassed, she apologizes for her earlier rudeness and starts treating him with the utmost respect. He, being magnanimous, reassures her, saying they're all family now, and she doesn't need to worry about it. Her parents praise him for his thoughtfulness, completely overjoyed with their new millionaire son-in-law. Just then, the manager's younger sister arrives, and her mother greets her with a grin from ear to ear. The coffee shop manager introduces our hero as her brother-in-law, and the sister greets him shyly. He observes her, thinking she's just as beautiful as her sister, just with a more youthful vibe. During dinner, he toasts her parents and invites them to see the house, and of course, the new car. The aunt is shocked, realizing he's not just buying gifts for his girlfriend, but for her parents too. The girl's parents are speechless, completely surprised by the generosity of their new son-in-law. He adds that the house might seem empty since they don't visit very often. The coffee shop manager, moved, promises to visit her parents more often, making them super happy. That night, she thanks him for everything, and he replies that it's the least he can do for his woman. She thanks him again, and he comforts her, saying she's his woman and he'll always take care of her. With a cheeky little smile, the guy asks if her parents will let them sleep in the same room, and she immediately says no. She explains that he'll sleep in the guest room, but that she'll join him later when everyone is asleep. At 11 p.m., she sneaks into his room asking if he's asleep yet. He says he couldn't possibly sleep without talking to her first, with that smile of someone who knows what's about to happen. Our guy compliments her, saying she understands him perfectly and pulls her into bed. Meanwhile, her sister wakes up and, curious, goes to the guy's room to see what's going on. She hears the sounds coming from the room and is shocked by the scene her imagination starts to create. The sister presses her ear against the door, listening to the sounds and getting completely embarrassed. Her face turns red, surprised by the intensity of what she's hearing on the other side of the door. The young woman thinks that her brother-in-law is really strong, impressed by the performance she's hearing. She swallows hard, feeling a mix of curiosity and a shame she's never felt before. The sister decides she's heard enough and goes back to her room, shocked by the scene. An hour and a half later, the coffee shop manager returns to her sister's room as if nothing happened. She asks why her sister is still awake, and the young woman, feeling needy, hugs her. The sister asks to sleep cuddling with her, and the coffee shop manager, of course, agrees. She hugs her, telling her to sleep well, and the two snuggle up in bed. The coffee shop manager thinks about how much her sister has really grown up, feeling super protective. Back at the office, the assistant asks if he needs any adjustments to the setup. He compliments her on her efficiency and beauty, thinking she would make a great personal secretary. The young woman then presents the first batch of applications for the startup incubator. He takes the forms to review, ready to start evaluating his classmates' projects. Our guy gets annoyed with the heavily edited photos, thinking the applicants are going way overboard with the Facetune. He decides to skip the photos and go straight to the business plans, more interested in the ideas than the looks. Suddenly, the young man comes across a proposal to open a sexy lingerie shop on campus, a bold idea. He discards the low-quality proposals, thinking he can't just mess around with the system's money. For a moment, our guy dreams of a life of luxury, working hard to please all the women in his life. He decides he needs real business experience and that the incubator is a great place to start. The young man already plans to turn his small company into a major corporation in the future. He dreams of becoming a legend and contributing to society, not just being some rich playboy. With that, our hero rejects all the proposals, saying they're unrealistic and need a new plan. The assistant very intelligently suggests that the problem might be the sample size, which is still too small. He then asks to ramp up the promotion for the project to attract more qualified candidates. She agrees to spread the word on the school radio and social media to reach more students. The young man also suggests a second-round exam with questions on management and international trade. The assistant agrees to take care of everything, and he thanks her for her excellent work. He realizes that having practical talents like her is the key to his future success. Our guy concludes that he needs not only favorability, but also capable and loyal subordinates. At the gym, the manager scolds the trainer for being late and missing work. She explains that she had an emergency and that she already notified the client and refunded her. The manager accuses her of missing work without his approval, completely ignoring her message. The trainer confronts him, telling him to read the message where she asked to take lunch and notified him of the emergency. He accuses her of absenteeism, and she gets fed up with his abusive and manipulative attitude. Having had enough, the trainer quits, tired of being pressured and undervalued by her boss. A concerned colleague asks if she really quit, thinking about her future. Another colleague, more envious, spots her luxury car and wonders how she got it. The manager is shocked when he sees the car and realizes too late that she found a sugar daddy. Without wasting any time, she sends a message to our hero, saying she lost her job and needs some comforting. He invites her to be his exclusive personal trainer, and she accepts immediately, super excited. The guy rewards her with mini goals to enjoy, and the girl absolutely melts. The trainer says goodbye, telling him she'll be waiting for him in the executive suite with a super seductive smile. He arrives at the hotel, but she playfully stops him from entering, saying he's late. Our guy, playing along, decides to leave, and she stops him right away, saying it was just a joke. The trainer pulls him inside, begging him not to leave and explaining she was just trying to set the mood. He challenges her to beg a little, to see if her attitude is sincere or not. She asks where her attitude wasn't sincere, and he's amused by the situation. The guy says he felt a little bit of sincerity and forgives her, with a smile on his face. He turns to enter the room, and she follows him, ready for the night ahead. He gives in, saying he won't leave because of her, and kisses her passionately. The trainer, getting into character, calls him Daddy and asks if he's going to punish her for being naughty. He asks her to repeat it, and the trainer, without hesitation, whispers in his ear, saying "Daddy" right next to his ear, and our hero, completely surrendering to desire. The two give in to their passion for a full hour. The trainer feels completely satisfied and experienced a passion she had never felt before. In her thoughts, she admits that even without the money, he was already attractive enough to win her over. He invites her for another round, saying he's ready to go all night if needed. The woman is shocked by his energy, wondering how he can be ready for another round so quickly. After another hour of intense workouts, she complains about his lack of gentleness, completely exhausted. He teases her, saying he only used 50% of the force he usually uses with the other one. The trainer accuses him of lying, saying the difference between last time and now is massive. Suddenly, he realizes he's actually lost weight and energy and gets worried about his health. The guy checks his stats in the system and sees he's lost 2 kilograms and 3 health points. The grind is taking its toll. He invites her to work out the next morning, and she mischievously gets the hint. The young man clarifies that he's talking about a real workout at the gym and that he feels too skinny. She teases him, saying he finally realized he's a skinny mini. The trainer apologizes for the joke, and he challenges her to help him create a serious workout plan. Like a true professional, she agrees to help him, saying she'll create a complete diet and exercise plan. The trainer says her goodbyes, telling him she'll use the hotel gym and buy him some workout clothes. Right on cue, the system, which is like a digital personal trainer, activates a fitness dashboard and a mission for him to become the campus heartthrob in 1 month. Surprised, our guy wonders where this new menu came from, as if he unlocked a secret DLC in the game of life. His stats are displayed on the screen, and he, as focused as a gamer going for 100% completion, decides to focus on his weight and body fat to complete the task. He then discovers that the system has other sections, like administration and investment management, basically a crash course on how to become the next Elon Musk. The young man smiles with the confidence of someone who just found a walkthrough guide, knowing he can master skills in a month that would take others years. The next day, the trainer arrives with a fitness meal she prepared herself early in the morning in full Heim wife style. The food looks delicious and super balanced, with vegetables, eggs, and other healthy things that would make any nutritionist tear up with joy. With a slight blush, he compliments the meal and thanks the trainer for the kind and very thoughtful gesture. She warns him not to torment her like he did last night, but he teases her back with a smile that says, "Challenge accepted." The woman then tells him to hurry up and eat, because they need to hit the gym for their workout. Focus on the mission. After the meal, the couple arrives at the hotel gym, ready to start their training and become the terror of the machines. One guy at the gym is so mesmerized by her beauty that, in a moment of pure distraction, he ends up dropping the weights on the floor. Classic. Another man gets distracted by the girl's curves and, like in a cartoon, ends up falling off the treadmill in a totally clumsy way. The trainer starts helping him with one of the weight machines, explaining the exercise with all the patience in the world. A gym, Gore gets so worked up by the scene that he has to look away to avoid getting in trouble with his girlfriend, who's right next to him. A muscular guy, your typical gym bro, thinks enviously that a skinny dude like our hero doesn't deserve a woman like that. The girl continues to instruct him on the correct form for the exercise to avoid injuries and maximize gains. Professionalism is everything. And as if the universe loves drama, his ex's new boyfriend recognizes him and is shocked to see him there with an even more beautiful woman. She notices the guy's fatigue but encourages him, saying it's not bad at all for his first day of training. He teases her with a pickup line, and the woman calls him obnoxious, with an embarrassed smile showing she liked it. The man is furious because he can't even talk to his ex, while the MC is openly having fun with another girl. With an evil grin like a B-movie villain, he decides to expose the supposed cheating to see how the new girl will react. Full of himself, the guy approaches the couple with a smile faker than a $3 bill, getting ready to stir up trouble. Our protagonist recognizes him and asks what he wants, while the other guy says he just came to say, with a straight face. Having zero patience for side characters, the trainer gets annoyed by the interruption and tells him to leave so he doesn't bother them. Completely ignoring the warning, he provokes him, asking where the girl he took to the mall the other day is. With a malicious look, he waits for the woman to get furious and start an epic fight with our hero. 20 seconds later, the couple continues their workout, not giving a single care about the man's provocation. Indifference is the best weapon. Shocked by their lack of reaction, he insists and asks if she didn't hear what he said about the other girl. Our hero then scolds him, saying that's enough, as they barely know each other and he's already getting way too familiar. The guy ignores the warning and continues his provocation, telling the girl not to be fooled by him. To everyone's surprise, the woman says she doesn't care and would be happy even with 3 at the same time. Plot twist. With a smile, she says that his happiness is what matters, and if he's happy, she's happy too. The trainer finishes by saying that our hero bought her a car worth over 2 million yuan. The famous irrefutable argument. The man is shocked and wonders what kind of bizarre relationship they have for her to accept cheating so calmly. The woman then wipes the guy's face and tells the man to leave, as he's distracting them from what really matters. Defeated and completely humiliated, the man leaves, grumbling about how ridiculous people are these days. The young man explains that she's his trainer and assistant, and that she wouldn't care about these things. Or would she? 2 hours later, she praises his performance but warns him that the training intensity will increase tomorrow. He teases her back, and the woman gets embarrassed, saying they need to add more weight for the workout to be effective. Back at the hotel, the couple decides to take a relaxing shower after the intense workout at the gym. In the shower, he says there's another place he needs to get to know better and approaches her in a very suggestive way. She calls him naughty, as she gives in to the moment of passion under the hot shower water. After the shower, she asks if he's going back to campus or if he's going to sleep there with her. The woman says she feels uncomfortable alone and he asks her to call him Daddy again. With a seductive look, her affinity rises to 88 and she calls him Daddy, again, fulfilling his request. The guy realizes that level 90 is close and gets super curious about what the system's legendary reward will be. Back on campus, he finds his assistant being followed by the annoying guy from before, who's sticking to her like glue. The girl apologizes, saying the persistent guy won't leave her alone, and he tries to justify himself. Our hero dismisses him coldly and directly, saying his help isn't needed there. The classmate gets angry and his ego is bruised for being dismissed in such a humiliating way. Outside, he wonders what the two of them are doing alone with the blinds closed. His imagination runs wild. He pictures the scene and despairs, thinking it can't be what he's imagining. Inside, he asks about the campaign's progress, and she updates him on the project's promotion. The young man says he plans to create a new wave of publicity to further boost the incubator's popularity. The assistant then asks how he'll do that, and if he needs her help with anything. He explains the plan to create mysterious posts about a millionaire student investing in the startup hub. She understands the strategy and thinks that even if she doesn't get the reason, she just needs to follow the boss's orders. The guy says that this way, the popularity will skyrocket, and he'll be able to select the best proposals to invest in. He asks if it will be difficult to execute the plan without leaking anything, and she assures him it can be done discreetly. He agrees with the plan and decides it's time to talk about her personal matters. The guy then asks her directly what she wants from him, leaving the girl completely surprised by the question. The assistant thinks about how direct he is and realizes he doesn't seem to have any romantic interest in her. The young woman explains that it's hard to get a good job and she was hoping for a better salary by working with him. Our protagonist finds her very reserved and asks how much more money she'd like to receive. She suggests 8,000 yuan, explaining that it's already much more than a recent graduate usually makes. He offers 10,000 a month with bonuses and says that from now on, she'll work for him. The girl is shocked by the salary and wonders if the phrase "work for me" has some other hidden meaning. Outside, the annoying guy knocks on the door, impatient with how long the two have been in there, acting like the life police. Annoyed with the persistent guy, our hero calls him a disgrace to the male gender, and she, poor thing, apologizes for the situation. The guy stops her, telling her to take one for the team, to solve the problem once and for all. He then pulls her into a hug and kisses her on the neck in a tender and very provocative way. The young man leaves a little mark on her neck just to make the act even more convincing and shut the gossiper up. They open the door and our guy suggests putting up a "no annoying and nosy people allowed" sign at the entrance. The guy is shocked by the scene and stammers, not understanding what the heck is going on. The assistant then tells him not to look for her anymore because she has a boyfriend now. Checkmate! Desperate, the classmate points at our hero and asks when they started dating. She says just now and tells him to keep his distance, leaving the guy on the floor in a fetal position of despair. Completely defeated and heartbroken, the man leaves without another word, with only the sound of his ego shattering. Our protagonist thinks with a smile that the power of money is truly unbeatable, almost like a real-life cheat code. The girl, all embarrassed, asks if the act was enough to convince the annoying guy. He lets her go and says the guy won't bother her anymore, and then gets ready to leave. Watching him walk away, the young woman calls his name, while he keeps walking without looking back in full movie bad boy style. Back at the hotel, the guy thinks the assistant is super capable, but he still lacks the necessary skills to manage a real company. The young man understands he needs real skills and decides to activate the system's knowledge modules. Time to level up his intelligence. The system then activates a 1-month mission for him to master management concepts. It's the training arc every protagonist needs. Suddenly, he remembers that his advisor has a double major, and one of them is in business management. What a stroke of luck! He gets a text from his girlfriend inviting him for a drink, and he already knows exactly what she wants. The guy turns her down, saying he has something to do, and the girl is disappointed she has to wait a little longer. An hour later, his girlfriend shows up at the hotel door dressed as a schoolgirl and asks if she looks pretty. With a smile, he compliments her, saying that Miss Hu always looks beautiful, no matter what she wears. The young man kisses her and says that to date him, you have to get in line, and the two embrace passionately. Her affinity rises to 93, and the girl falls asleep in bed after the intense night. He realizes that the higher the affinity, the harder it is to level up, but the rewards are definitely better. The guy kisses her and remembers they can go look at her new house over the weekend. Overjoyed with the news, the girl hugs him tightly and says she loves him so much for everything he does for her. Back at the dorm, her friends ask if she's seen the materials about the new startup incubator. One of the friends doubts that a student invested 10 million because in her mind, rich people only spend money on parties and showing off. The friend wants to tell the truth, but our hero's girlfriend stops her and tells her to hold it in, keeping the secret. The friend doesn't understand the reason for all the mystery and asks her to ask him if, by any chance, he needs another assistant. His girlfriend shuts her down immediately, saying he would never hire her and she shouldn't even dream about it. The friend, who never misses a chance, teases her about the previous night, making the girl turn as red as a tomato. With no filter, the friend keeps teasing and asks if the night was, let's say, productive, while the other calls her a pain. Meanwhile, in another corner of the campus, the gossip about the mysterious student who blew 10 million yuan has become the main topic of conversation. One of them, already doing the math in her head, comments that to spend 10 million like that, the guy must have at least 100, and for that kind of money, she'd throw herself in him faster than the Flash. Her friend, always the realist of the group, throws cold water on her parade, doubting that a tycoon like that would be interested in her and that truly rich people don't go around showing off. The other then retorts, using our hero as a negative example, the one who's always buying expensive gifts for older women. With that, the gossip about the mysterious investor spreads across campus like a viral meme. Everyone wants to know who he is. Following his master plan, the guy calls his advisor and, bold as brass, asks for some private tutoring in management. The woman gets suspicious, but he swears up and down that he just wants to learn, and she somewhat reluctantly agrees. Without wasting any time, the young man tells her he's on his way to her place, and the professor starts praying, imagining the boy's intentions. When he gets there, the advisor stops him at the door and makes him promise not to try any funny business like last time. Serious mode activated. With an Oscar-worthy expression, he guarantees with 100% certainty that he will be an exemplary student. Trust him. The woman, still suspicious, lets him in and immediately hands him a book full of sticky notes marking the most important points. She advises him to connect the theory with practical examples, and he, all studious, agrees to start his study marathon. An hour later, the scene is one of total silence in the room, with the pair sitting there, each in their own corner. Suddenly, she breaks the silence and scolds him for stopping his studies to stare at her like she's the last cookie in the jar. With a smirk, he replies that she's much more interesting than any management book. That's a high-level pick-up line. All flustered, the professor reminds him of his promise to behave and focus only on his studies. Our hero gets closer and drops the bombshell. He says he also wants her to be his girlfriend, and that one thing doesn't get in the way of the other. With her face on fire, the professor tells him to stop talking nonsense and tries to escape the couch, but it's too late. He holds her in a hug from behind and insists that he's serious, while she starts panicking, thinking about her sister. The guy argues that it would actually be better for her sister to know they're together, but the girl denies it, saying she never agreed to that. Our young man then kisses her, asserting that sooner or later, she'll end up giving in. It's the persistence tactic. The woman complains that he swore to behave and calls men a complicated species, even while kissing him back in full Sunder style. He tries to take things a step further, but the professor stops him immediately, saying it's a no, go there in the living room. And as if the universe has a comedic timing, her younger sister comes out of her room, yawning and completely oblivious to what's happening in the living room. The young woman's jaw drops, frozen as she sees the scene unfolding right in front of her. Seeing the couple cuddled up on the couch, she wonders since when her straight-laced sister became so bold. Our guy, noticing the audience, gives her a little tap to let her know the younger sister has joined the party. The professor goes into full panic mode, covers her face, and says her sister saw everything. How embarrassing! He, calm as can be, tries to reassure her, saying her sister was bound to find out sooner or later anyway. The woman retorts that the problem is now she'll have to explain herself. After all, she's not even his girlfriend yet, at least not officially. Without beating around the bush, our protagonist puts her on the spot, asking if she truly likes him or not. She finally admits that she likes him a little, but worries about the teacher-student situation. With that, the affinity goes up a bit more. Our MC realizes that the infinite money cheat doesn't work on her, and that he'll need time and effort to beat this game. The professor continues to stare at him in silence, her mind blue screening as she processes everything. He then decides that the mission for today is complete, says goodbye, and leaves, leaving her thoughtful on the couch. As soon as he leaves, the professor says her sister can stop hiding behind the bedroom door. The sister appears, asking if the show is over, while the older one picks up the textbook that went flying during the commotion. Curious, the sister immediately asks if she can call him brother-in-law, but she shuts that down instantly. The young woman, not understanding a thing, insists on knowing why they were making out like that, if it's not official. Blushing furiously, the professor admits her head is a mess, and that she's more confused than an anime character in a filler episode. The younger sister, acting as the family therapist, concludes that she's falling in love and hasn't even realized it yet. Later that night, our guy goes to his manager's coffee shop to meet another woman. This woman is the former owner of the coffee shop, who apologizes for the trouble but really needed to talk to him. He's super chill, says it's no problem, and asks if everything's okay, since she doesn't seem very happy. The woman vents, explaining that her husband has been going out every night and coming back smelling like other women. She justifies herself, saying if he can go out, she also has the right to have a drink with someone else to clear her head. The former owner then asks if the coffee shop manager is his girlfriend, and our hero gives a very vague, sort of. To reassure her, he adds that even if the manager knew, she wouldn't care one bit. Relieved, the woman says she didn't want to cause any trouble and that she doesn't feel so guilty anymore. With a very suggestive look, she asks him for a hug, just one, to make her feel a little better. With that smile of someone who knows what they're doing, our young man stands up and invites her to come closer. The woman doesn't think twice, gets up and walks towards him, ready to receive her comfort. Without any ceremony, she sits on his lap and hugs him, while he asks if her husband knows she's there. She tells him not to ruin the moment by talking about her husband and suddenly kisses him, catching him by surprise. He even feels a little guilty for doing that in his manager's coffee shop, but continues the kiss anyway. The guy pulls away for a second, but the woman tells him to forget his manners and just help her relax. She kisses him again and offers to help him relax too. And the night, my friends, is about to heat up. The former coffee shop owner feels like she's on cloud nine after that night of, let's say, intense exercise with our protagonist. Half an hour later, she's sprawled on the lounge chair, breathless and with a grin from ear to ear. The girl asks for a little help cleaning up, and the guy watches her with that mission accomplished look on his face. Just then, the system dings, congratulating him for having 5 women with affinity above 60 and unlocking a reward. With the new study card he got, he can basically download the management textbook into his brain in just a few hours. On top of that, he gets 2 tickets for the perfect life lottery. A wheel can grant anything from items and money to entire companies. With his eyes gleaming with greed, he gets super excited about the chance to win something absurd in this lottery. The woman says she's never been happier in her life, and he watches her with a fond look, like someone admiring their masterpiece. Blushing, she says her goodbyes, telling him she has to go but leaves an open invitation to do it again soon. Our hero is a bit thrown off by the suggestion, wondering if she plans to turn these casual encounters into a routine. Back in his dorm, he sees screenshots of online comments where people are doubting the rumors about the mysterious investor. His assistant suggests leaking a few more clues to add fuel to the discussion and increase the project's visibility. The guy decides to set marketing aside for a moment to check out the surprises the system gave him. Without hesitation, he uses one of his lottery tickets and, with the luck of the draw, wins an entire store in one of the city's fanciest malls. Thrilled with the prize, he decides to use the second ticket right away, thinking, beginner's luck never fails. This time, he gets 2 attribute adjustment points and realizes he can use them to boost his fitness mission. The guy then decides to allocate the points to increase his weight, gaining muscle mass and speeding up his transformation. The system, like a magical personal trainer, begins to gradually apply the changes to his body. Looking in the mirror, he already notices the changes, with his body looking more defined and stronger. It's the instant summer body project. Our young man celebrates gaining 5 kilograms of pure muscle and concludes that these attribute points are the best thing ever. Our guy starts to figure out that the system has 2 operational modes for rewards and that he needs to expand his network. With several women already falling for him, the young man understands he needs to grow his social circle. It's almost a harem simulator. With this in mind, he decides to use the study card to get closer to his advisor, giving him more to talk about with her. In the following days, his routine becomes a mix of heavy gym workouts and intense management studies. Almost a Rocky Balboa of the business world. To treat himself for his hard work, the protagonist buys a Maserati for the coffee shop manager and a G63 for himself. Basic stuff. During a job fair, students gossip about the mysterious investor who, rumor has it, drives a G-Wagon. A group of students talks about a senior who already has his own company and is at the fair, looking all smug. The senior brags, dropping a soundbite about how a good manager needs to always be learning and evolving. A freshman girl, impressed, asks if she can apply for an internship at his company if she doesn't find anything better. He, all charming, agrees and tells her to send her resume, promising he'll personally give her a hand. The 2 girls' eyes sparkle with happiness, as if they found a recruiter angel. The senior, feeling like the king of the world, offers to help other freshmen with internships too. Other students nearby grumble under their breath, saying he's only there to show off and hit on the freshman girls. One of the girls our hero rejected compares him to the senior, saying he's the capable and humble one. The other immediately agrees, saying she lost all respect for our MC after he turned them down. The senior then seizes the opportunity and invites the freshman girl to dinner after the fair, and she accepts instantly. Suddenly, a luxury car approaches the area, ignoring the rules and catching everyone's attention. The girl wonders what all the commotion is about, since cars are forbidden from driving freely on campus. Everyone is gobsmacked when they recognize a Machino G-Wagon, a car that costs as much as an apartment. The freshman girl then connects the dots and remembers the rumors about the millionaire student who invested $10 million and drives a G-Wagon. The legend is real. The freshman, her eyes glued to the car, immediately tells the senior to get lost, saying the rich guy is way more interesting and should cancel their dinner in a heartbeat. At that exact moment, the car window rolls down in slow motion, and who's behind the wheel? None other than our hero, offering his friends a ride like it's the most normal thing in the world. The 2 girls who snubbed him are left with their jaws on the floor, cartoon style, as they realize the poor guy is actually the mysterious millionaire. His friend, who is already in on the plan, celebrates the boss's grand entrance, who basically just parked his wealth in the middle of the fair. The senior, who thought he was all that, is left looking completely dumbfounded, not understanding where that G-Wagon came from to steal his spotlight. The girl simply can't believe it and thinks he must just be the driver, because reality is too painful to accept. His friends approach, and the senior, all annoyed, complains about the way the girl was checking him out. Our protagonist's friend, in true gentlemanly fashion, opens the car door for the girl to get in, leaving her all flustered with the VIP treatment. The two gold diggers who look down on him now stare at him with a mix of admiration and deep regret. The classic look of someone who lost a winning lottery ticket. One of them already starts scheming, wondering if he would forgive them if they apologized for all the horrible things they said. And just like that, the news that our hero was the G-Wagon guy spread across campus faster than gossip in a group chat. In the girls' dorm, one girl declares that her sole purpose in life is now to win over our protagonist. Her 224 goal has been updated. Another immediately agrees, saying she'd dump her boyfriend faster than Sonic if she had even a tiny chance with him. A young woman named Jingin, quite the looker herself, seeks out our hero's assistant to ask for a little favor. The assistant recognizes her and, already suspicious, asks what she wants at the office. The girl, without beating around the bush, asks to be introduced to him, and the assistant questions where all this sudden interest came from. Jingin makes up a lame excuse about the job market being tough and the need for networking. A classic. The assistant almost falls for it, but her spidey senses tingle, telling her the girl has other far less professional intentions. She then thinks about how pretty the young woman is and that, in fact, she would be a good addition to the boss's harem. The assistant shakes her head, scolding herself for thinking like she's choosing concubines for an ancient emperor. With his newfound fame, our hero starts receiving a flood of messages from interested girls. His phone won't stop buzzing. His roommate notices the phone having a seizure and asks if he's going to check it. Our guy says no, and that he's actually a bit disgusted by the number of opportunistic people showing up out of nowhere. He explains that if it were just girls, it would be one thing, but there are a lot of weird guys adding him too, which really complicates things. His friend complains that the girls who can't get his contact info are shooting their shot everywhere and are even messaging him. With zero patience, our protagonist tells his friend to just ignore everyone. The roommate laments that they've been in a dry spell for 3 years, while the guy is living the life of a Hollywood celebrity. The system explains that for every 500 reputation points, he gets a lottery ticket with rewards. Basically, fame earns him loot. Focusing on what matters, he decides he needs to check with his assistant on the progress of the startup incubator project. The young man sends her a message, asking to meet him at the office for a meeting. At the same moment, his girlfriend calls and asks if he can spend some time with her, since he's on campus. He asks her to come to the office, because now that he's a celebrity, he needs to keep the rumors under control. Our guy then tells his roommate he's heading out, and that he doesn't need to wait for him for their nightly gaming session. The friend is left there, totally bummed out, lamenting that summer is over and he's still lonelier than the last cookie in the jar. Arriving at the office, his girlfriend grabs him tightly, saying she missed him like crazy. She complains that he's become the talk of the town, and that every girl on campus now knows who he is. The young woman adds that even his private information, like his shoe size and blood type, has been leaked online. His girlfriend then advises him to protect himself, because these days guys need to be careful too. He doesn't understand her logic and closing the window and questions her, completely confused by the situation. With a look worthy of a succubus, she says they can do some stuff right there and asks if he's up for it. He tries to use the meeting as an excuse, but his girlfriend tells him to get up and says she couldn't care less about his work. Not knowing how to react, our guy stands frozen as she approaches with a look that would melt Superman. The young woman asks if he likes this approach, and with a sly smile he admits that he does. From that point on, their business meeting got very hands-on. Outside, the assistant hears some strange noises and realizes something is going on in there. Blushing, she understands that those sounds are definitely not from an Excel spreadsheet being discussed. The poor girl thinks her boss is really powerful, but definitely has a screw loose and decides to act as a private security guard at the door so no one interrupts the meeting. After standing there like a statue for a long time, her legs start to go numb from waiting outside for so long. Suddenly, his girlfriend comes out of the office, and the assistant hides faster than a ninja to avoid being seen. With a victorious look, the girlfriend glares at her and says he's hers now, telling the assistant to keep her distance. Once inside the room, the assistant asks what he wanted to talk about, and he compliments her for her excellent work. She thanks him, and he instructs her to filter for the most practical projects once the applications start rolling in. The young woman then asks what the filtering criteria will be to select the best of the best. With a smile like he has a plan, he tells her to choose the ones that reflect the college's new image. Confused, the assistant asks what this great advantage of the school he's talking about is. Our guy then reveals, with a straight face, that the school's biggest advantage is its female students, who are all gorgeous. Shocked, she wonders if he spent millions just to use the incubator as a luxury Tinder. The assistant questions if this is appropriate, and he, for a second, wonders if he was a bit too honest. He tries to justify himself, saying that since they'll have so many applicants, why not pick the best-looking ones too? Makes sense, right? The girl agrees to filter the applications, thinking only her boss could say something like that so casually. He then changes the subject and asks if the second-round evaluation test is ready, and she confirms it is. The assistant immediately gets that the test is just an excuse to eliminate unwanted candidates without causing too much of a fuss. Being sharp, she suggests leaking the answers to preferred candidates, and he loves the idea. The young woman questions if she's betraying her principles, but concludes it's a mutual choice between her and her boss. She justifies it by thinking that with a salary of $10,000 a month, loyalty is part of the benefits package. The assistant then offers to introduce the first candidate on the list while he watches her attentively. She says the candidate is around her age, and he gets a little annoyed by the imprecision. Our guy complains, saying he wanted to know the exact age, not a comparison to hers. Apologizing for the blunder, she corrects herself and continues the candidate's introduction. The assistant explains that the candidate is 19 years old and a campus legend known as the Dragon Girl. Basically, the Daners of the college. He asks for her contact info to make an initial approach, and the assistant shows him a photo of the girl on her phone. Suddenly, he gets a message from the former coffee shop owner inviting him for another drink. Our guy, who's no fool, teases her back, asking if she's sure she only wants to have a drink with him. The woman is thrilled with his quick reply and immediately starts getting ready for their date. She feels like a teenager experiencing her first love all over again and can hardly wait to see him. Lying on the couch, the young woman wishes for time to pass faster so their date can finally arrive. Back on campus, he finds his car covered in letters and notes from admirers, looking like a message board. One of the letters is so direct that it already includes the girl's bust size and contact information. Two girls approach him boldly and ask for a ride to the mall to do some shopping. He politely declines, saying he has to pick someone else up, and unfortunately, there's no room in the car. Our young man then makes up the excuse that his contact list is full and gets out of there as fast as he can. Watching the scene from the sidelines, two guys comment that this is exactly what happens when you have money and power. The friend complains that even if he worked his whole life, he'd never be able to afford a car like that. The other says that for a car like that, he'd even swear eternal loyalty if it meant financial freedom. His buddy thinks about the idea and concludes that, on second thought, it's not such a bad plan. At 9 p.m., our guy meets the former coffee shop owner and asks if she has any more problems that need solving. With a seductive look, the woman says she wants to ask him something, and he encourages her to go for it. Blushing, she asks him if he believes in love, leaving him a bit surprised by the philosophical question. The young man gives a pageant winner answer saying highs and no, and remembers his first love back in high school. He concludes that after that breakup, he never felt the same way again, and that something always seemed to be missing in his relationships. She complains that his answer was too vague, and he just watches her with a little smirk. Suddenly, the woman picks up the phone and calls the air conditioning repair service for her house. She schedules a visit for the next day and hangs up, thanking them for their help. Our guy asks if her AC is broken, and she confirms it's been busted for days. He, ever the helpful one, offers to fix it, and the woman doubts that a rich kid like him knows how to use tools. Our young man then decides it's time to go full MacGyver and uses his last skill pack to learn how to fix things. He chooses the appliance repair skill and activates it in the system. The system confirms the activation and informs him that he is now basically the perfect handyman. Our guy feels his hands become more nimble, as if he just downloaded a dexterity patch for using tools. He assures her he can fix it and very casually asks if her husband is home. The young man then gets up and, with his new skills, starts fixing the air conditioner while she watches, impressed. As cool as a cucumber, he says the problem was just a little dust and that the filter needed cleaning. Basically the simplest solution in the manual. The woman is standing there, all dressed up, and starts to wonder if she's lost her mojo, since he seems more interested in the AC screws than in her. Utterly confused by the situation, she decides to take a quick shower, the classic Anim tactic to reset her thoughts and maybe plan a counterattack. 15 minutes later, she emerges from the shower, now in much more comfortable clothes, ready for whatever comes next. Our hero tightens the last screw and celebrates as the air conditioner starts working beautifully again. Mission accomplished! With a victorious smile, he calls her over, saying the technical service is over, but now she can pay for the labor in another way. She tries to worry about her husband coming home at any moment, but our guy, who has zero fear of danger, lays her down on the bed without a care in the world. The woman still questions if this is safe, but he just looks at her with a gaze that said, "Trust me." He then drops the master pickup line, saying he can fix anything in that house, including her heart and her body. The woman, already surrendered, just sighs his name as she completely gives herself over to the moment of passion. She thinks that this is the best payment she's ever made for repair and lets herself get completely carried away. In her mind, she compares the experience with her husband and concludes that with him, it was just a waste of time, like watching a filler episode. And as if the scriptwriter loves glitches, her husband comes home at that exact moment, drunk and grumbling like a cartoon villain. The man complains that the other one only knows how to show off, but when it comes down to it, she does nothing, and he approaches the bedroom door. At that moment, he turns the doorknob, ready to enter and find out what's going on inside. The couple hears the sound of the door, and their hearts nearly jump out of their chests with the husband's grand entrance to spoil the party. The woman goes into full panic mode when she realizes her husband actually came home that night. Desperate, she tells him to be quiet because if she's caught, she'll lose everything in the divorce. Maintaining the calm of a Tibetan monk, our guy gets up and says he's just going to lock the door. The woman is dumbfounded, wondering how he can be so cold and calculating in a situation of pure chaos. The husband mutters to himself, complaining that no one's home and his wife still left the air conditioner on. He continues his monologue about how lazy his wife is as he goes to the kitchen to get a glass of water. The man then tries to open the bedroom door, but realizes it's locked and just stands there, bugging out, trying to understand. Our hero signals for her to stay quiet so the husband doesn't find out about the maintenance work that was going on. Quickly, the woman covers her own mouth to muffle any sound and prevent her husband from finding them. On the other side, the man complains that he got home late because of some social events at work. Yeah, right? Annoyed that he can't get in, he gives up and says at least this way he doesn't have to perform his husbandly duties. The husband then goes to the other room and throws himself onto the bed, passing out in seconds from exhaustion and being drunk. The woman asks the guy not to be so loud, since her husband is literally on the other side of the wall. He notices that her husband's snoring has a perfect rhythm and decides to use the soundtrack to continue what they started. The woman gives herself over to the moment again, thinking that the feeling he gives her is simply on another level. The next morning, the husband wakes up with a massive hangover, complaining about the cheap booze at the bar. To his surprise, he finds his wife in the kitchen, all happy, making breakfast in a cute apron. The man is shocked, as she hadn't set foot in the kitchen for about 2 years, and wonders what miracle occurred. Suspicious, he questions her about the locked door and asks, very suggestively, how her night's sleep was. With a radiant smile like someone who won the lottery, the woman says she slept like an angel and continues cooking. The husband finds her attitude way too suspicious, and his amateur detective brain starts working. He wonders if she's been up to something behind his back and decides to play Sherlock Holmes in the bedroom. The man checks the bed for any suspicious hairs or other evidence, but finds nothing. He also investigates the trash can, hoping to find the proof of the crime, but comes up empty-handed. Defeated, he concludes he must be imagining things, and the woman calls him for breakfast. The husband asks if she heard a strange noise in the wall during the night, but she denies it, saying she was fast asleep. With nothing else to investigate, he asks about the broken air conditioner and realizes that, miraculously, it's working again. Keeping her composure, the woman says she simply called someone to fix the unit. In her thoughts, she concludes that the noise he heard was from the repair, and that our hero didn't just fix the AC, but her heart too. Elsewhere, our hero's ex's best friend finds her looking like a zombie, with dark circles under her eyes and a look of defeat. The ex is there, crying her eyes out, complaining that our protagonist is living like a king while she's at rock bottom. Her friend, losing her patience, asks which of her countless ex-boyfriends she's talking about, and the girl says it's our hero. The ex explains with pure envy that after they broke up, he spent millions on gifts for other women. The friend, skeptical, doubts the story, but the ex shows her screenshots of the conversation with the personal trainer as irrefutable proof. She complains that the trainer quit her job to become a kept woman, and that it should have been her. The ex bitterly laments trading our protagonist for the other guy, and now she can't even sleep from regret. Her friend tries to console her, telling her to move on and find someone new, that it wouldn't be that hard. With her nose in the air, the woman says her standards have changed now, and she wouldn't look at anyone with less than 10 million in the bank. The friend is gobsmacked, unable to believe the girl's ambition has shot into the stratosphere overnight. Determined, the ex declares that she will win our hero back, no matter what it takes. Her friend tries to talk some sense into her, but the ex says that once you've had a taste of luxury, you can't go back. She gets angry, saying all the money he's spending on other women should rightfully be hers. The ex then drags her friend by the hand, saying they're going to find our protagonist right now. The poor friend grabs her phone and starts stalking his social media for any clue to his whereabouts. The friend comments that her ex is completely out of her mind and mentally prays for help to get her committed to a hospital. Meanwhile, in a luxury hotel, the trainer looks out at the city view, lost in thought. Our hero gets out of the shower and finds her there, lost in her thoughts, in front of the huge bedroom window. The woman comments that his weight and muscle gains are way above average and that he's progressing scarily fast. He, all mysterious, replies that he's not like other people and gets ready to leave. Our guy realizes that with the workouts, his immunity and overall health are improving every day. The real power juice. After getting dressed, he tells the trainer she doesn't need to wait for him, as he has other commitments on his schedule. She says she'll be waiting for his call and thinks that, finally, she feels useful and needed by someone. The young man thinks about how his girlfriend was the first to enter the game, but hasn't won as many rewards compared to the others. At a fancy restaurant, his girlfriend is having lunch with her cousins, who are bombarding her with questions about her life. The young woman says she goes to the restaurant with friends sometimes and encourages her cousin to eat more. The cousin then goes into annoying relative mode and asks about her career plans, reminding her to look for internships. The brother-in-law throws cold water on her, advising her to prepare since her college isn't one of the best. The female cousin joins the conversation and asks if she has a boyfriend yet, because according to her it gets harder to find someone after graduation. The brother-in-law then offers to introduce her to a cousin of his who's interning at a big company. She immediately refuses the offer and reveals that she already has a boyfriend, leaving the couple completely surprised. Her cousin scolds her, saying that dating is a serious thing and she needs to be careful who she gets involved with. The brother-in-law insists, saying graduates from her college usually earn little and live a life of struggle. The couple gets super worried, thinking her boyfriend isn't good enough and that she'll end up getting hurt. She reassures them and thinks with a little smile that if she told them the truth about our hero, her brother-in-law would have a fit. His girlfriend announces she has to leave early, and her cousin, curious, asks if she has any plans. With a victorious smile, she reveals that her boyfriend is taking her to buy a new house. The couple is in shock and doubts the story, thinking no family in their right mind would buy a house before marriage. Just then, she points to the restaurant entrance where our hero is arriving in his luxury car and says, "He's got money." He arrives looking all elegant and calls for her to go while she introduces him to her cousins, who are left speechless, looking like statues. Our guy apologizes for not being able to join them, but ever so humbly offers to pay for their lunch. The cousin scolds him for showing off with a car that's worth more than their house. The couple just stands there, completely embarrassed and with their egos crushed in that super awkward situation. In the car, our protagonist hands her the deed to the house, saying she's now officially a homeowner. He mentally calculates that buying the house earned him over $6 million in cash back from the system. Stunks? Our young man teases her, saying he's going to find an educational film for her to learn how to thank him the right way. Blushing, she tells him to stop joking around, but holds onto the deed with the strength of someone who found the one-piece treasure. He notices that her affinity is almost at the maximum level and decides he's going to try to reach 100% that night. The dragon girl sends him a message, but the guy doesn't even open it, leaving her confused and frustrated. She laments becoming the type of person who begs for attention, something she always hated. Her friends advise her to get real, as the competition to be with him is bigger than the cast of Game of Thrones. Ignoring their advice, she remains focused on her business plan, determined to impress him. The young woman thinks that any girl would fall for a billionaire, and that she's no exception to the rule. Determined to win, the dragon girl sits down and starts working hard on her business plan. Elsewhere, our hero asks his girlfriend if she's thought about what she wants to do in the future. He says he has other businesses and can set something up for her to do, if she wants. Our guy thinks that with this super possessive girlfriend, he can't operate his harem freely if she's always around. The young woman is shocked by the number of techniques he knows, and he says he just looked them up online. All flustered, she says she'll pick one of them randomly with her eyes closed. 20 minutes later, she asks if he's enjoying it, and he tells her not to stop for anything. The girlfriend is surprised she learned so quickly and says that from now on, he's going to like her even more. He thinks to himself that he needs 10 more girls like her, who try so hard to please him. Suddenly, his phone rings and a desperate voice on the other end tells him to get out of where he is, like yesterday. Our guy answers the call and asks his friend what happened to make him sound so desperate. The friend says there's no time to explain and that he's sending him the location to go there immediately. Confused by the mysterious call, the young man sits up in bed, wondering what the heck is going on. Our hero was just cruising in his sweet ride when his phone rings. It was his buddy with that classic last-minute change of plans that everyone hates. The friend hits him with the excuse that he got dragged over there, but Yuan, who ain't got time for whining, tells him to just sit tight and wait for 30 minutes. Getting out of the car, our guy notices a worrying detail: the place is dangerously close to his counselor's house, setting off his potential mess ahead, Spidey sense. Suddenly, his friend pops out of the shadows and invites him in, hyping up some girl inside with amazing services. With his arms crossed and the confidence of a guy who's already beaten the game, the MC refuses, saying he's already got a harem of beauties and doesn't need any side quests. Just then, his buddy's eyes light up when he sees Yuan's ride, and he asks what kind of sorcery this is. Our hero, playing it cool, just says he bought the new toy. The friend is in total shock, since that's literally his dream car, and only then does Yuan ask why he was called to this shabby place to begin with. With a grin from ear to ear, his buddy reveals the bar is his and the renovations are almost done, trying once again to convince our hero to take an inside tour. As if summoned by a sadistic scriptwriter, two girls walk by, and one of them points right at Yuan with a look of recognition. Our guy turns paler than a ghost when he realizes one of them is his counselor, Li Xiao. The situation, which was already tricky, just got upgraded to nightmare mode. The counselor glares at him with a look of pure disappointment, while her friend, the police officer Li Meng, looks ready to jump down his throat. Totally busted, he gives a sheepish little wave, and his friend, completely oblivious to the danger, asks who these hotties are that just showed up out of nowhere. The two of them, however, ignore him with the coldness of an iceberg and turn to leave, but our MC runs to prevent an imminent game over. He gets closer and, in a desperate attempt at damage control, asks if he can come over to their place and help with dinner. Li Meng, the sister who's already in full-on Super Saiyan mode, turns around and rips into him, calling him shameless for hanging out at a place with special services and hurting her sister on top of it all. The young man tries to defend himself, swearing it's all a misunderstanding and that he was just waiting for someone like an RPG extra. The girl isn't buying it and throws it in his face that her sister tried to accept him and even bought him a gift, but he chose to mess everything up. Then, the two of them leave and the friend tells him to go find that girl with the amazing services, while the counselor's affinity level plummets faster than the price of a crashing cryptocurrency. His friend walks over munching on imaginary popcorn and asks if all that drama was about his new girlfriend. RMC just sighs, saying there's no point explaining while she's all heated up and that this time, he thinks he really screwed up big time. Yuan's friend, finally realizing the mess he caused, apologizes and asks who that lady was that he'd never seen before. With a heavy heart, our guy reveals she was his counselor and English teacher, leaving his buddy looking like he just saw a ghost. He then says he'll figure out a way to smooth things over with her later and tells his friend they should go talk somewhere less problematic. Arriving at a charming coffee shop, they're greeted by a beautiful young woman who, to no one's surprise, seems to know our MC quite well. The young man, acting right at home, orders 2 coffees and affectionately calls her Nana, while his friend watches the scene with the eyes of a detective. Once seated, his buddy mentions that the barista's face looks familiar, but he can't quite place where he knows her from. Our MC then jogs his memory. She was the luxury car saleswoman who was with their cousin at that family lunch. Jaw on the floor, the friend asks how she ended up here and immediately accuses Yuan of stealing a relative's girlfriend. The nerve? His buddy is in a state of shock, processing the fact that Yuan is dating his teacher and the ex-car saleswoman at the same time. The man is a legend. Changing the subject like a pro, our guy announces he's stepping back from the bar business and leaving his friend in charge of everything. With the air of a businessman, he says he believes in his friend's potential and that mixing business with friendship can get messy, so it's better to keep a safe distance. His buddy, full of determination, promises to do his best and not let down the trust Yuan has placed in him. At that moment, the barista Chen Na brings their coffees and Yuan's friend, already in full-on teasing mode, calls her sis-in-law. The young woman gets all flustered with bright red cheeks, clearly caught off guard by the bold comment. Right after, she notices Yuan's shirt is a bit wrinkled and, with special care, she leans in to straighten it out for him. As she fixes his clothes, his friend lets out an "Aw, you guys are so cute," commenting that he's clearly the third wheel here. Later that night, the young woman mentions that a friend is looking for a summer job and Yuan, like a good boss, says he can find her a spot at the cafe. With a smile that could melt Alaska, Nana mentions it's been a long day and that she needs a shower to wash off all the fatigue. And the sweat, of course. Alone in his room, our MC picks up his phone, thinking he needs to fix the mess with his counselor as soon as possible. However, when he calls, it goes straight to the nobody's picking up void, leaving him with a look of concern and a hint of irritation. He then wonders what the heck she's doing that she can't answer his calls or even see his texts. Little does he know. Meanwhile, at the counselor's house, her sister Li Meng is fuming, saying he's got some nerve to still have the guts to call. The girl hugs the counselor, who's totally down in the dumps, and says Yuan is no good and it was for the best they found out the truth now. With tear-filled eyes, the young woman asks why guys like going to those kinds of places so much. Her sister replies that it's obvious, because most guys are like that, they go there looking for thrills. And for very specific reasons. She explains, like an expert on the subject, that they have needs, and that the women there are professionals at pleasing them. The counselor then remembers when Yuan hugged her and she pushed him away, and a terrible idea pops into her head. Heartbroken, she starts blaming herself, thinking that maybe she took too long to give in, and that's why he went looking for someone else. Her sister is shocked by this line of thinking, saying that love is a scary thing for making her think such a messed up thought. Li Meng asks her sister to remember the disaster that happened the last time she fell in love, trying to give her a reality check. The two of them lock eyes, and the sister begs her to snap out of it and not fall into this emotional trap again. The counselor finally agrees with her sister, deciding she can't let her feelings get the best of her and needs to stay in control. Back to our MC, we see him on his phone, successfully ignoring messages from his college classmates. He keeps scrolling through his feed and finds several messages from a girl sending "good morning" texts and other things, clearly trying to get his attention. Our guy analyzes her photo, thinking the girl has potential to join the game, but she needs to be observed more closely. With the coldness of a strategist, he replies with a short message, knowing it'll just make her even more obsessed with him. Suddenly, the door opens and Nana calls his name with a smile, catching him completely by surprise. She's dressed in a flawless office outfit with glasses, a look that cranked her seduction power up to level 9,000. The young woman asks if he liked the surprise, and our guy admits that she's really messing with his head today. With an inviting look, she beckons him to come in, and the two embrace as he compliments how incredible she looks. Lying in bed, Nana comments that he seems different today, and Yuan, curious, asks what she means. She says he seems stronger and asks if he's been working out. He confirms and slyly suggests they move to the couch. Our athlete then jokes that he can be her gym equipment and suggests that next time they could try a riding exercise, but she, in her innocence, asks what the difference is. He replies that it's basically the same thing and invites her to try out the new routine, which gets the young woman super excited about the game. After a good long tense workout, the guy praises Nana, saying she has a natural talent like a true Amazon. The next day at college, someone is about to open the student committee door, unaware of the chaos waiting inside. The door swings open to reveal a scene worthy of Black Friday, a crowd of students trying to hand in forms to one poor professor. Dozens of students are pushing and shoving to submit their projects, while the woman looks like she's about to have a breakdown at any moment. The professor, buried under a mountain of paper, wonders why, all of a sudden, so many talented girls decided to show up for the project. Meanwhile, at the gym, a phone starts ringing. The screen shows a call from secretary. The MC, who's working out next to a girl, sees the call and wonders who the heck this secretary is. When he answers, the voice on the other end informs him they've received 653 applications. He cuts straight to the chase and asks for the male to female ratio. She reports that there are 628 women and only 25 men. Without hesitating, he tells her to only pick out the really good projects. On the other end of the line, the secretary gets worried, asking if this means all the men will be automatically rejected. He clarifies that he's not trying to start a girls-only club, and that any good proposals from the guys should be approved. Our hero thinks that if he only approves pretty girls, the project will look like a modeling agency, and he needs brains, not just pretty faces. The girl on the treadmill next to him, pouting with jealousy, asks him why he didn't answer a question while he was on the phone. He calmly tells her it was just one of his subordinates, and tells her not to cook up any conspiracy theories in her head. At that exact moment, a system notification explodes on the screen. The third girl has reached 90 affection, and the rewards are on their way. Nana's affection hits 90, and the MC is already getting hyped, wondering what insane reward the system cooked up this time. The system unleashes the legendary drop of 5mm hardware upgrade, a fund of 30 million in his account, and 2 skill vouchers. What a haul, my friends! The MC is ecstatic about the growth bonus, thinking that no man on earth would turn down an upgrade like that. Without wasting a second, he activates the first reward and feels a strange, promising warmth in his lower body. With a satisfied grin, the guy notices the change is quite perceptible and is extremely happy with the result. Filled with a sense of urgency, he calls out to Coach Lu, who is completely confused, not understanding his sudden rush. The young man grabs her hand and, like an action hero, says there's no time to explain as he drags her upstairs. The scene cuts to a silhouette of the two in the shower, and the girl comments that something about him seems different. He, playing dumb, asks what's changed. She's left wondering if she's imagining things or if working out really does work miracles. With a triumphant smile, our guy suggests that maybe it wasn't him who changed, but that she just got more sensitive. Completely embarrassed, the young woman asks him to go a little easier next time because she really can't keep up with his pace. The MC hugs her and promises to do a proper warm-up beforehand while thinking that the rewards effect is just plain wild. A while later, our hero says goodbye to the coach who's passed out on the bed and tells her to rest well. As he leaves the room, he reflects that his new weapon, freshly upgraded, will need a careful tutorial before being introduced to the other girls in the cast. The next day, driving his car, he thinks about the huge problem with the counselor, who is still giving him the silent treatment. He decides the only way to solve this is the old-fashioned way, face-to-face, and so he heads over to her house that afternoon. Knocking on the door, he hears her voice ask who it is. With the creativity of a secret agent, he makes up a story about being from downstairs and having a water leak. When she opens the door, the young woman recognizes him and, with fire in her eyes, accuses him of lying to her yet again. Quick as a ninja, the guy holds the door before she can slam it in his face and insists on coming in so they can talk. With an expression like she just sucked on a lemon, she asks what he wants, with zero interest in hearing what he has to say. The young man, staying calm, states that they need to talk because she definitely got the wrong idea yesterday. Operation Clear My Name is officially underway. Lichio glares at him like she's caught a liar red-handed and questions his whole misunderstanding story, completely doubting his innocent act. He insists he did nothing wrong, but the counselor, fed up, says she doesn't believe a word and tells him to take a hike. Feeling the door about to slam in his face, our hero lays out the truth, explaining that his childhood friend changed their meeting spot at the last minute, turning a normal restaurant into that den of vice. Still skeptical, she acts like a prosecutor and demands concrete proof that he was just waiting for someone and not browsing the menu. Whipping out his phone faster than a ninja, he shows her the chat history, the irrefutable proof that the original meeting was at a civilized restaurant. To seal the deal, he even suggests she can request the security camera footage in full CSI crime scene investigation style. She finally seems convinced by the evidence, and he reinforces that he would never go to a place like that of his own free will. And just like magic, her affinity bar not only recovers but shoots up to 70. The young woman, all embarrassed, apologizes for jumping to conclusions. Our MC's jaw drops because her affection not only returned to normal but also got an XP bonus. Stunks! He says it's all good and, seeing an opening, drops the classic "Could I get a glass of water?" A master move to buy more time. Suddenly suspicious again, the counselor accuses him of trying the same trick as last time, going into full on-defense mode. Our young man puts on his best innocent angel face and swears on his life it's just for water, promising he'll disappear right after. She stares at him, wondering if she can trust him, and he confirms with a smile that could sell ice to an Eskimo. Worn down, the young woman gives in and asks him to wait a second while she gets the water. The door closes in his face, leaving our hero waiting outside, feeling like a food delivery guy. Exactly 12 seconds later, the door opens again, and the counselor reappears, mysterious as ever. To his surprise, she hands him a sealed bottle of water without even opening the door all the way. The security level is off the charts. He takes the bottle, thinking she's treating him like a horror movie villain with zero trust on his resume. The door closes again, leaving him alone in the hallway with his little bottle of water as a consolation prize. A neighbor who watched the whole soap opera unfold comments that young people today need to be more patient and not rush things. Our guy, full of modern wisdom, replies to the lady, "You snooze, you lose," adding that if you're not quick, someone else will take your spot. The woman is completely charmed by the boy, finding him handsome and high quality, and even considers dropping by a club to check out the scene. Getting into his car, he concludes that the mission was a success, the misunderstanding was cleared up, and from her attitude, he knows she still wants to get closer. Suddenly, a notification pops up on his screen. A girl named Su Shui, the dragon girl, is calling. Answering the call, the young woman informs him that the plumbing job has been finished, and he says he's on his way to check it out. An hour later, our MC arrives at the meeting spot, ready for another day of work, investments. A young redhead is waiting for him, sitting on the curb with a thoughtful expression, looking like the star of an indie music video. Stepping out of his spaceship of a car, the guy walks over and asks if she's been waiting long. She stands up, a little nervous, and says she hasn't. He, trying to break the ice, jokes that she doesn't need to be afraid because he doesn't bite unless asked. Pointing to the building, our young man asks her to lead him inside so he can inspect the work. She readily agrees, offering to show him every detail. He thinks to himself that she's extremely professional and confident. Once inside, she explains that all the plumbing and heating is done, and now all that's left is the fun part, picking out the tiles. In the courtyard, the redhead shows that the project followed his request to a T, and our guy, satisfied, praises her excellent work. Walking by the pool, he invites her to dinner, but the young woman politely declines, saying she needs to get home. Curious, he asks why, and she explains her modern-day Cinderella routine. She has to cook for her mom and her younger brother. Unexpectedly, our hero turns towards her with an intensity that catches her completely off guard. And in that moment, the scriptwriter activates anime cliché number 1, the sudden downpour. Like a true gentleman, he pulls her close, and only then does he notice that the young woman has a killer body. Blushing furiously and completely frozen, the young woman stammers his name, her brain glitching from the sudden closeness. The two of them just stand there, almost touching as the torrential rain pours down on them, creating the perfect scene for a manga cover. He says the rain is coming down too hard and that they need to get inside quickly. The redhead, still in a trance, can only agree. Our guy shields her from the rain, but it doesn't do much good, as the water leaves her clothes completely soaked, raising the embarrassment level to over 9,000. Safely inside, the young woman crosses her arms, dying of embarrassment, and asks him not to stare. He, with a straight face, says it wasn't on purpose, but that the view was simply too eye-catching to ignore. Still flustered, the young woman remains silent, using her arms as a shield against his gaze. With her face the color of a tomato, the young woman just stands there, not knowing what to do or say in this super awkward situation. The guy then hugs her from behind with the excuse that it'll help her warm up after getting caught in the rain. Yeah, right. An epic debate rages in her mind. She's never been this close to a guy, and part of her wants to push him away, but the other part remembers that you can't offend a VIP client. He notices her staring and with a cheeky little grin asks if it's because he's too handsome. This man's self-esteem is through the roof. The poor girl is completely speechless. Her brain simply didn't have the software installed to process a pick-up line like that. Our MC flashes the classic corner of the mouth smile, the famous smirk of an anime villain thinking she's too pure and innocent for this world. Interpreting her red face as a green light on the flirtation traffic signal, he hugs her a little tighter, ready to move on to the next level. And after a 30-minute scene cut, we see our guy checking the window, like someone checking if the level boss has left yet. He announces that the storm has passed and her ride is ready, but the young woman, still processing what just happened, asks him to please take his hand off her. He gets a little awkward and uses standard excuse number 3 from the player's handbook. "I was just worried you were cold, I swear." 40 minutes later, they arrive at her place. She thanks him for the ride, but he never wanted to give up, immediately asks if he can come up for a cup of coffee. Right away, our young man realizes the situation here is rough. The building she lives in has seen better days, looking like a set from a post-apocalyptic movie. She tries to brush him off, saying she has to become the head chef of the house, but he insists with the classic, "I'll just sit in the corner, I promise I won't be in the way." And just like in any good neighborhood, the human satellite dishes, also known as nosy neighbors, are already starting to gossip about the fancy car parked out front and the girl's supposed new boyfriend. In their minds, the story is already confirmed he brought gifts, therefore he's Prince Charming who's come to save the damsel and improve the family's life. But there's always the team of pessimists who come in to throw cold water on the idea, saying that rich guys just play with poor girls' feelings and then disappear. That is until a little old man, who'd been quiet in his corner, tells the gossip squad to shut up and show a little respect. At that moment, a cute little boy runs up to hug the young woman. She, with all the affection of a big sister, asks if he's hungry and promises to make dinner. Our MC watching the scene asks if that's her brother, and the redhead formally introduces them. The little one's name is Xiao Ji. She apologizes for the boy's shyness as he hides behind her as if our hero were the boogeyman. Her mother then appears in the room. Her daughter, worried, asks why she got up, and the lady says she just wanted to stretch her legs a bit. The redhead then introduces Yuan to her mother. He, like a good potential son-in-law, greets her with his friendliest smile. The mother, with her super mom radar fully activated, notes that this is the first time her daughter has brought a boy home and starts connecting the dots. Seeing the gifts, the woman invites him to come in and sit down, and our hero accepts immediately, feeling like he's passed the first stage of the mission. Once they're settled, the young woman tells him to make himself at home, while she takes her post in the kitchen to prepare dinner. And 30 minutes later, a wonderful smell fills the house. Dinner is served, and it looks delicious. The family gathers at the table, and little Xiao Ji, with the honesty of a child, compliments his sister's cooking, saying it's delicious. Our guy, very polite, praises the mother's kindness and says that just tasting her daughter's cooking is more than enough to make him feel satisfied. Observing the family dynamic, he realizes just how strong this young woman is, being the true pillar that supports their home. After dinner, he gets up to leave, but the redhead calls out to him, saying she needs to return the money he advanced her. He then, with a plan in mind, asks to borrow her phone for a second. The young woman, not understanding a thing, hands over the device. With his plan executed, our guy says goodbye and leaves, waving to the girl, who stands at the door watching him walk away. Suddenly, her phone buzzes. A notification reveals the unthinkable: he just transferred 50,000 into her account. Desperate, she runs to the window and screams his name, but our hero activates his imaginary headphones mode and continues on his way as if nothing happened. Nearing his car, he thinks that the money could give her family's life a nice upgrade, but he wonders if her pride will allow her to accept it. Getting into the car, he decides he'll return the money if she insists, but at that exact moment, he feels that familiar sensation. The system's cashback is coming! Back on the road, he switches back to businessman mode and calls his secretary, asking for a report on the candidates selected for his project. She informs him that 12 have passed the first round. Satisfied, he approves her work and promises a nice bonus at the end of the month. Our MC then gets lost in thought, pondering how he's going to balance his businesses and his growing harem. The life of an MC isn't easy. Meanwhile, the nosy neighbor strikes again, asking the redhead's mother if the guy is really her boyfriend. The mother, being honest, says she doesn't know. The neighbor insists, saying the guy is filthy rich because of his car, and when she mentions the price, the mother's jaw hits the floor. The gossip, now in matchmaker mode, suggests that a marriage to him would solve all the family's problems and tells the mother to go talk to her daughter ASAP. But the mother, showing her integrity, says the decision is her daughter's and that she would never force her into a marriage for money. To make matters worse, another neighbor joins the conversation, adding fuel to the fire, saying the guy seemed interested but has probably already lost interest. The mother goes inside, visibly shaken by the meanness and speculation of the neighbors about her family's future. In the kitchen, she calls her daughter over for a serious talk. The young woman turns around, ready to hear what her mother has to say. Straight to the point, the mother asks what her real relationship with Yuan is. The young woman, a bit nervous, explains that he's just a client. The mother presses on, asking if he hasn't shown any interest. The redhead admits that he acted in a very strange way earlier. At that moment, she remembers seeing another woman with him before and starts to wonder if that might be his official girlfriend. The mother sighs and asks the million-dollar question: how does her daughter really feel about him, since she seems like a sea of confusion? The young woman gets all tongue-tied, denying it with all her might, and repeats the mantra: he's just a client, he's just a client. The mother, sensing her daughter's distress, hugs her and tells her not to pay any attention to the gossip, reinforcing that she doesn't have to marry for money. The two share a warm hug. The mother's words are like a soothing balm, and the young woman finally feels a little more relieved. But as she closes her eyes, the memory of the hug in the rain comes flooding back, and she stands there, lost in thought, trying to decipher her own feelings. The scene of the hug plays on a loop in her mind like a GF, leaving her more and more confused about what she really feels for him. With her face flushed, she gets lost in thought, in an internal battle to try and understand the mess that has taken over her heart. The next morning, our hero had barely opened his eyes next to Coach Lu when his phone was already ringing for a business call. On the other end of the line was the Dragon Girl's boss, wanting to discuss the issue with her apprentice. He, like a good investor, agrees to meet for coffee. At the coffee shop, the redhead's boss gets straight to the point: the story about that $50,000 transfer that the girl tried to return but couldn't. Our hero, with the calm demeanor of someone who's seen it all, confirms the story and takes a sip of his coffee as if they were discussing the weather. The woman then cuts to the chase and asks him to accept the money back, explaining that the young woman was super uncomfortable with that gift. With an air of someone who has no time to waste, he asks if that's the only reason he was called here. The boss, acting like a professional Cupid, says that if he wants to win the girl over, he's going to have to work a little harder. He, maintaining his good guy persona, swears he had no ulterior motives with the money and that honestly it doesn't even matter anymore. Our guy finally accepts the return transfer, but he notices a curious detail: there's an extra 200 in the account. All he can think is that the redhead is as stubborn as a mule. Changing the subject like a pro, he asks if a certain director has been inviting the girl to business dinners, but her boss denies everything. Mission accomplished, he thanks her for her time and gets out of there, leaving the woman alone with her thoughts and her cooling coffee. The boss sits there, thinking it would be a fairy tale ending for the redhead to end up with him, but she knows her apprentice has her pride and won't be bought by any man. Back in the car, the phone rings again. It was the owner of the coffee shop with a sultry voice, inviting him over for a suspicious cup of coffee. With that mischievous grin of someone who loves danger, our guy says that her husband being around just makes things more exciting. The woman then invites him to her house, and he accepts, joking that he needs to recharge for the higher conditioner. Punctually at 6 in the evening, our MC arrives at the woman's house and finds her in the kitchen, preparing a dinner that smells delicious. She says she's making a special soup, and he thinks that married women really do have a PhD in understanding men's desires. Sneaking up behind her like a ghost, he asks if she's ever made that soup for her husband before. The woman replies that it's her first time. She got the recipe online just to impress him. Now that's dedication. Our guy then hugs her and asks what time the man of the house usually shows up. She replies that he doesn't get home until around 9 at night, which gives them plenty of time to have the soup, of course. The woman asks if he's enjoying it, and our guy responds with a sound of approval that says more than 1,000 words. An hour later, he compliments the soup again, and she, ever the helpful one, offers to make it more often in the future. He says that might be a bit complicated, but she drops a bombshell. She's decided to file for divorce to finally find her own happiness. Our guy, surprised, supports her decision, even though, deep down, he would have enjoyed the adrenaline rush of being the other guy for a while longer. The woman thanks him, saying he's the one who gave her the courage to make this life-changing decision. He jokes not to blame the divorce on him and playfully pinches her cheeks like he's playing with a kitten. The MC is already calculating in his head with the divorce, he'll be able to spend money on her openly, and her affinity bar will skyrocket. As he drives away, fate plays a trick on him. Her husband sees him and instantly recognizes the expensive machine. The man just stands there, bugging out, finding our hero's face familiar and trying to remember where he knows the guy from. And then, the memory hits him. It's the rich guy who bought a car for a saleswoman. He's left wondering what the heck that guy was doing in his neighborhood. Back at home, the husband compliments his wife on the soup, but she, with the coldness of an iceberg, says the soup wasn't for him. Ouch! With a little smirk, the woman sips her soup calmly, ignoring her husband's existence as if he were a piece of furniture. The man complains about the heat, but she replies that she doesn't feel a thing and won't be turning on the AC. The Cold War has begun. Inwardly, she thinks that she's not afraid of a confrontation. She's just worried about our hero's Culon lingering in the bedroom. The husband, oblivious to everything, gets up and announces he's going to take a shower so they can have some alone time later. Little does he know, 10 minutes later, he finds the bedroom door locked and wonders why she would do that. Did she already pass out? Annoyed by being ignored, the man throws himself on the couch and grumbles that next time he'll find someone younger and more willing to have fun. Cut to the college where Yuan's secretary is presenting the selected candidates for his project in a true parade of beauties. She highlights a girl from the flight attendant program who's practically a campus celebrity, as popular as a new anime episode. Next, she introduces a freshman who's already earned the nickname Little Daraba for her exotic beauty and modeling talent. To round out the top three, the secretary shows off a famous cosplayer who gained 200,000 followers with a single costume. The power of pop culture. In the midst of this parade of goddesses, a more plainly dressed student feels completely out of place, like an NPC who accidentally ended up in the main character selection for a game. At that moment, a class representative's brain finally connects the dots, and his shonen protagonist radar goes like crazy. This wasn't a startup project, it was a recruitment for a harem. Feeling like the biggest chump in the universe, he wonders what his role is in this script. Is he the secondary male character who's just there to make the hero look good? Now, with the stage set and all the candidates in place, the secretary waits anxiously, like the host of a survival game, for her boss's next command. Mo Zhenwang, the class representative, introduces himself to another guy, looking happy to finally see someone from his hometown. The guy then explains that he comes from a simple family, so he needs to take every opportunity that comes his way. Just then, the girls start taking pictures of him, super excited because the famous and beloved Shen Yuan has finally arrived. With an air of confidence, our hero appears and says he vaguely remembers the name of the guy who greeted him earlier. Mo Zhenwang then introduces himself again, and Shen Yuan explains that their business plan was approved because it was practical. He remembers that one wants to open a fry shop and the other a fruit stand, so the guy confirms his project is the fry shop. Since there are no fry shops at the school, their business has great potential to be very successful. The two are happy, and Mo Zhenwang thinks they were only chosen so the project wouldn't be all girls. Our hero then asks Mu about his experience as an opinion leader, which is basically a bot army. The guy confirms he has a team of 100 people, and that they've already organized several large-scale events. Shen Yuan dismisses them to interview the girls, thinking that Mo's contacts could be very useful in the future. 2 hours later, he praises his assistant for her great work, as she found some incredible girls for the project. A girl with pigtails approaches the secretary, saying she needs to discuss something important with the boss. The assistant then asks the boss what to do, and with a calm look, he tells her she can leave first. Now alone with him, the girl directly asks why she was turned down during the interview stage. She explains that during the interview, he barely looked at her and focused his attention only on the other two candidates. He stands up and says the final list will only come out after the exam, so she asks if she still has a chance to make it. With a confident smile, he sits on the sofa and says he just gave her a chance right at that very moment. Realizing the great opportunity, she starts listing all her accounting qualifications to impress him. Our hero then questions her, asking if such an important job shouldn't be done by an older, more experienced accountant. The young woman is speechless, her face blushing, not knowing how to answer his question. She thinks that the line of suitors for him is huge, so she needs to take this unique chance to win him over. Then she sits on his lap and whispers that she's much prettier and has a better figure than any old accountant. He agrees with a smile, saying that pretty accountants with a nice figure are indeed very hard to find. The young woman then unbuttons her blouse and asks what he thinks, and the guy replies that what she said makes a lot of sense. Completely lost in the moment, the girl calls his name seductively and moves even closer. Without further delay, the two share an intense kiss, giving themselves completely to that moment of passion. 40 minutes later, some crumpled tissues are seen inside a trash can in the office. He asks her to be his girl, saying she won't lose out, and is surprised to discover she was inexperienced. With a satisfied smile, our hero adjusts his tie and invites her to go shopping over the weekend. The girl buttons her shirt and happily thinks that now she has a place in his heart, even if it's a small one. He watches the scene, satisfied, thinking that the little dragon lady's affinity has finally appeared, and that's great. 10 minutes later, the girl leaves the office limping and complaining of soreness as the assistant watches her. Worried, the assistant approaches and asks Jing'an why she did that with the boss. Jing'an, with a smile, replies that it was nothing and that she now feels happier than ever. Later, he plans his father's birthday, thinking about the car he bought for him and the jewelry for his mother. His younger sister, Shen Xuan, gets excited about the car and asks for one too, since she's about to get her driver's license. His mother scolds him for spoiling his sister, saying she still has a long way to go and can't get complacent. Shen Yuan reassures everyone and invites them into the car to go to the hotel to meet their uncles and aunts. The sister complains that her mother doesn't spoil her, and the mother tells her to act like a young lady and get in the car. At the hotel, the whole family is gathered in the dining room, with the men on one side and the women on the other. One of the aunts immediately starts complaining about the hosts being late, saying it's ridiculous for the guests to be kept waiting. Another relative angrily remembers when they went to collect a debt and were mistreated by the host family. Shen Yuan's mother takes the blame for the delay, saying she completely forgot to pass on the message to the others. The other aunts don't believe the excuse and complain they should have told everyone about the delay directly. An older uncle thinks with contempt that everyone there was helped in the past, but now the ungrateful bunch only knows how to criticize. A cousin with glasses plans to make the birthday toast difficult for the man of the hour, because he thinks he still acts superior to everyone. An aunt approaches her husband and tells him they're counting on his help to stir up trouble at dinner. The older uncle watches the scene with concern, as he has already realized that this birthday dinner will be a huge disaster. A young is praised for his new car, and he replies that a good car is essential for keeping up appearances in business. Another relative ignores Ion's discount offer and complains that the host still thinks he's a big deal. The uncle thinks about the old rivalry between the wives and how past envy fuels their audacity in the present. One of the relatives asks if something happened, and the older uncle asks for patience, saying the birthday boy is the most important person. Finally, the host family arrives and the father apologizes for being late, promising to drink 3 shots as a penalty. The older uncle tries to be polite, saying they didn't wait long and that it's not time for dinner yet. A cousin sarcastically replies that waiting a little longer won't make them pass out from hunger, and her husband immediately scolds her. The third uncle offers to pick up his brother in the future, since he no longer has a car and is now busy. Our hero replies that it would be too much trouble and that he hopes the uncle will always be available to help the family. The uncle feels disrespected by his nephew and decides he needs to show off a bit to put the young man in his place. To keep his promise, Shen Yuan's father drinks the 3 shots all at once as an apology for being late. With a subtle move, the third uncle purposely drops his car key on the floor to get everyone's attention. He pretends that no one is blaming him for the delay, but in reality, he just wants everyone to see the key to his new car. The uncle then complains that Shen Yad should have picked up the key for him and threatens not to get him the club membership. Shen Yad picks the key up from the floor and hands it to his uncle, who is already waiting for that show-off moment. Our hero then compliments his uncle's new car, and the man replies that his old Volvo was in need of an upgrade. The uncle reveals that the model is an X7 and says it wasn't expensive, but Shen Yuan knows the car costs over 1 million. Our hero praises the uncle's modesty, and he brags about having bought the mid-range configuration of the car. The uncle takes the opportunity to give some business advice, saying that tourism is very risky and not reliable. Shen Yuan feigns admiration and praises his uncle's intelligence, inflating the relative's ego even more. The uncle gets all proud of the compliment, feeling like the king of the world for impressing his nephew with his new car. The uncle's wife complains that the nephew is too much of a suck-up, and that if they ask to borrow money, she won't pay. Our hero then tells his father that the stage is set, and that he can now show off the Maybach he received as a gift. The cousin is shocked to hear about the Maybach and doubts that the broke family has money to buy such an expensive car. The older uncle asks if he really bought a Maybach, and Shen Yuan's father says it was a gift from his son. The relatives don't believe the story and accuse the father of lying, as everyone knows Shen Yuan is a big spender. The older uncle is confused because his brother has always been very sensible and wonders if he's had too much to drink. The third uncle, completely in disbelief, asks what kind of joke this is and doubts that Shen Yuan bought the car. Our hero questions his father about his patience with their uncle, and he replies that it wasn't worth arguing with the relative. Shen Yuan's father reveals that the car cost 3 million, and that he even tried to stop his son from buying it. Everyone in the room is in shock at the car's price, as 3 million is an absurd amount of money for most people there. The relatives are stunned, wondering where Shen Yuan got so much money to buy a 3 million car. Just then, an employee approaches and asks him to move his G-Wagon that's blocking another car, and he agrees right away. The entire family is left with their jaws on the floor, not understanding a thing, because now they know he has not one, but 2 luxury cars. The uncles do the math and realize that the 2 cars together cost over 6 million, and they are completely shocked. Shen Yad changes his attitude and congratulates his brother on his success, offering a discount for the new car's maintenance. Shen Yuan's mother thinks with contempt about the audacity of her brother-in-law, who used to charge them without mercy and now wants to sell a membership. The third uncle reflects on his brother's success and feels like new money in comparison, since his brother didn't even brag. With the dinner over, his sister praises her brother in the car, and he says he'll take her home because he has other matters to attend to. Shen Xuan insists on going along, because she knows he's going to see her sister-in-law, and our hero ends up giving in to her request. Seeing a sports car, she asks the price, and he reveals that the final cost was 2.73 million. His sister is shocked and asks how he knows the price, and Shen Yuan reveals that the car belongs to her sister-in-law. The young woman is dumbfounded by the revelation, as she didn't expect her brother to have bought such an expensive car for his girlfriend. Arriving at the apartment, a beautiful woman greets him with a radiant smile and invites him in. She then asks who the girl is, and he introduces his younger sister, Shen Xuan, who seems a bit shy. The other girls in the room welcome the sister and comment on how much the two look alike. All 3 women pamper the sister, offering her fruit and coffee, trying to please her in every way. Shen Xuan is confused by so much enthusiasm and wonders why these beautiful women are trying to please her. She then turns to her brother and asks which of the 3 is her real sister-in-law, making the guy feel awkward. One of the young women explains that they knew Nana was moving in, so they came to visit for her housewarming. Lu Menglu introduces herself to the young woman and says that the owner of the house is Chen Na, but she can call her sister Nana. The younger sister faces Chen Na and asks if she is her sister-in-law, then trying to understand the situation. The other 2 young women look at Shen Yuan with a smile, waiting to see how he will explain this. With a sly grin, our hero reveals that actually the other 2 girls are also his sisters-in-law. The sister's jaw drops, wondering how her brother manages to keep 3 girlfriends in harmony. The 3 beauties stand there, with Nana and Menglu smiling while the other friend seems a bit out of place. Still in shock, the young woman turns to her brother and asks if what he said is really true. Menglu and Chen Na confirm with a warm smile, showing that his statement was serious. His sister calls him a scoundrel, and he jokes that this is just the beginning and that she needs to get used to it. The girls then approach the young woman and invite her to go out and have fun with them whenever she wants. Our hero explains that his sister is going to college, and Nana promises to help her fit in and open up more. The friend in the hat feels like an intruder in the middle of this family union and thinks she's only good for warming the bed. In a flashback, the friend comments that in ancient times, it was common for sisters to share the same husband. The young woman then complains that if they are such good friends, why do they use her as a messenger instead of talking directly? She grumbles that the other 2 get luxury cars while all she gets is the job of putting up with the situation. Back in the present, our hero says his goodbyes, mentioning he's going to rest, and leaves the girls to talk alone. Chen Nai invites Shen Xuan to go shopping to take advantage of her brother being asleep so they can have some fun. Menglu offers to teach all her style secrets to the young woman, who gets super excited about the idea. And so, the group of 4 girls heads down to the garage excitedly, ready for an afternoon of shopping. Menglu suddenly says she forgot her purse upstairs and asks the others to wait a moment. After 10 minutes, she sends a message telling them to go on ahead, because she has other matters to take care of. The friend in the hat gets annoyed, thinking that while the others are having fun, she has to make up an excuse. Menglu then enters the bedroom and finds our hero sleeping peacefully in bed. She gets closer and gives him a kiss on the cheek, and the guy wakes up, wondering what was pressing against his face. As he opens his eyes, he recognizes Coach Lu and wonders what she is doing there. He asks if she's crazy, and the young woman replies that since the others left, they are now alone in the house. Our hero then asks why she didn't go with them, and Menglu replies that she wanted to stay to keep him company. He accuses her of being up to something, and she approaches him with a seductive look. The young woman takes off her blouse and pretends to understand what he's talking about, making the mood even more heated. She calls him hubby and says she missed him, and he asks if she's getting the form of a dress wrong again. The young woman then calls him daddy, and he says it's not loud enough yet and asks her to repeat it. With all the force of her lungs, the coach shouts, "Daddy," completely surrendering to the moment of passion. An hour and a half later, Shen Xuan is seen carrying several shopping bags on her way back to the apartment. On the phone, the sister says that Chianqian had to leave with Lulu and Nanazi and asks when he's going to arrive. Shen Yuan says he's already on his way, and he pulls up outside the campus with his Ji-Wei-jin. A guy in the window of a pawn shop is impressed by the car and tries to remember the owner. Our hero gets out of the car, and the guy from the shop finally remembers who he is. He recalls that 3 months ago, that same kid came to the shop to cash out all his credit. The guy remembers that he used all the money to buy an expensive handbag and left the shop looking very happy. The young man wonders how in just 1 month that kid managed to get enough money to buy a Ji-Wei-jin. Arriving on the street, he finds his sister and Chenda loaded with bags and jokes that his sister-in-law spent quite a bit. The guy from the pawn shop concludes that he found himself a rich older woman and thinks how good it is to be young and handsome. He imagines our hero taking care of a rich, older woman to get everything he wants in life. In his fantasy, the guy kisses the woman's foot, showing he would do anything for a life of luxury and power. Back in reality, he asks why they bought so much, and his sister says her sisters-in-law were very enthusiastic. Chennai explains that she also bought gifts for his parents, and he is surprised by her generosity. The young woman says goodbye, mentioning she's heading to the coffee shop, and he promises he'll see her at night for a date. In the car, his sister asks how much they spent, and he reveals that the bill was over 400,000 yuan. He teases her about her happiness, and the young woman replies that even before, their parents were never so extravagant. The guy asks what she's going to say at home, and his sister jokes that she'll tell them about the 2 new sisters-in-law. At his sister's joke, he slams on the brakes, pretending to be annoyed by her boldness. He threatens her by mentioning their mother, and the girl accuses him of blackmail, but her brother says she started it. The young woman then says this is business, not blackmail, while they wait for the light to change. The guy gives in and tells her to ask for whatever she wants next time, and the girl celebrates her victory. Arriving home, the parents are surprised by all the shopping bags and ask the reason for so much spending. The sister explains that the gifts were bought for them by her sister-in-law, leaving the parents confused. The parents then ask when he started dating and why he hasn't brought her over to meet them. He says they've been together for a while, and the sister praises the sister-in-law's personality to help out. The parents then pull their daughter aside for a full interrogation about their son's new girlfriend. He watches the scene relieved and thinks about all his tasks and plans for the next few days. At 10 at night, he tells Nana he's going to sleep over, and she says she's learned something new to try on him. At her suggestion, the guy loses all desire to sleep and asks her to wait a second so he can get ready for the night. The young woman then appears with 2 glasses, one with hot water and the other with ice, leaving our hero confused. He questions her intention with the glasses and realizes that Nana doesn't plan on letting him sleep tonight. The young woman kneels in front of him, and he wonders what this is, completely surprised by her action. With a seductive look, she asks if he can feel it, and he replies that he almost lost control from the sensation. The woman then gives in to the moment of pleasure, showing that the night was just beginning for the 2 of them. The next day, Xinyu's mother asks her to help her sister more, and the young woman replies that they will hire a nanny. The mother scolds her daughter, saying they don't need to spend money and that Xinyu should be more sensible. Our hero arrives and reassures his mother-in-law, promising that they will take very good care of Xinyu in the city. Leon is impressed with his new Ji-Wei-jin, and Nana's mother says she doesn't know about cars and just wants them to be happy. Xinyu's mother thinks with concern that her daughter has been completely smitten with Shen Yuan since his last visit. In the car, he asks about college, and the young woman replies that she applied to a university in Star City. The guy compliments her on her choice and says that her sister saved a room for her in the new apartment. Xinyu has a fantasy about her brother-in-law and sister and wonders if she will be able to see them again in the future. With a blushing face, she declines the offer, saying she's afraid of getting in the couple's way with her presence. Nana encourages her to visit her sister more, saying she gets very lonely at home because her brother-in-law goes out a lot. The young woman thinks about how kind her brother-in-law is and how her family's life has completely changed because of him. Our hero is surprised to see her affinity meter and wonders if the girl is trying to charm him. Arriving at the apartment, he asks Nana to take Sinew out to have fun and says he has other commitments. Half an hour later, he parks in front of Lemeng's building and waits for her, leaning against his white car. On the phone, the guy begs for another chance, saying he made a mistake that any man would make. Our hero watches the scene and realizes that this is Li Meng's ex-boyfriend, and that he's the reason she dislikes cheating. With a confident smile, he decides he needs to help Li Meng get rid of that guy to please his counselor. The annoyed ex-boyfriend complains that Shen Yuan blocked his car, and the guy replies that he won't be polite to him. The guy with glasses gets irritated by Shen Yuan's arrogance and questions if having money makes him superior to everyone. Our hero then reveals that he knows he is Li Meng's ex-boyfriend, leaving the guy completely surprised. Startled, he kicks his own car and asks if Shen Yuan is Li Meng's current boyfriend. The two stare at each other with looks of rivalry, and the ex-boyfriend tries to understand the situation. The guy concludes that she got herself a sugar daddy, and that's why she refuses to see him, but he wishes them an unhappy ending. He brags about having dated Li Meng for 2 years and said even if they're together, he'll never have all of her. Our hero finds his tactic very amateurish and compares it to the one he used with Hu Jun in the past. He then replies that he doesn't care about having all of her, because for him, just her body is enough. The guy is shocked by the revelation, and Shen Yuan imagines a steamy scene to provoke him even more. The ex is furious because he always thought she was single, because she missed him and feels completely deceived. Our hero then waves to the counselor who is leaving the building at that exact moment. The woman approaches and the ex-boyfriend is left speechless upon seeing the counselor's beauty up close. The counselor's sister glares at the guy and tells him to never look for her sister again. She then calls for Shen Yuan to leave, and he opens the car door for her like a gentleman. Our hero says goodbye to the ex with a sarcastic smile and leaves him standing there, completely confused. In the rearview mirror, he sees the guy still standing in the same spot and wonders if the rumor is real. The ex-boyfriend shouts indignantly that the rich can do whatever they want, even have 2 sisters serving him. In the car, the counselor scolds him, and he explains he only said that to get rid of her ex-boyfriend. She feels awkward but thinks that with his help, maybe Li Meng can finally move on. He invites her to the mall, but the young woman refuses, saying it's too expensive, and suggests a cheaper place. With a confident smile, he says that the price doesn't matter, because he'll pay for everything she wants. The counselor then reveals that his sister's birthday is coming up and that she needs help choosing a gift. She makes it clear that she won't accept any gifts for herself and is only there to help with his sister's present. He agrees but thinks with a mischievous smile that he'll find a way to make her accept a gift. In the store, the saleswoman greets them with a smile, and he encourages her to try on any clothes she likes. The counselor asks for a dress in size small, and the saleswoman suggests a medium because of her figure. The saleswoman then shows a beautiful white dress, and the counselor is enchanted by the piece. He waits for her outside the fitting room and offers to help if she needs anything. On the phone, the counselor says the dress's zipper is stuck and asks him to call the saleswoman. The guy tells her to wait, and that he will help her with the zipper problem himself. With a blushing face, she asks him not to come closer, but he tells her to turn around so he can fix it. He approaches her and tells her to relax, as he's just going to zip it up and leave the fitting room. With the dress almost falling off, she asks him to hurry up, making the atmosphere even more tense. He is impressed by the beauty of her back, and the counselor asks him to just zip it up already. Carefully, the guy holds the zipper and gets ready to close the counselor's dress. He tells her to be calm so he doesn't rip the dress, and she worries that someone might hear them from outside. He approaches her from behind and asks what she prefers to be called, professor or counselor. With a blushing face, she replies that on dates, he should just call her by her name. The guy then, with a quick move, releases the strap of her dress, leaving her surprised. He hugs her and says it's the first time he said her name that way, and that he'll never forget it. 5 minutes later, she pushes him away, saying that if they keep this up, she'll end up giving in. She asks him to zip up her dress and leave, and with a blushing face, he agrees to her request. The guy then tries to zip up the dress but realizes that it won't go up at all. He jokes that the dress doesn't fit, and she, annoyed, tells him to get out of the fitting room immediately. The young man just stands there, not knowing what to do, completely confused by the unexpected situation. The saleswoman approaches and suggests she try another style since that one didn't fit. The counselor leaves the fitting room in her original dress, and he follows her, still a bit embarrassed. The saleswoman stands there with a questioning look, not understanding the customer's reaction. She scolds him and he promises he won't do that again, trying to calm the situation. Hand in hand, the two leave the store, and he promises that next time he will behave better. Her affinity meter rises to 75, and she continues to blush with embarrassment. He thinks with a smile that being a little bold really does increase the girl's affinity. The saleswomen comment on his new girlfriend, and one of them corrects her, saying it's already the 4th one. They remember Miss Jo and comment that every time they see Shen Yuan, they regret their choice. One of the saleswomen offers to serve him with all her heart if he gives her another chance. The other saleswoman thinks with disdain that it's now too late for regrets in life. Hand in hand, the couple leaves the store, and he invites her to eat hot pot, and she readily accepts. At the restaurant, he asks the waiter for 2 bowls of cold soup to start their meal. He thinks that thanks to Hui's tips, he doesn't need to ask as she can have something cold. On the table, a variety of dishes are served, including meats, vegetables, and the hot pot. She asks about his plans for the holidays, and he replies that he plans to spend time with her. The counselor then comments on the rumors about him at college, and that everyone must know him by now. He decides to change the subject so as not to reveal his secrets, and says he has already memorized the whole book. She's impressed by his speed, and the guy says he needs to memorize the management book. He says he'll go to her place to get the book, and she is surprised by the guy's haste. The young man explains that he needs to put the knowledge into practice as soon as possible and thinks about his intentions. She tells him not to make a mess because her sister is home, and he replies that he knows his own character. The woman's face blushes and she thinks, "Here we go again," already anticipating his intentions. The waiter arrives with the drinks, and the counselor says she can't have cold drinks. She asks the waiter to swap her drink for something hot, and he fulfills the young woman's request. The guy thinks that the night isn't going to work out and decides to focus on increasing other girls' affinity. He then remembers Jingyan and Nana, thinking he needs to concentrate on them to level up. Suddenly, he receives a message from Jingyan saying she misses him, and he feels guilty. He replies that he's having dinner and will pick her up later, and she asks where she should wait for him. The counselor scolds him for being busy with his phone, and he makes up an excuse to leave. He says that important business comes first and says goodbye to her, promising they'll see each other soon. 1 hour later, Jingyan waits anxiously outside the coffee shop, ready for her date with Shen Yuan. In the car, she asks where they are going, and he replies directly that they're going to a hotel. She thinks that being treated like a tool still hurts and wishes there were real feelings between them. Without warning, he rips her blouse, leaving the young woman completely shocked and without reaction. She asks him to be gentle but thinks that being treated that way without feelings is very unfair. He stares at her with a cold, determined look, and the young woman feels intimidated by his attitude. Lying on the bed, she calls his name and thinks that this time was even worse than the last. With tears in her eyes, she looks at him, and he approaches her with a concerned look. He wipes away her tears and says he got too carried away and was just playing a role. The young woman asks about the role play, and he explains it was the dominant guy and obedient girl type. She complains that he should have told her beforehand, because she thought he was really like that. He caresses her and says her reaction was addicting, and she complains she has nothing to wear for class. The guy hugs her and promises he'll arrange for new clothes because he wouldn't leave his woman with nothing to wear. She gives in to the moment of passion and calls his name, completely surrendered to his charms. 2 hours later, he shows her new bags and clothes on his phone and says they will be delivered the next day. The young woman is surprised and asks if she can really choose whatever she wants from those options. She is amazed by the feeling of being able to shop without worrying about the price, something surreal for her. The young woman feels a strange sense of accomplishment and thinks she must be one of the few to have been with him. Suddenly her phone rings and the name Can't Get Enough Baby appears on the caller ID. He wonders if Hui is doing rounds in the room and asks for silence so they don't get discovered. On the phone, he says he's been busy and that's why he hasn't called in the last few days. The girl complains about the wait but agrees to wait and asks him to behave until then. Jingyan watches the scene and wonders if she will ever be treated with the same affection as the other woman. From inside the shower, he calls for her to come in and help him with something in the bathroom. Wearing a silk robe, the young woman enters the bathroom, ready to answer his call. He complains about the robe and tells her to take the piece of clothing off immediately so they can start the fun. In the shower, she asks him not to be so rough, and he stares at her with an intense gaze. With the robe on the floor, the two give in to the moment and he jokes about the role play. Again. The next morning, he has already left to work out, and the young woman is being attended to by saleswomen from a store. She tries on a polka dot dress and thanks the saleswoman, saying that all the pieces fit well. The young woman thinks about the total cost of the clothes and wonders if this is a dream or real life. The system then informs that the expense triggered a 4 times critical hit, and he earned 448,000. He thinks that Long Jingyan is a great candidate, and that he needs to invest more to develop her. At the gym, the coach offers him water and scolds him for pushing himself too hard in his workout. The guy drinks the water and complains that the numbers have barely changed and that he needs to speed up his training pace. He says he's going to increase the intensity and adjust his diet to gain weight faster. With a mischievous smile, the coach compliments his looks and calls him daddy in a seductive way. He comes out of the shower in a bathrobe and asks what she wants with that sudden compliment. With an innocent look, she asks if the baby is hungry, approaching him slowly. He challenges her to perform well to earn her reward, and the young woman accepts the challenge. With a new hairstyle, our hero looks at the auditorium stage ready for the university event. On stage, he stands next to the school leaders while the audience watches the ceremony attentively. From the audience, the counselor watches him and thinks how different and elegant he looks in that formal suit. A colleague compliments the rich and handsome student and asks if he has already found someone special at school. With a blushing face, the counselor replies that he probably hasn't, and her colleague notices her reaction. On stage, he signs a giant check for 10 million yuan for the university under everyone's gaze. The colleague insists that she has a crush on him and says that a romance between a teacher and a student isn't that shocking. The photographers capture the moment he hands the check to the university's president. The president thanks him for the generous support, and he replies that it's only fair to give back to the school where he studied. The president invites him for future collaborations, and he says he will consider it if the projects are good. The president then asks the reporters to focus on Shen Yuan and make him the pride of the school. The guy thinks the president is just using him, but that for now, he will play along. The president asks about Shen Yuan's position, and the other man replies that he only manages the entrepreneurship base. The president then decides to name him model student and one of the top 10 university students. The other leader complains that his grades are terrible and that he barely attended classes this semester. The president says that grades aren't the most important thing and that his ability to influence is what counts. The other leader agrees with the president's view and bows as a sign of respect and admiration. As he leaves the auditorium, a reporter with blue hair calls out to him and asks him to wait a moment. She introduces herself as Zhang Yanni and invites him to participate in a special about university students. He asks her to leave her contact information and says he'll think about it, trying to avoid suspicion. He turns down the reporter's invitation for dinner, saying he needs to handle the details through WeChat. The guy says goodbye and leaves, relieved to have escaped that awkward situation. The counselor's colleague comments that he doesn't seem like a womanizer since he turned down the reporter's invitation. The assistant hands over the list of approved candidates for the second phase of the entrepreneurship project. She presents the final list with 2 men and 5 women, including the accountant and the secretary. The secretary whispers with the accountant about the stock distribution they planned together. Jingyan explains that the investor gets 70% and the students get 30% of the shares. She continues to explain that the final ratio will be 70% for the students and 30% for the investor. Our hero thinks that the important thing is to motivate the students and that harvesting the 5 flowers is the main goal. The assistant informs him that the meeting with Lu Xinyu from the Japanese department is scheduled for that day. An elegant and mature woman enters the room and greets Shen Yuan with a smile. He is captivated by her beauty and thinks how hard it is to maintain composure in front of a woman like her. The young woman greets him again, and he seems frozen by her beauty, unable to respond. She calls his name again, and he finally snaps out of his trance and invites her to sit and talk. The two sit on the sofa, and he asks about her plan to open a supermarket on campus. With a smile, he asks why she thinks Amazon was so successful and moves closer to her. The woman explains that its success is due to profit sharing and good employee benefits. He realizes she's done her homework and decides it's time to show off a bit of his own knowledge. Our hero agrees with her analysis and suggests she consider translation or a foreign company. She reveals that her parents chose the major for her, and out of curiosity, he asks how her Japanese is. She replies that her Japanese is very good and that she has already passed several advanced proficiency exams. He gets excited about the idea of using her as a bridge to Japan and already imagines himself in a harem of Japanese girls. Back at the dorm, Mazin Wang is complaining about his project getting shot down while some other guys got the green light. Naturally, his friend asks what his project was to begin with. Mazin reveals his idea was a lingerie shop, convinced that with so many couples on campus, the market would be massive. His roommate just calls him crazy, pointing out that nobody would have the nerve to actually walk into a shop like that on campus. Another friend chimes in, suggesting that Shen Yuan's selections are less about the idea and more about the person behind it. To that point, the friend explains the 2 guys who were accepted are likely just filling a quota. This makes Mazin wonder why he couldn't have been one of those filler picks. One of his roommates then pulls up a post showing a dapper, looking Shen Yuan signing the agreement with the dean. He grumbles that ever since the MC started hanging out with all the campus girls, he's basically forgotten about his friends. Another guy remarks that if the protagonist walked into the dorm right now, every single guy there would be overcome with jealousy. The reason? The incubator's finalist list was just released, and he's now managing the 5 campus goddesses. Hearing this, the roommate on the computer comments that their third brother is really playing for keeps. The other retorts that if he had the protagonist's kind of money, he'd probably be up to much wilder things. Shifting back to our hero, he asks the girl to say something to him in Japanese. With a charming grin, he replies that anything she says is bound to sound wonderful. She teaches him a few basics, prompting him to ask for a couple more words. The young woman says, "Please continue," and he immediately gets the message, letting his hand drift to her leg. Our protagonist then asks her to say something a little more stimulating for him to hear. A blush creeps onto her face as she realizes he wants to hear those classic lines from adult films. Praising her for being so sharp, he asks to hear one of those phrases just to see how it sounds. His mind wanders, fantasizing about the girl and thinking her delivery would drive any man wild. At the same time, the young woman thinks to herself that things are progressing even better than she'd hoped, and the upperclassman seems to be having a good time. Fully satisfied, the protagonist stands and announces they can go ahead and sign the contract. A moment later, his secretary enters with the contract, noting the total investment comes to 220,000 yuan. The young man watches the scene unfold, thinking that all he has to do now is wait and see her execution skills in action. Right on cue, the system informs him that the 10 million investment mission is complete and the reward has been delivered. As his prize, he's granted ownership of a health management company with multiple branches. A smile spreads across his face as he thinks about how incredible this system is for gifting him an entire company. Just then, a message from his girlfriend pops up telling him she misses him. Wasting no time, our hero replies, arranging to meet her at the cafe. In another part of town, his girlfriend is getting ready when a friend asks if she's meeting Shen Yuan again. Her friend brings up the incubator list with the 5 girls, wondering if she's considered making their relationship public. She replies that she doesn't mind, trusting that Shen Yuan has his reasons for keeping things quiet. With a look of pure adoration, the girl says that while he's never shared his big plans, she can just feel he's destined for something great. Her friend looks on, impressed and a little envious, as his girlfriend puts the finishing touches on her look. With her outfit complete, she glances in the mirror and her friend compliments her, telling her to stop being so gorgeous. Out on the street, 2 girls spot his car and call out, asking where he's headed and if they can hitch a ride. The young women mention they're going to Zenhua Street and ask if he can drop them off. The guy's patience wears thin, thinking about the sheer audacity of these girls who've been turned down multiple times before. He quickly tells them he's not going that way and floors it, speeding away from the awkward encounter. The 2 girls are left complaining that a billionaire like him couldn't even be bothered to give them a ride. Feeling utterly defeated, one of them thinks that Shen Yuan is like a mountain she'll never be able to conquer. In the car, his thoughts turn to the health company the system gave him, recognizing Coach Liu as a first-rate talent. The young man reflects on his growing reputation but knows he needs to use Jingfu as a launch pad. He decides to take things one step at a time, and today's first priority is curing his girlfriend's loneliness. Arriving at the cafe, he decides to wait outside for a bit, since she mentioned needing some time. Through the glass, he spots 2 employees at the counter who look like new hires. Walking inside, he orders a cappuccino from one of the girls, whose name tag reads Sinyu. Completely flustered, the young woman stammers out, "Okay, brother-in-law," revealing that she knows who he is. She nervously asks her friend for help, terrified of messing up, which makes the friend wonder why she's so anxious around her brother-in-law. Her coworker, Xiao Chu, breaks into a cold sweat at the news, looking utterly shocked by the situation. The friend's mind races, imagining a tangled web of relationships and how complex wealthy families must be. His sister-in-law brings over the coffee, admitting it's the very first one she's ever made. The MC takes a sip and praises her, saying that for a first try, the coffee is actually really good. Blushing, she offers him Americano, which she also just learned how to make. The young man politely turns her down, explaining that any more caffeine will keep him up all night. The girl gets flustered by the possible double meaning and quickly excuses herself, saying she has to get back to work. That evening, his girlfriend arrives and leaps into his arms, telling him how much she missed him. She leans in close, teasing that he probably didn't miss her that much, but he replies that he missed every single thing about her. The young woman playfully asks if he only missed her body, to which he responds that her body is part of every single thing. With a crimson blush, she calls him naughty and pleads with him to go easy on her, worried she won't be able to walk tomorrow. In response, the young man pulls her into a hug with a smile, promising to be gentle with her tonight. The next morning, he wakes to find a note from his girlfriend. She had to leave early for class. He reflects on how much she's matured and decides it's the perfect time to go check out the health company he received from the system. Inside a conference room, the directors of Jingfu Health are on edge, anxiously awaiting the arrival of their new boss. Just then, our hero walks in, accompanied by the former owner, taking everyone in the room by complete surprise. The board members are stunned to see that their new leader is a young man barely in his 20s. The former owner introduces Shen Yuan as the new boss, urging everyone to continue their hard work. After a brief introduction, he dismisses the room, asking only the HR director and the finance director to stay behind. Zhang Yu, the HR director, approaches him and asks for President Shen's instructions. The young man requests the financial reports from the last 3 months, along with the corresponding HR reports. He then asks directors Zhang and Liu how long each of them has been with the company. The director states he's been there for over 5 years, while the female director confirms she recently passed the 3-year mark. He lets them go, thinking he needs to keep an eye on both of them, but will eventually need his own trusted people in those roles. A moment later, he calls his secretary, inviting her to come work at his new company, Jingfu Health. The young woman is flabbergasted by his secret business dealings, reminding him that she still has college classes to attend. He challenges her to aim higher, telling her not to sweat it if she fails a few exams. Brimming with excitement, the girl agrees, saying she'll get ready to start the very next day. With the financial and HR reports now in hand, he ends the call, prepared to dive into the data. A thorough review of the documents reveals that, despite a few minor issues, the company is both profitable and stable. With business at the office settled for now, he gets up ready for his next task. He realizes he needs to go find Su Shu and check on how she's been doing. After calling her with no answer, the young man begins to worry that something might have happened. His next call is to Fu Zhengmei, who tells him Shu left early due to a family emergency. The MC presses for details, but the woman admits she doesn't know more and that her own calls to Shu have gone unanswered. As he approaches the girl's house, he can hear an argument about a water leak coming from the stairway. One man is complaining that no one was notified about the leak, and that when the little boy tried to warn him, he ended up scolding the child. Our hero takes in the scene with a serious expression, preparing to step in. A woman then accuses the boy of banging on the door rudely, claiming she was just disciplining him in place of his father. The redhead tries to de-escalate, asking Aunt Zhang to let it go, but the other woman is determined to continue the fight. Aunt Zhang argues back, saying if she lets this slide, the woman will only be worse next time. When the woman refuses to apologize, our hero intervenes, demanding that she apologize to the child. His expression turns cold as he insists that the woman apologize to the boy right now. The redhead looks up in surprise, shocked to see Shen Yuan standing in the middle of her neighborhood drama. Not only does the woman refuse to apologize, but she also taunts him, saying he's already defending his girl before they're even married. The young man steps closer to the family, doubling down on his demand that she apologize to the child. Suddenly, a guy with a mohawk storms onto the scene, asking who thinks they run the neighborhood. He gets in close, demanding to know who's trying to make his mom apologize to anyone. Without a second thought, the mohawk guy shoves our hero, who doesn't even budge an inch. In a flash, our MC lands a perfect uppercut to the guy's chin, sending him staggering backward from the force of the blow. The entire crowd of neighbors gasps, and the redhead covers her mouth in utter disbelief. The mohawk guy scrambles to his feet, furious and ready to retaliate. With rage in his eyes, he lunges toward our hero to escalate the fight. But the MC effortlessly dodges the attack, showcasing his superior combat skills. With a single fluid motion, he delivers a powerful kick squarely to his opponent's stomach. The mohawk guy crumples to the ground, defeated, warning that he's calling for backup. He whips out his phone and calls someone named Brother Long, frantically explaining that he just got roughed up. Our hero calmly states he'll call for his own backup and dials his cousin, Brother Wei. 15 minutes later, a black sedan screeches to a halt and several armed men pile out. The gang's leader demands to know who hit Liang, and the guy on the ground points toward our hero. The guy with the mohawk points directly at our protagonist, identifying him as the attacker. Growing concerned, the redhead asks if maybe they should call the police to sort this out. The gang leader and his cronies start closing in, ready for a brawl. Unfazed, the MC tells them not to be in such a hurry, as his reinforcements are on their way. Just then, a police car pulls up with sirens blaring, startling everyone present. The gang leader is furious, turning to the mohawk guy and demanding to know why on earth he called the cops. The guy stammers that he didn't know the other side was also calling for backup, earning him an idiot from his boss. An officer named Shen Wei, who happens to be our hero's cousin, steps out and asks what's going on. The gang leader quickly tries to play it off, claiming he and his friends were just passing by to see what the commotion was about. His cousin, the officer, walks over to our hero and asks for his side of the story. The gang leader gives the mohawk guy an earful for dragging him into a situation that involved the police. His police cousin smirks at him, teasing him for playing the hero and saving the damsel in distress. Getting serious, the officer asks him how he wants to handle the situation with the troublemakers. The MC proposes that if the woman apologizes to the child and agrees to fix the leak, he's willing to let the whole thing go. With the officer's intervention, the matter is quickly settled, and the group of thugs gets a stern warning. The woman reluctantly apologizes to the little boy for speaking so harshly to him. The boy quickly hides behind his sister, still shaken by the whole ordeal. The officer declares the case closed and orders the woman to get the water leak fixed immediately. The guy with the mohawk and his mother head upstairs to take care of the plumbing issue. Aunt Zhang follows them, offering to help get the leak repaired as quickly as possible. The officer then turns to his cousin and playfully asks if the redhead is his girlfriend, causing him to blush. Over by the sidewalk, the redhead gently approaches her little brother and tenderly wipes his face. The MC asks his cousin to keep things quiet, adding that Shu's family shouldn't have any more trouble from now on. The redhead watches as her little brother, looking much more relaxed, runs playfully down the street. She turns back, looking at our hero with a mixture of gratitude and admiration in her eyes. Her cheeks tinge with pink, she thanks him for everything he did to help. A sense of satisfaction washes over the MC as he sees her affinity score finally appear in the system. Flashing a charming smile, he asks just how she plans to thank him for his help. The young man extends his arms, inviting her for a friendly farewell hug. After brief hesitation, the redhead agrees and steps into the goodbye hug. As they embrace, the redhead feels the surprising warmth of his body against hers. He can't help but notice her curvy figure, while the redhead is startled by their sudden proximity. All of a sudden, her little brother runs up, holding out a bag of eggs as a thank you gift for our hero. She asks about the sheer number of eggs, and the boy explains their aunt had brought over a huge batch as a present. The MC then leans down and tells the boy that from now on, he should call him brother-in-law. The redhead's face turns beet red at his boldness while the little boy asks what a brother-in-law is. In a daydream, she pictures herself in a wedding gown as he greets her, his beloved husband. The fantasy shifts to a steamier scene where she calls him darling husband, and he approaches with a seductive smile. Snapping back to reality, the redhead is left pondering his true intentions behind all this talk. He then brings up the idea of them moving to an apartment closer to her workplace. The young woman thinks about how much she wants to give her family a better life, but she knows she can't afford it. The young man says he'll help her find a place and will cover the rent until she's able to pay him back. She tries to turn down his generous offer but feels flustered by his gentle insistence. The redhead watches his car disappear down the street, his proposal echoing in her mind. Her little brother tugs on her sleeve, saying that his brother-in-law is gone and it's time for them to go home too. Elsewhere, our hero arrives home to find one of the girls waiting, asking what took him so long. He takes a seat and tells them that in the future, if they're hungry, they should go ahead and eat without him. One of the young women explains that her sister-in-law told her to eat first, but she felt too awkward to eat all by herself. The other girl teases her, asking why she's still living there if she's so easily embarrassed. His sister then changes the subject, asking when he plans to introduce his sister-in-law to their parents, and if Coach Lee will be there too. With a sly grin, his sister says it's doable, but it's going to cost him. The young man immediately offers to buy her the car she's been dreaming of if she can smooth things over with their parents. Later that night, he heads to the bathroom to take a shower and unwind after a hectic day. Suddenly, he hears the shower running and, peeking through the cracked door, stumbles upon an unexpected scene. His sister-in-law Xinyu is in the shower, completely oblivious to his presence. Shocked, the young man instantly covers his face and backs away quietly, a wave of guilt washing over him. He quickly sends her a message to apologize, but she replies that it was her fault for forgetting to lock the door. Lying in bed, the girl reflects that her brother-in-law was the first person to ever see her like that, but strangely, she isn't upset at all. In fact, a secret thrill runs through her as she softly whispers his name to herself. The next day at the gym, the system notifies him that his fitness mission is nearing completion. He checks his stats, his weight is approaching 75 kilograms, and his body fat has dropped to 15.3%. He asks for Coach Lee's help to visit 2 gyms and a yoga studio to do some business reconnaissance. The young woman asks if he's thinking about buying these places, and he casually confirms that he already owns them. She is absolutely floored by this revelation, her mind reeling at the incredible amount of money he must have spent. The system then issues a new mission: increase Jingfu Health's net profit by 5% within 3 months. He knows the mission will be tough, but he's determined to succeed by cutting costs and boosting value. The coach playfully calls him daddy and asks what has him so deep in thought. He instructs her to go undercover, investigate the gyms and the yoga studio, and bring him back a comprehensive report. The young woman raises an eyebrow, asking if he's seriously asking her to become a corporate spy, and he just meets her gaze with a smile. The following morning, a shot of the president's office. Nameplate signals the start of a new business day. Inside his office, our hero muses that Coach Liu's infiltration will take some time, which means he needs to make his own moves. He summons manager Jia and immediately questions him about the medical examination center's low profits. The manager gets defensive, claiming their center is barely breaking even while many competitors are losing money. Jia then lays out his new plan to expand their business channels and recruit fresh sales talent. The young man cuts him off, asking why, if he knew expansion was necessary, he's only starting the recruitment process now. The manager concedes his oversight, and the MC abruptly changes topics, asking about the man's son. Sweating bullets, Jia replies that his son's grades are just average, and they're waiting to see what happens. The protagonist dismisses him, and the manager leaves with a smile, assuring him he's available for whatever he needs. Once outside, the manager can't shake the feeling that it was incredibly strange for the new boss to suddenly ask about his family. Back at his desk, our hero makes a firm decision: manager Jianancho has to go, and soon. It's clear to him that the manager is dishonest, and the company is riddled with nepotism and illicit side deals. Without wasting another second, he presses the intercom button on his phone to summon his secretary. The secretary promptly enters the office and asks if the boss was looking for her. He begins by asking if she's settling into her new job at the company. When the young woman confirms she is, he promises her a 200,000 yuan car if she works hard for the next 2 months. Stunned by the offer, the girl's eyes light up as she asks if he's really serious about the car. The secretary then vents her frustration, complaining that the other girls from the school project won't stop pestering her about getting investments from him. With a relaxed smile, he tells her not to worry and to put that on the back burner for now. A fantasy flashes through his mind of being surrounded by beautiful women, reminding him that some things are best handled with patience. Meanwhile, at the examination center, manager Jia is chewing out his staff over the new boss. One employee reassures the manager that the new salespeople are seasoned veterans who will deliver results quickly. The manager warns them that the easy days at the center are over, and from now on, they all need to tread carefully. He specifically advises his subordinates to watch out for the new boss, cautioning that he's much sharper than he appears. Later, our hero arrives home and is greeted at the door by Nana, who has a bright smile on her face. She proudly shows him several shopping bags filled with new clothes, shoes, and even a watch she bought just for him. In disbelief, he asks how much she spent, and the young woman reveals the total was over 1 million yuan. The young man gently tells her the money was meant for her to spend on herself and pulls her into an affectionate hug. The two share a passionate kiss, savoring their private moment together in the cafe. Their moment is abruptly interrupted when Nana's sister walks in, catching them mid-kiss. The couple springs apart awkwardly, and the young woman tries to salvage the situation by calling out her sister's name. The younger sister demands to know what they were doing, and the older sister immediately blames our hero for the awkward situation. She mentions that her sister has been acting strangely lately, but she hasn't been able to figure out why. Our protagonist plays dumb, denying he's noticed anything, while his mind flashes back to the scene in the shower. He wraps an arm around her, suggesting it's probably just her imagination, and the young woman reluctantly agrees. The next morning, he wakes up impressed by Nana's work ethic, as she's already left for the cafe. As the young man gets ready, he thinks about his upcoming meeting with the counselor and his need to learn more about management. Just then, his sister-in-law Sinyu appears at his bedroom door, calling his name with a smile. He asks why she isn't at the cafe with her sister, and the young woman explains she took a half-day off. The MC thanks her for the present, and she hands him a small box containing a phone stand. As he reaches for the box, their fingers brush against each other, creating a palpable tension in the air. Her face flushing the sister-in-law quietly asks him not to mention this to her sister. The young man is left puzzled, unsure if she's referring to the gift or something else entirely. Across town, the counselor's sister asks if Shen Yuan is actually going to come over. The counselor feigns surprise, but her sister says it's totally obvious from her makeup and brand new outfit. The young woman explains he's just coming over to study, prompting her sister to ask if she should make herself scarce to give them privacy. The counselor shoots down the idea, saying that if they're left alone, it will look far too deliberate. At that exact moment, the doorbell rings and the counselor opens it with a warm, welcoming smile. Our hero is momentarily stunned by how beautiful she looks, and she invites him to come in. He compliments her, joking that with her looking so lovely, it's going to be impossible to concentrate on studying. The young woman gets flustered at the praise and shyly averts her gaze with a small smile. The young man then hands a designer gift bag to the counselor's sister. Genuinely surprised, the younger sister thanks him profusely for the luxurious gift. She then announces she's heading to her room so she won't be in the way of the lovebirds' study session. The counselor feels a pang of embarrassment, thinking about how easily her sister was won over by a simple gift. The MC gestures for her to join him so they can start studying, and she asks if he planned that whole thing on purpose. He takes a seat explaining it was just a small gift since he didn't want to show up empty-handed like he always does. The young woman sits down, mentioning she has a variety of human resources books for him to choose from. At that moment, the system activates his human resources panel, assigning him a 1-month mission to master the subject. He selects the Human Resource Management textbook, and the counselor nods in approval of his choice. Half an hour passes, and she finds it bizarre that he hasn't made a single move, wondering about his uncharacteristic calm. He looks up, calls her counselor, and asks what she's doing and why she stopped helping him. Finding his behavior so peculiar, the young woman decides to test the waters one more time. She leans in close and calls him by his first name, her eyes filled with a seductive, teasing glint. The young man looks back at her, reminding her that he's there to study and asking what she thinks she's doing. Mortified, the counselor pulls back, thinking he's genuinely changed and has lost all interest in her. That's when a sly grin spreads across his face as he calls her counselor, and slowly leans in. The MC wraps a hand around her waist, pulling her closer with an intense and smoldering gaze. His hand then glides down to her thigh as he looks at her with raw desire in his eyes. They follow to a passionate kiss, and he whispers that she's playing with fire. She playfully suggests he should get back to his books, but the young man says he needs to get something out of his system first. The MC asks her what she truly wants as he pulls her onto his lap with a provocative look. She admits she got a little dressed up for him and asks him not to call her counselor when they're alone. They kiss once more, and he agrees he won't call her that again. From the other side of the door, the counselor's sister is peeking through the crack with a mischievous grin. She thinks to herself that if she weren't there, things would be a lot less entertaining, and continues to watch. The counselor whispers that she can't just yet, but he only holds her tighter. She begs for a little more time to prepare herself, and he looks at her with longing. The young woman then whispers that she can help him out if he really can't hold back any longer. He asks her just how she plans to help, looking at her with an intrigued expression. The scene then shifts to an intimate moment between the two, with her head resting in his lap. Spying through the doorway, the counselor's sister is utterly aghast, covering her mouth in disbelief at what she's seeing. 30 minutes later, the counselor is sitting on the sofa, her face flushed as she's lost in thought. The young man asks if they can finally study in peace, mentioning he only has an hour before he needs to head back to school. He declares that now is the perfect time to get to work and activates his high-efficiency learning card. The system explains the card allows for perfect photographic memory while reading, and its effect lasts for 1 hour. A short while later, the system congratulates our hero on having successfully absorbed all the key knowledge from the book. Completely drained, he stretches out on the sofa and figures the counselor must have already left for school. Suddenly, the counselor's sister emerges, and he watches her with a curious look. The MC asks if she's alright, and the young woman says she's just tired from studying and needs to take a shower. He decides to take a relaxing shower himself to recharge after the intense study session. The counselor's sister hears the water running, and her heart begins to pound at the thought of having a man showering in her home. Meanwhile, in the shower, his phone on the counter starts ringing off the hook. He answers the call, and it's the school's vice dean asking him for an urgent meeting at a hotel. In a rush, he hops out of the shower and announces he has to leave immediately, leaving the counselor's sister behind. At the restaurant, he's greeted by Secretary Kong and Vice Dean Shushotade. The Vice Dean proudly announces that he has been named a model student and one of the university's top 10 students. With a glass of wine in his hand, he casually asks if there is anything else he can help them with. The Vice Dean reveals the school's plan to renovate the library, emphasizing how critical it is for the students' education. Our hero immediately sees through the charade, thinking that all these accolades are just a setup to ask for a donation. He masterfully changes the subject, asking about the biannual medical exams the school provides for its students. Both men are thrown off by his question, wondering what he could possibly be scheming. He then drops the bombshell that he has acquired a health company and would like to propose a partnership with the university. Secretary Kong abruptly stands up, mumbling an excuse about needing the restroom and a smoke break. With a satisfied smile, our hero continues his discussion with the Vice Dean, who now looks quite pleased. The Vice Dean showers the young man with praise for his business acumen, noting how wonderful it is to have such a successful alumnus. The man realizes that securing the library investment will require a quid pro quo. The Vice Dean confirms he oversees that particular area and says there might be an opportunity if the offer is right. He takes a long, contemplative sip of wine as he mulls over the young man's proposal. The MC then feigns being tipsy and says he has to get going, suggesting they can sign a contract some other day. Just as he leaves, Secretary Kong returns and asks where Shen Yun went, and the Vice Dean informs him he's already gone. The Vice Dean thinks to himself that the young man is far more cunning than he appears, having expertly turned the tables into a business opportunity. Half an hour later, Coach Lu remarks that next time, he should bring her along to help with the drinking. She hands him a glass of honey water, telling him it will help with his hangover. He looks at her skeptically, telling her that's not the proper way to drink water for a hangover. The young man gives her a mischievous look and steps closer, glass still in hand. He then playfully and sensually begins to pour the drink all over her body. With a seductive gaze, he tells her that this is how you're supposed to drink it. The two fall into a fairy kiss, surrendering completely to their shared moment of intense passion.